Chapter 1. I became an NPC. The world's first holographic virtual immortal cultivation online game is now live. Beautiful mentor, come and cultivate online. This is a brand new version that you haven't played before. If you miss this opportunity, you'll have to wait another half a year. Hello everyone, I'm Jia Hui, your brother. Come and challenge me in Immortal Seeking Dream. Fang Lang looked at the overwhelming online game promotion and had countless curses in his mind. You, the one who's advertising, you're really talented. Fang Lang is the chief planner of Immortal Seeking Dream. It took him 3 years to write the plot, 5 years to create the visuals, and with the help of a strong technical team, they burned a large amount of RMB to finally create this groundbreaking game, Immortal Seeking Dream. But what's with this flashy advertising style, similar to Greedy Red Moon? Attention department heads, there are 24 hours left until the official launch of Immortal Seeking Dream. Please confirm if there are any abnormal data in your departments. The latest announcement came through Fang Lang's earpiece. He closed the web page and the final data confirmation didn't have much to do with him as the planner, but he still wanted to witness the entire process of Immortal Seeking Dream going live. Suddenly, Fang Lang felt a sharp pain in his head, as if it was being pricked by needles. He pressed his temples to alleviate the intense pain. He had been working tirelessly for several days without sleep or rest for this day. Perhaps he was exhausted and needed a good rest. Fang Lang felt his blood vessels pulsating violently, as if they were about to burst. Suddenly, he felt dizzy and lost consciousness. Hey, Xiaofang, wake up! Someone pushed Fang Lang's shoulder and called out softly. Fang Lang immediately felt displeased. I am a big shot. Who dares to call me Xiaofang? He opened his eyes and looked at the person beside him, intending to use his intimidating gaze to shock the other person. But what appeared in front of him was an old man dressed in plain clothes. He hunched over, with a kind expression on his face, and on top of his head was a line of words, Novus Village 01 Village Chief. Fang Lang couldn't help but rub his eyes. It must be that I'm not opening my eyes properly. He opened his eyes again, but the old man was still in front of Fang Lang, and the line of words was still on top of his head. Fang Lang suddenly realized that he must be dreaming. Immortal Seeking Dream was about to launch, so it wasn't strange to dream about these weird things. With this thought in mind, Fang Lang curiously approached the village chief of the newbie village and pinched his face. The wrinkled skin felt extremely real, and the snowy white hair on his head was also vividly visible. However, he could only see the line of words, but couldn't touch it. Fang Lang's heart sank to the bottom. How could a dream be so realistic? Seeing Fang Lang's rude behavior, the old man didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled and said, Xiaofang, you're at the age to get married, but you need to understand that I'm an old man, not some young girl. However, I can consider going to Kuihua's house to discuss marriage for you. How about that? Fang Lang completely ignored his words and pinched his own arm. Usually this is the method to check if one is dreaming. Fang Lang used too much force, causing him to see a few red characters flashing before his eyes. Stamina -1. But soon Fang Lang realized that it wasn't an illusion. There was a panel in front of him, with text, just like the one on the village chief's head, visible but untouchable. Character: Fang Lang. Level: Lvi 10 yin. Occupation: Scholar. Rank: Scholar. Stamina: 49/50. Strength: 20. Literary Chi: 100/100. Spiritual Force: 00. Description: Novice Village, 01 Ordinary Villager. More attributes. Upon seeing these things, Fang Lang suddenly had a bold idea. Could it be that he had transmigrated into the game? As for verifying this bold idea, he had a few immature thoughts. However, his strange actions made the old village chief's smile fade, and he asked with concern, Xiaofang, what's wrong with you? Are you tired from studying? Fang Lang waved his hand and said, It's nothing. I'm just checking if I'm dreaming. Upon hearing this, the old village chief suddenly laughed and said, Look at how happy you are. Since that's the case, I'll take care of this matter for you right away. You can treat me to a drink later. Fang Lang. Meow, meow, meow. What are you going to do? Watching the old village chief walk away, Fang Lang suddenly had a bad feeling. He had barely stretched out his hand when the village chief had already gone far away. Damn, can an old man run this fast? Fang Lang didn't chase after him. The urgent matter was to understand his current situation. The panel from earlier had disappeared at some point, which was fine. It was strange to have a row of words floating in front of his eyes. Fang Lang then left his room and planned to wander around the village to find out more about the situation. Just as he took a few steps, he saw the woman known as Aunt Huang passing by. When she saw him, she said, Zhao Fang, do you want some eggs? Fresh eggs. Look, there's even chicken poop on them. Aunt Huang showed Fang Lang the chicken poop on the eggs, but he quickly waved his hand and politely declined. No need, Aunt Huang. I'll take my leave. He had originally wanted to indirectly inquire about his identity, but when he saw the fresh chicken poop, Fang Lang backed off. He didn't want to mess with it and quickly left. Next, Fang Lang wandered around the village, visiting the tailor shop, blacksmith shop, and various other places. He chatted with many people until dusk, finally understanding his character setting. Orange, Novice Village. 01, also known as Fang Family Village, was a village under the jurisdiction of Shu State City. Fang Lang was the only scholar in the village. His parents had passed away, and he was raised by the village chief. Last year, he passed the imperial examination and became the village's only hope. Many people hoped that he would become the top scholar and protect the village in the future. That was why the villagers were so enthusiastic towards him. After learning this information, Fang Lang could almost confirm that he had entered the game Immortal Seeking Dream, and it seemed that he was an important NPC. Immortal Seeking Dream had multiple professions, and in the planning, the scholar profession was very powerful. The scholars in the novice village were there to guide players who chose the scholar profession. Each novice village would have at least one scholar for this purpose. However, Fang Lang hadn't seen any players yet, and he didn't know if it was because the server hadn't opened or for some other reason. He decided not to dwell on it for now. As for how to return to reality, Fang Lang was at a loss. The only thing he knew was that he had to survive first. The area near the novice village was relatively safe, but this world was not safe for humans. Fang Lang carefully recalled the main storyline of the game. In the opening chapter, a grand immortal venerable of the human race fell, causing the power balance between the human race and the monster race to be disrupted. The monster race had long infiltrated the human race and caused trouble. When the grand immortal venerable died, the monster race immediately organized an invasion, and the human race suffered greatly. According to what Fang Lang had learned throughout the day, it seemed that the monster race had not yet torn up the peace treaty with the humans and demons. Thinking of this, Fang Lang suddenly wanted to slap himself back to reality. What kind of ridiculous plot is this? Even if there is going to be a fight with the monster race, why start with a bloodbath for the human race? Now he had dug a pit for himself. Chapter 2. Even NPCs have to kill monsters. Fang Lang didn't know whether he should consider himself a player or an NPC. Other NPCs shouldn't have a system, but since players haven't entered the game yet, he still has the setting of a villager. So he should be considered an NPC, and according to the setting, an NPC dies for real after one death. Fang Lang couldn't help but sigh. If he had known this would happen, why did he agree in the first place? Why didn't NPCs have any rights? In the evening, the old village chief found Fang Lang with a smile on his face and said happily, "Xiao Fang, I've arranged everything for you today. Are you happy?" Fang Lang looked confused and asked, "What happened?" "The marriage proposal to Kuihua's family. Kuihua has agreed." "When are you going to prepare the betrothal gifts? Ninger is a good girl. Don't mistreat her." "What the ***, CK? I was dumbfounded for a few seconds. You found me a wife? And such a good thing. What the hell? This doesn't seem like a good thing at all. Just based on the name Kuihua and the appearance of that little Ning. I can't guarantee anything." Fang Lang immediately said firmly, "As long as the monster race is not exterminated, how can we have a peaceful home?" The old village chief was taken aback by Fang Lang's words and then suddenly patted Fang Lang's head with a smile, saying, "What nonsense are you talking about? The monsters are not our enemies." Fang Lang had never thought that he would see such complex emotions from an NPC. Obviously, this old village chief had a story. Fang Lang suddenly found it amusing. Can an NPC really have emotions? They are just a bunch of preset data. However, looking at the old village chief's gaze, Fang Lang couldn't just treat him as data. But Fang Lang remembered that when he was setting up the characters in the newbie village, he didn't give anyone this much drama. Fang Lang shook his head, dispelling these thoughts, and continued with what he had just said. "Those who are not of our kind will have different hearts. The monster race will eventually become our enemy." The old village chief's gaze became even deeper upon hearing this. After a long while, he sighed and said, "Indeed, you are an educated person. By the way, Kuihua gave me a chicken and said it's for you to replenish your body. I'm an old man and can't move much, so it's up to you." The old village chief's way of changing the subject was quite stiff, but Fang Lang didn't expose it. He suddenly thought of Wang Damao, whom he had seen during the day. "Since there shouldn't be many people in the newbie village raising chickens," he asked, "the Kuihua you mentioned, is her last name Huang?" "Yes, why? Don't you recognize Huang Damao?" Fang Lang. Indeed, it was Huang Damao who showed him fresh chicken droppings. Fang Lang couldn't help but imagine her appearance with all that wobbling fat and shivered. "I strongly oppose this marriage." Therefore, when Fang Lang saw the hen with its wings and feet tied up, he didn't feel like doing anything. It's hard to bite the hand that feeds you. Let's not eat chicken tonight. However, when Fang Lang saw the LV1 on top of the hen's head, he suddenly had a bold idea. He picked up a kitchen knife and made a strike. It dealt a critical hit of 99 damage, but unfortunately, it didn't drop a legendary dragon-slaying sword. But Fang Lang was still ecstatic. He saw the prompt of +1 experience, and an experience bar appeared in front of him. Although the experience was small and the progress was terrifyingly low, it meant that Fang Lang could gain experience by killing monsters. And he was already level 10, so it was normal to only get a tiny bit of experience from killing an LV1 monster. So what if he went to the wilderness to grind monsters and level up? Once this thought arose, it was difficult to suppress. If he could grind monsters and level up, Fang Lang could make himself stronger. In the future, even if the monster race invaded, he would have some self-defense capabilities. Fang Lang couldn't wait to break free from the shackles. Tonight, he would go, Still, I'll endure it for now and cook the chicken first. Good luck. Tonight we eat chicken." Although it is said that a gentleman stays away from the kitchen, Fang Lang himself is not particular about it. After seeing off the old village chief, Fang Lang waited until late at night before taking a kitchen knife and heading to the outskirts. His heart is a bit complicated now. On one hand, the sudden appearance of the interface made him realize that this should be a game. But the other NPCs all feel like real people. Subconsciously, he plays the role of himself, just like the well-known Fang Xiukai. If a scholar runs around with a kitchen knife late at night, his character will collapse, so he quietly leaves the village without causing a commotion. According to the settings, the wild monsters near the newbie village will not exceed level 10, and Fang Lang is already level 10, so running to the wilderness at night is not considered reckless. However, Fang Lang doesn't rely on his high level to recklessly venture. Once he reaches the outskirts of the village, he becomes cautious. What if the monsters in this wilderness don't follow the settings? Not long after, Fang Lang sees a group of wild rabbits, all at level 2. Judging from their posture, it seems like they are planning to cause trouble in the village. Seeing that it's harmless rabbits, Fang Lang decides to practice his skills. However, these rabbits seem to have lost their minds. Instead of running away when they see Fang Lang, they aggressively try to bite him. Fang Lang is scared and almost drops his knife. He can't believe that these seemingly harmless rabbits are so aggressive. Fang Lang quickly decides to retreat, but those rabbits are much faster than him. They swarm and jump on him, biting his clothes. Fang Lang's clothes are made of fabric and seem to have no defense. But when those rabbits bite him, a bunch of ineffective attack prompts flash before his eyes. Haha, these rabbits can't break through his defense. Originally panicked, Fang Lang suddenly laughs out loud. Hey, 30 seconds for the rabbits, 30 seconds for Fang Lang. Don't underestimate a scholar. Fang Lang swings his knife, one rabbit at a time. He doesn't know how long he has been killing, but the +2 experience prompt keeps appearing until there are no more live rabbits around him. Fang Lang finally sees his experience bar, which is at 2% progress. Although this progress is slow, it gives Fang Lang great confidence. As long as he continues to level up, he will eventually succeed. And because he killed low-level monsters, the experience gained is low, so leveling up is slow. In the future, when he fights higher-level monsters, he should gain more experience. However, Fang Lang looks around and sees rabbit corpses everywhere, which makes him feel a bit uncomfortable. How can he kill such cute rabbits? Moreover, the corpses of the rabbits he killed haven't respawned, and he doesn't know what's going on. Fang Lang doesn't care and continues to focus on leveling up. Time is precious. Because of the previous rabbits, Fang Lang's courage has grown a little. He is level 10, and in this newbie village, he can walk sideways. Fang Lang feels a bit inflated. The moonlight is bright, and Fang Lang walks further and further away from the village. He even hopes to encounter another group of low-level monsters to kill. And these monsters are so stupid, they don't know how to run away even when they can't win. Suddenly, Fang Lang sees a wild boar with shining words above its head. LV5. Level 5 boss? Can it drop equipment? Chapter 3. This pig is really stubborn. Fang Lang's eyes lit up. His luck was too good. He encountered a group of rabbits that dropped heads as soon as he went out, and now he encountered a mini-boss. At this time, he hadn't seen any other players, so he didn't have to worry about someone stealing from him. This pig was only level 5, so he didn't have to worry about not being able to defeat it. So, Fang Lang lifted his kitchen knife and swung it at the wild boar that was eating grass. 10. A red prompt appeared above the wild area, and the wild boar let out a miserable howl. Its eyes turned red, and it suddenly turned its head and bumped into Fang Lang's stomach, sending him flying. Health -30. Not only that, Fang Lang also felt his stomach churning, almost causing him to vomit. Fang Lang was shocked. What kind of damage was this? Wasn't it supposed to be a low-level monster? If it bumps into me again, won't I be done for? Fang Lang didn't have time to think too much. The shiny golden wild boar boss kicked its hind legs on the grass, causing the grass to fly. Then the wild boar charged towards Fang Lang. Could this be the legendary wild boar charge? Fang Lang was so scared that he rolled on the ground to dodge it, and the wild boar bumped into a tree instead, losing 20 health. There were a few little stars circling above its head. Fang Lang. Indeed, the pig is just stupid. While the wild boar was stunned, Fang Lang approached and struck it with his knife, dealing only 10 points of damage. However, this attack also woke up the wild boar, and it repeated its charging motion. But this time, Fang Lang reacted and took a small step back, avoiding it. The wild boar then gathered strength again, preparing to charge in the same posture as before. Fang Lang easily dodged it as if taking a leisurely stroll. Unexpected, right? I have good positioning. The wild boar crashed into the tree again, injuring itself and giving itself a dizziness debuff. Fang Lang felt a bit sorry for the pig's intelligence. This was a forest with trees all around. If it wasn't careful, it would crash into a tree. This pig is really stubborn. Fang Lang went up to strike again. This boss was too easy to defeat. Please give me more bosses this dumb. The iron-headed pig among the wild boars repeated the same action as before, and Fang Lang naturally dodged it again. Moreover, he discovered that as long as he didn't attack while the wild boar was dizzy, it wouldn't recover. This way, Fang Lang could manipulate the situation. He forcefully moved the wild boar's head, trying to make it face a tree so that it could directly crash into it later. This might increase the efficiency of fighting monsters. However, Fang Lang seemed to have thought too optimistically this time. Maybe the wild boar had lost too much health, so its recovery speed had also increased. Just as Fang Lang grabbed the wild boar's head, it suddenly stood up. Fang Lang had just put down his knife, so he naturally panicked and quickly grabbed the pig's mane and didn't let go. The wild boar ran forward a few steps, and Fang Lang quickly jumped onto its back. The wild boar felt someone on its back and immediately went crazy, trying to shake Fang Lang off. Fang Lang instinctively held onto the mane tightly and clamped his legs on the pig's back, not wanting to fall off. He never thought that he would become a man riding a pig. And now this wild boar had lost its mind, running around like crazy. Fortunately, it seemed to have gained some intelligence and ran in one direction, loudly squealing as it ran. There was no other way. After all, it was a pig, so it could only squeal. However, as Fang Lang ran, he suddenly felt that something was wrong, because in addition to the pig squealing, he also heard wolf howls. Awu tilde, awu tilde. Silver moonlight spilled down, and Fang Lang suddenly felt a bit chilly. Gradually, the howls of wolves became more and more frequent, getting closer and closer. Gradually, Fang Lang noticed pairs of shiny green eyes appearing all around him. By the way, who was it that said it would be better to have more low-level monsters? A pack of level 7 wild wolves has surrounded Fang Lang, and he's in big trouble. Even a level 5 wild boar boss can break through his defense, so a level 7 wolf definitely can. With so many wolves closing in, it looks like he's going to be wolf food today. The wild boar under Fang Lang seems to sense the danger as well. It has been running for a while and is already exhausted, slowing down significantly. The wolf pack quickly closes in. They probably want to ask the wild boar, "Are you delivering takeout?" Fang Lang declares, "I will definitely not go down so easily." In this situation, Fang Lang recites a poem on the back of the boar. The name of the Hu horse resounds, its sharp bones and thin figure. Its ears stand tall like bamboo shoots, and the wind lightly enters its 4 hooves. It knows no bounds, truly embodying life and death. With such vigor, it can traverse thousands of miles. As Fang Lang finishes reciting the poem, his literary chi is depleted by 10 points. Suddenly, the wild boar under him accelerates, charging through the wolf pack. The wild boar's impact is so strong that the wolves in front dare not stop it. After breaking free, the wolves try to chase, but they can only eat dust behind the wild boar. They have never seen a pig run so fast. This is the skill of a scholar. By consuming literary chi to recite poems, they can activate buffs. Although Fang Lang is writing a pig, reciting a poem about horses still works. If it were a horse, the speed boost would likely be even greater. This is also the most bugged aspect of the game. When designing the game, the team collected all the ancient poems and verses from ancient times to the present. These poems can be used in the game. However, there are restrictions for players. They cannot directly use the poems they know. Instead, they must obtain relevant poems by defeating monsters or receiving them from NPCs in order to use the skills. If this restriction didn't exist, players who choose to be scholars could easily learn all the skills by searching on Baidu. That would be too buggy. Additionally, any poems created without obtaining the skill book would be considered original and would increase the scholar's literary chi. Players can also create original poems, but those poems exist outside the game's database and require system recognition. However, Fang Lang is different. He is an NPC. Unlike other NPCs, he knows many poems that do not exist in this world. Similarly, he is not subject to the restrictions imposed on players. The poems he recites take immediate effect and increase his total literary chi. Fang Lang has tested this. Before leaving, he recited a poem called Quiet Night Thoughts. Although it didn't have any special effects, his total literary chi increased. Not all poems can provide buffs, but each original poem can increase the total literary chi and earn skill experience points. It is because Fang Lang is not an ordinary NPC that he can think of a poem in a critical situation, giving his wild boar a movement speed buff to escape the encirclement of the wolves. Otherwise, they would have been wolf food tonight. Fang Lang won't easily give up before knowing if he can be resurrected. However, the current situation seems a bit off. The wolf pack has been chasing them from behind, but gradually falls behind. However, the wild boar keeps running and shows no intention of stopping. Moreover, it is running towards the mountaintop. Suddenly, Fang Lang has a bad feeling. It's not until he sees the cliff ahead under the moonlight that he realizes his feeling was correct. Damn it, doesn't this stupid pig know to stop? Fang Lang quickly grabs the wild boar's mane, trying to make it stop. The wild boar's speed is too fast. If Fang Lang jumps off recklessly, he might be thrown to death. If there's a chance to avoid risks, don't take them. Fang Lang pulls on the wild boar's mane and punches its head. The wild boar's health is not much now. It should be able to stop before reaching the edge of the cliff. Sure enough, the wild boar staggers, clearly unable to hold on any longer. But at its final moment, it suddenly accelerates and crashes into a large rock in front of the cliff. Damn it, this pig's head is really made of iron. Just as Fang Lang thinks this, he can no longer hold on to the wild boar's mane and is thrown away by a tremendous force. The property of an object to maintain its state of motion is called inertia. Seeing this scene, Newton's coffin can finally rest. But Fang Lang shouts in surround sound between the cliffs, "I don't want to go down so easily. Go down so easily." Ah. Chapter 4. Sitting to death a monster kingdom. The bright moon hung high in the sky and the stars were sparse. The jungle below the cliff was silent, with only the occasional sound of cicadas. Suddenly, a flock of birds flew up from the forest. It turned out to be a monster with the head of a fox and the body of a human running through the woods. In an instant, a cold light flashed, and the fox-headed monster was pinned to the ground by a shimmering longsword. The monster howled in pain, its voice echoing through the surroundings. After the fox's cry, the forest fell silent. Not even a cicada dared to make a sound. But a woman dressed in white as pure as snow appeared in front of the monster, seemingly out of nowhere. Her eyes were like stars, her face like frost, and she spoke with a cold voice that seemed untouched by the mortal world. "Thousand-faced Fox King, reveal the whereabouts of the monster-slaying sword, and I will spare your life." The fox-headed monster suddenly changed its appearance, transforming from a fox-headed creature into a handsome young man. With a charming smile, he said, "Yao Guang, immortal venerable, you really know how to joke. If I were to reveal the whereabouts of the monster-slaying sword, in the next instant, I'm afraid my soul would scatter, never to be reincarnated." Yao Guang coldly snorted, her expression unchanged. Indeed, she wanted to first inquire about the whereabouts of the monster-slaying sword before making a move. As one of the 5 saints of the human race, Yao Guang possessed profound cultivation, but she preferred to solve problems with wisdom. Unfortunately, the monsters she encountered were not so foolish, and in the end she always relied on the immortal sword in her hand to solve the problem. Upon careful consideration, it seemed that it was not entirely because the monster race was too cunning. The monster-slaying sword was a divine weapon of the human race. With the sword in hand, all monsters would be easily defeated. Originally, this sword was kept in the human sovereign palace. But somehow, the thousand-faced Fox King used some means to steal the monster-slaying sword and steal it. Yao Guang had been pursuing it all the way until she finally found the thousand-faced Fox King, only to discover that the monster-slaying sword was no longer in his possession. Thus, she entered her favorite stage of outwitting and battling the monster. However, the matter of the monster-slaying sword was of great importance, so Yao Guang was extremely cautious. "Miss, you dare not kill me, nor can you let me go. If we continue like this, it won't be good for anyone. How about we discuss it? If you remove this sword and spare my life, I will give you a token, and you will naturally be able to find the monster-slaying sword. How about it?" Although the thousand-faced Fox King was pinned to the ground by the sword, he still maintained the demeanor of a monster king. As he spoke, he took out an object from his pocket and held it in his hand. Yao Guang couldn't see clearly, so she said, "What if you give me a fake token?" You will understand whether it's real or fake once you see this thing. Only then did Yao Guang nod and say, throw it over. Although her strength far surpassed that of the Fox King, caution was always necessary. When the Fox King threw the object, Yao Guang immediately saw that it was just a red string and couldn't figure out what was special about it. She then manipulated her spiritual force to make the object float in the air, without touching it with her hand. But as soon as her spiritual force touched the red string, it wrapped around her wrist. Yao Guang was taken aback and tried to shake off the red string, but found herself bound by an inexplicable force, unable to even activate her spiritual force. What is this thing? Only then did the Fox King burst into laughter and said, this is the Heavenly Tao's secret treasure, red string of fate. I wonder if Immortal Venerable has heard of it. Upon hearing this, Yao Guang's heart sank, but she still maintained a cold expression, concealing her inner turmoil. The red string of fate was indeed a Heavenly Tao's secret treasure, and even as a Grand Immortal Venerable, she couldn't resist the binding power of this mysterious force. According to rumors, the red string of fate would seek out the two living beings with the strongest affinity within a certain range and bind them together. Once bound, these two beings would become a perfect match from their past lives. The thousand-faced fox. King proudly said, since you started chasing after me, you fell into my trap. No matter how powerful your spirit ascension technique is, this place is rarely visited by humans. Besides me, who else could this red string choose? Sure enough, one end of the red string was wrapped around Yao Guang's wrist, while the other end slowly extended towards the thousand-faced Fox King. Seeing that Yao Guang remained silent and seemed to be trying to struggle using her spiritual force, the thousand-faced Fox King became even more pleased with himself. Fairy, I advise you not to resist anymore. Let's become a carefree couple. Isn't that beautiful? Shut up, shameless old thief. Even if Red Thread chooses you, I will kill you. The frivolous words of the thousand-faced Fox King had already infuriated Yao Guang. However, the thousand-faced Fox King remained calm, watching as Red Thread slowly approached him. He confidently said, if you kill me, you will suffer the backlash from Red Thread and die. You won't be able to escape the fate of your soul dispersing and your body perishing. Why bother? It would be better for both of us. I can give you 100 times more glory in the monster race than in the human race. Isn't that beautiful? Even if I die, I will not associate with beasts like you. Yao Guang's tone was resolute and filled with killing intent. The thousand-faced Fox King couldn't help but panic. As one of the Fox clan's monster kings, he didn't want to die like this. He dared not provoke Yao Guang's anger any further, and instead tried to persuade her with kind words. If you die, you won't be able to protect the human race anymore. The monster race's army is coming, and with only the 4 saints of the human race left, how can they resist? It's better to leave while you still have a chance. Don't do something foolish. Don't try to deceive me any longer. When I stand firm in my position, I will kill you and eliminate any future troubles. Upon hearing this, the thousand-faced Fox King immediately became anxious. He had thought that Red Thread could be used on Yao Guang, not only to resolve his own crisis, but also to obtain a beautiful wife. Although Yao Guang was a bit cold, her appearance was top-notch in the world. There were countless beautiful fox women in the Fox clan, but few could compare to Yao Guang's beauty and her pure and noble temperament. However, he didn't expect that Yao Guang was not afraid of death. This overturned the Fox King's understanding of the human race's top experts, to the point where it had reached such a level. Originally, if he didn't reveal the whereabouts of the monster-slaying sword, his life wouldn't be in danger, and he could still negotiate. But now, death was inevitable. Yao Guang had made up her mind. After the bond with Red Thread was completed, and Yao Guang's restraints were lifted, it would be his time to die. Ha ha ha, exchanging my life for an immortal venerable's life is not a bad deal. Just wait and see. When the monster race conquers the world, you will understand how ridiculous your persistence today is. The thousand-faced Fox King spoke eloquently, but as he watched Red Thread approach him, he couldn't help but cry out in his heart, I don't want to be defeated so easily. Did I just speak? The thousand-faced Fox King subconsciously thought this, but he realized that the voice came from above. Hearing this voice, both Yao Guang and the thousand-faced Fox King looked up to the sky and saw a man screaming as he fell. The thousand-faced Fox King immediately felt that something was wrong. Sure enough, the slowly spreading red thread, which seemed somewhat reluctant, was about to touch his hand, but suddenly turned sharply in front of him, like a beam of light, quickly chasing after that man and entwining around his hand. Damn, can it be intercepted like this? The thousand-faced Fox King's heart was in turmoil. The difference in the speed of Red Thread was too obvious. Red Thread clearly resisted him, so its speed was slow. But when it came to this person who fell from the sky, Red Thread couldn't wait and instantly bound his left hand. This undoubtedly indicated that this person who fell was the one truly destined to be with Yao Guang. The thousand-faced Fox King's heart ached. The treasure of the Fox clan was being given away so easily. However, the next moment, he felt a big butt hit his face. Su Yu took his last breath. As a generation's monster king, I was killed by a mortal in such a humiliating way. If it weren't for Yao Guang and the sword, I would hate... Fang Lang felt that he was doomed, but the sensation under his butt didn't seem right. Isn't it painful to fall from such a high place? Feeling sorry for Newton, his coffin board couldn't hold him down. Chapter 5. Master is a great fairy. Fang Lang felt like he was already doomed, but the sensation under his buttocks didn't seem right. Falling from such a high place, shouldn't it hurt? He felt sorry for Newton. His coffin board couldn't hold him down. Soon, Fang Lang's attention was drawn to the sudden change in front of him, without even having time to check what was under his buttocks. He saw that the red thread wrapped around his hand emitted a dazzling, yet not glaring red light, but this light quickly disappeared in a flash, along with the red thread. Only then did Fang Lang notice the woman in front of him, dressed in white like snow. Her face was even colder than the moonlight. highlighting her transcendent and ethereal beauty. To think that there could be such a fairy-like woman in the world, Fang Lang felt his heart stop beating for a moment, and then it started pounding in his chest at several times the normal speed. Oh no, it's the feeling of a racing heart. Who are you? Where do you come from? While Yao Guang spoke, she made a gesture with her hand, and the sword that was stuck in the thousand-faced Fox King flew back into Yao Guang's hand. However, the sword faintly pointed towards Fang Lang, seemingly with ill intentions. Fang Lang felt a chill down his spine. This girl, her words were so cold, she's not cute at all. She may be good-looking, but she shouldn't bully people like this. However, looking at the sword in her hand and the casual and elegant move she just made, Fang Lang decided to organize his words carefully from the bottom of his heart. My hometown is in this village. I am a native of this village, Yao Guang. This person's tone is really strange. Listening to him speak, it seems like he wants to sing. In fact, Yao Guang's heart was also complicated at the moment. The red thread did indeed disappear, but it transformed from something tangible to intangible. From then on, she had an inexplicable bond with the man in front of her. Perhaps one day, they would become husband and wife. The red string of fate is not something that confuses people's hearts, but it involves the way of destiny. The process is unknown, but the outcome is already determined. Thinking of this, Yao Guang resisted in her heart, unsure of what to do. She was not someone who couldn't distinguish right from wrong. Fang Lang did save her life, and since he was innocent, she should repay the favor. Yao Guang had already reached the pinnacle of the ice heart technique, able to discern truth from falsehood and know good and bad fortune. She didn't sense any danger just now, so she caught the red thread, thinking it was just a mistake. It was only when Fang Lang appeared that her feelings were confirmed. She could tell that Fang Lang was not lying, so she put away her sword. However, her tone remained cold as she said, I am Yao Guang, the head of Jade Flower Palace. You have a great favor towards me today, and I see that you have extraordinary talent in cultivating immortality. I want to take you as my personal disciple. Are you willing? Fang Lang was taken aback by her words. The head of Jade Flower Palace? Who is that? He had never heard of it, but this person seemed quite powerful, so it wouldn't hurt to become her disciple, especially since she was good-looking. Fang Lang immediately clasped his hands and said, I am willing, master. Very well, Yao Guang said, and suddenly a green light shot towards Fang Lang. Fang Lang felt himself flying higher and farther away from Yao Guang until he couldn't see her anymore, but he could still hear her voice echoing in his ears. Master is going to search for the monster-slaying sword? Focus on your cultivation. If you have any news about the monster-slaying sword, inform me. Don't bother me if there's nothing else. Listening to this voice, Fang Lang's face suddenly became awkward. I know where the monster-slaying sword is, but can't you give me a way to contact you? When Fang Lang regained control of himself, he was already standing at the entrance of the village. Fang Lang complained in his heart, but couldn't help but be amazed. Is this the power of a great immortal? However, as the main planner, how come he had no impression of the power of the Qianghua Palace? Among the major immortal sects, there was no name like that. Yao Guang, the head of Jade Flower Palace. Yao Guang. Fang Lang suddenly remembered. He didn't recognize it with the prefix, but just saying Yao Guang, isn't that the grand immortal venerable who died at the beginning of the expansion? Because she died, the human race lost a powerful force, and coupled with a series of turmoil, the monster race began its invasion. Fang Lang began to use his reasoning abilities. Yao Guang said he saved her life, so according to the plot, Yao Guang should have died tonight. However, he intervened and saved Yao Guang when he fell off the cliff. Fang Lang's expression became serious. He couldn't figure out the truth and reality of this world anymore. If all the people and monsters were just data, then they didn't even set the data for Yao Guang. Yao Guang was just a background character, but now such a beautiful Yao Guang has appeared, making it difficult for Fang Lang to not think about her. But if this is a real world, what is his system all about? And the experience gained from defeating monsters, it's clearly an online game. System prompt. Yao Guang imparts to you the Jade Flower Palace's ultimate skill. Extreme Clear Sword Art, 5 Spirits Immortal Technique, and Supreme Clear Heart Mantra. Due to Yao Guang using the skill Enlightenment, all skill initial levels have been raised to LV5. The sound of the system prompt brought Fang Lang's thoughts back, and he realized that the system had a voice version. He silently thought about the panel, and his attribute panel appeared before his eyes. Character. Fang Lang. Level. LV20. Occupation. Scholar. Rank. Scholar. Health. 500 500s. Strength 100. Literary Chi. 100 170s. Spiritual Force. 200 200s. Description. Yao Guang's personal disciple. Novice Village 01 Villager. Sworn enemy of the monster race. More attributes. How did he suddenly become level 20? And it's understandable to be Yao Guang's personal disciple, but how did he provoke the monster race again? Fang Lang looked at the panel and suddenly thought, can he scroll down to see the previous system prompt? According to reason, there should be reminders when leveling up, right? As soon as this thought arose, the panel in front of Fang Lang changed, and a bunch of system prompts appeared before his eyes. You have killed a domestic chicken, experience +1. You have created an original poem, reputation +10, literary chi +10, skill experience points +100. You have killed a wild rabbit. Fang Lang quickly skimmed through these numerous messages until the most recent one. You have created an original poem and gained the skill equestrianism, reputation +30, literary chi +60, skill experience points +200. You have killed the monster king, Su Yu of the Fox clan, gaining experience points +999999999. Your level +1. You have reached the current stage's level limit. Unlock the level limit through trials. You have killed the monster king of the Fox clan and absorbed Su Yu's resentment. When encountering the monster race, it will trigger the resentment mark, and the monster race's hatred towards you will reach its maximum. After reading so many system prompts, Fang Lang finally understood. He inexplicably killed a monster king, but the problem was that he didn't even know when he made a move. However, Fang Lang suddenly remembered the sensation on his buttocks after falling off the cliff. Oh, did he sit on a monster king and kill it? Is he that amazing? Chapter 6. The wrong approach to this task. Originally, Fang Lang only wanted to improve his own strength to survive in this chaotic world. But now he suddenly felt something strange. If he wanted to survive, having a master with top human combat power was quite a solid backing. However, this master was a bit peculiar. She even said that he couldn't bother her unless it was something important. This was truly treating him like a disciple. But Fang Lang also felt that Yao Guang seemed to be quite good to him. Otherwise, how could he have such a sudden realization and help her improve her skill level? Fang Lang expanded his attributes and checked his skills. 6 Arts LV1. Scholar Passive Skill. Scholars can learn the 6 Arts. When learning various skills, the required skill experience is reduced by 10%. Supreme Clear Heart Mantra. LVI5. Increases total spiritual force, True Chi, by 50%, and restores spiritual force, True Chi, by 50%. 5 Spirits Immortal Technique. LVO5. Simultaneously increases the level of various learned attribute immortal arts. Fireball Technique. LVI5 consumes 30 spiritual force to summon a fireball that damages enemies within a certain distance. Attribute bonus, 50% damage increase. Ice Curse. LVD5 consumes 10 spiritual force to reduce the movement speed of nearby enemies. Asterisk attribute restraint, 50% reduced effect. Thunder Curse Lord B5 consumes 30 spiritual force to summon lightning that damages enemies within a certain distance, dealing double true damage to ghosts and evil spirits. Wind Curse. OV5 consumes 20 spiritual force to summon a hurricane that inflicts minor damage and knocks back enemies within a certain distance. Earth Curse. LV5 consumes 30 spiritual force to set up a stone formation around the body. During the stone formation, rushing skills cannot be used. After 10 seconds, it explodes, causing massive damage. Extreme Clear Sword Art LV5. Passive. Increases physical damage caused by wielding a sword by 10%. Unlocks more skills as the skill level increases. Already unlocked. 3 Talents Unification. 3 Talents Unification. Consumes 50 True Chi to unleash a sword chi attack, causing massive area damage. Current skill experience. Points, 500. Fang Lang looked at his attributes and couldn't help but laugh uncontrollably. In the power system of Immortal Seeking Dream, spiritual force, True Chi, and literary Chi were the 3 major sources of power. Depending on the profession, the main development direction would differ. Only scholars could use literary Chi, while spiritual force and True Chi could be cultivated simultaneously. Fang Lang discovered that he could cultivate all 3 paths. With the Supreme Clear Heart Mantra, spiritual force and True Chi were originally cultivated together. As for literary Chi, Fang Lang didn't need to use skill points to improve it. He could create many poems and increase his literary Chi, while also gaining skill experience points. That night, Fang Lang wrote a bunch of poems. Some could comprehend skills, while others couldn't, but they all brought him skill experience points. Afterwards, Fang Lang raised all 3 Jade Flower Palace's Supreme Arts to level 20 Apex level, unable to improve further. To continue improving, he would need to go through trials, but Fang Lang didn't know what trials were. In addition, he gained many small skills from writing those poems, but Fang Lang didn't plan to spend energy on them. Now, even though he was just a level 20 scholar, Fang Lang felt like he could take on 10 opponents alone. Of course, this was limited to within level 20. As the sound of roosters crowing filled the air, dawn arrived. At the moment Fang Lang heard the roosters call, he finished his night of grinding experience. Just as he was about to go to bed, his whole body suddenly became immobile. Then he felt some information enter his mind through an unknown method. The chosen ones will descend upon this world. They will not truly die but become the protagonists of this world. Teach them skills and make them stronger. Soon, Fang Lang regained his ability to move, but his mood remained unsettled for a long time. This was indeed a game, but he didn't know what happened. He had become an NPC in this game. Was the prompt from the GM earlier directed at the NPC? Thinking about this, Fang Lang lost interest in sleeping and opened the door to go outside. It was just dawn, and the people in the village were all out and about. The once small village was now filled with people. The vegetable field on the outskirts of the village was the most crowded place. Aunt Zhang stood in the middle of the vegetable field, occasionally talking to someone. Hello, Auntie. Is there anything I can help you with? Young man, take a look at my vegetable field, the player with the ID. The first person to eat sunflower seeds looked around and saw that the cabbage in the vegetable field was growing well without any signs of being dug up by pigs. Auntie, what happened to this vegetable field? Has it been damaged by some animal? Are you blind? Isn't the cabbage growing well? Aunt Zhang had a look of disbelief on her face. Fang Lang almost burst out laughing, and the player's smile also became a bit stiff. Damn, are NPCs this intelligent now? They even make fun of players? The first person to eat sunflower seeds stopped following the script. Someone had already been defeated by Aunt Zhang earlier because according to the official strategy guide, it was said that there would be a task to kill monsters in the vegetable field. But according to the scripted dialogue, there was no way to continue the conversation. He decided to make a sarcastic comment. Auntie, what do you want me to see? After many players were mocked by NPCs, they thought it was just a sadistic joke from the developers. They made a sarcastic comment and left when they didn't receive a task. Only the first person to eat sunflower seeds made a sarcastic comment. Yesterday, a deity appeared in my dream and said that my vegetable field would be destroyed by rabbits. They asked me to find someone to kill the rabbits, but my vegetable field is clearly undamaged. Why is that? Just as the first person to eat sunflower seeds was about to say something, a task prompt suddenly appeared. Aunt Zhang has initiated a task for you. Investigate the reason why the vegetable field is undamaged. Do you accept? Huh? Of course he accepted. The first person to eat sunflower seeds was shocked at that moment, and then he quickly became ecstatic. This opening method was completely different from what the experts had said. Could it be that he had received a hidden task from the beginning? Auntie, don't worry. I'll go investigate and come back to tell you the reason. After saying that, he ran off in a hurry. The onlookers were all stunned. Damn, the developers tricked me. So this is how the task is triggered. After learning about the method to trigger the task, many onlookers approached Aunt Zhang to talk, and they all received the task. By this time, the first person to eat sunflower seeds had already run out of the village. Chapter 7. The #1 elementary school student in the national server. Most of the villagers in the village, like Aunt Zhang, are surrounded by players. Fang Lang is no exception. As soon as he stepped out of the door, a group of people gathered around him. Among them, there were more than 10 people with the prefix Dynasty in their names, while others had fancy names, all of them looking like solo players. When Fang Lang appeared, this group of people surrounded him. However, those with the Dynasty prefix pushed others aside and forcefully made way for a person named Dynasty Overlord to come to the front. Fang Lang works in the gaming industry, so naturally he knows what's going on. Big guilds bullying solo players. Fang Lang deeply despises this kind of behavior. That Dynasty Overlord, dressed like everyone else in short sleeves and shorts, had an arrogant expression, giving off a feeling of looking down on others. Mr. Fang, I want to become a scholar. Please enlighten me, Dynasty Overlord said to Fang Lang. At this time, the other solo players beside him were grumbling. They were gamers and weren't afraid of offending any guild. In gaming, the most important thing is to have fun. If you're being bullied in the game and don't dare to fight back, what's the point of playing? But Dynasty Overlord didn't pay attention to them. His time was precious, and he wouldn't waste it on these small fry. Fang Lang didn't like this Dynasty Overlord, but the system, which had been silent all this time, suddenly prompted, "Please choose an enlightening book for the chosen one, Dynasty Overlord." Fang Lang originally wanted to refuse, but he suddenly wanted to see how the person would change after being enlightened. So he picked one of the 3 enlightening books and said to Dynasty Overlord, "Since you want to study, let me teach you the 3-character classic." After Fang Lang finished speaking, Dynasty Overlord received a prompt. Mr. Fang has imparted the 3-character classic to you. After comprehending it, you have become a scholar and gained 5 points of literary chi. Although he successfully became a scholar, Dynasty Overlord's expression became unpleasant because he failed to comprehend the skill. What use is literary chi for a scholar without skills? After Fang Lang finished imparting the knowledge, he felt excited inside, but he suppressed his joy and didn't show it. You have successfully helped someone change their occupation and gained 1 energy point. When Fang Lang saw the prompt, he naturally had questions in his mind. He didn't know what the energy points were for, but the system immediately prompted, "Collecting 10,000 energy points allows you to log out." It was truly unexpected that achieving this goal would require no effort at all. Oh no, he had been longing to return to reality, but he didn't expect to be given a task for players. Although the condition might be a bit harsh, at least it gave Fang Lang something to look forward to. From now on, his small goal has changed. He would first earn 10,000 energy points. At this moment, his gaze towards nearby players became particularly friendly, and even the disliked Dynasty Overlord wasn't as detestable. "Mr. Fang, I want to learn more knowledge." Dynasty Overlord took out 10 copper coins and handed them to Fang Lang. This was the game rule. The first teaching session was free, but the second one required payment. Each player starts with only 10 copper coins. These coins are usually used to buy healing potions and can be used when fighting monsters. As for low-level equipment, NPCs give them as gifts. As long as players complete quests, they can exchange quest items for equipment. Scholars must learn their first skill before they can join a team to fight monsters. Otherwise, they are useless and cannot enhance the team. Although he is the vice president of the Dynasty Guild, he can completely rely on others to level up, but it's embarrassing. So it's worth paying. Fang Lang didn't waste any time and immediately taught him a profound skill. Fang Xiukai has taught you the 100 family surnames. After comprehending it, you have gained 5 points of literary chi. Fang Lang's energy points increased a little. However, Dynasty Overlord still didn't comprehend the skill, and his face turned black. Is he African? Why is his face so dark? Usually, game companies provide simple instructions on how to start playing to help players get started. The rest is left for players to explore on their own. They can't tell players everything, but rather leak a little and keep some information hidden. According to the strategy guide, when scholars are enlightened, they will randomly receive 3 children's enlightenment books from their teachers. 3-character classic, 100 family surnames, and 1,000-character classic. Only the 1,000-character classic can be comprehended to obtain a skill, while the other 2 cannot. Moreover, the official information revealed that the probability of the teacher teaching the 1,000-character classic is higher. However, Dynasty Overlord didn't know that most people would comprehend the first skill of the scholar on their first try. Those with slightly worse luck would comprehend it on their second try. But only Fang Lang. He wanted to accumulate more energy so that each time he was taught, he could gain a little. Naturally, he had to start taking advantage of it. Helpless, Dynasty Overlord had no choice but to ask other members of the Dynasty Guild to trade their coins to him and once again seek Fang Lang's guidance. This time, Fang Lang finally taught him the 1,000-character classic. Meanwhile, the system notifications on Dynasty Overlord's side started to refresh frantically. Fang Xiukai has taught you the 1,000-character classic. From the phrase, "In the beginning the universe was in chaos," you have understood the essence of the world, comprehended the skill, Recovery Art, and gained 5 points of literary chi. Recovery Art consumes 1 point of literary chi to inspire your teammates, restoring 5% of their health and spiritual force/true chi. You have completed the 3 enlightenment books and obtained the special achievement title, Elementary Student. You are the first player on the server to obtain the achievement title, #1 Elementary Student. Server announcement. Congratulations to player Dynasty Overlord for obtaining the title, #1 Elementary Student. Server announcement. Congratulations to player Dynasty Overlord for obtaining the title, #1 Elementary Student. Server announcement. Congratulations to player Dynasty Overlord for obtaining the title #1 elementary student. The important news was announced 3 times by the system. At this moment, Dynasty Overlord's face turned red with embarrassment, while the players who were currently playing the game showed a knowing smile. Dynasty Overlord's face turned black, and he was about to leave. At this moment, the players who were blocked by the members of the Dynasty Guild didn't hesitate to mock him. When has Dynasty Overlord ever been humiliated like this? But arguing with these people would only lower his status, so it was better to take a step back. However, Fang Leng stopped him and said, "Young man, I see that you have extraordinary potential. There is something I want to entrust to you. Are you willing to help?" These words made Dynasty Overlord's heart move. Could it be that this #1 elementary student also had some benefits? It seems that after hardship comes reward, and there will be a rainbow after the storm. Chapter 8. Your wife's letter. Dynasty Overlord's face turned dark, and he was about to leave in a huff. At this moment, the players who were previously blocked by members of the Dynasty Guild didn't hesitate to mock him. "You were so eager to learn skills, but you're just a little schoolboy. How impressive." Dynasty Overlord had never experienced such humiliation before, but getting into an argument with these people would only lower his status. It was better to leave first. However, Fang Leng called out to him saying, "Young man, I see that you have extraordinary potential. There's something I'd like you to do for me. Are you willing to help?" These words stirred something in Dynasty Overlord's heart. Could it be that this #1 student in the Chinese server also had some benefits to offer? It seemed that after enduring hardships, there would be rewards, like a rainbow after a storm. "Please tell me, sir." Dynasty Overlord's face was filled with anticipation. But little did he know that he was just a pawn in Fang Leng's game. Speaking of which, Fang Leng had been targeting a specific pawn all along. "This wasn't good. I want to eat some vegetables. Can you go to Aunt Zhang's place and buy some for me?" Dynasty Overlord. As the vice president of the 3rd rank guild in the Chinese server, even if I can't receive quests or level up, there's no way I would run errands for an NPC. At this moment, Fang Leng took out 110 copper coins and said, "Consider the remaining money as your reward." "All right, I'll go right away." Dynasty Overlord took the money and left. Although he was wealthy in real life, the game hadn't opened a way to spend money yet, so he couldn't quickly become stronger. Therefore, starting money was also important. It smells good. Fang Leng successfully issued the quest and gained some energy. This feels great. After Dynasty Overlord left, Fang Leng continued to enlighten others. However, unlike Dynasty Overlord, he only taught players the 1000-character classic on their second encounter, because many solo players couldn't afford that much money at the beginning. Then using the money he received from the second encounter, Fang Leng made players run errands for him, harvesting another wave of energy. He also returned the money to the players. This was called sustainable development. It wasn't until noon that Fang Leng clearly arranged the players who wanted to become scholars, earning over 100 energy points in various food items, vegetables, steamed buns, and even eggs with fresh chicken droppings. The player who bought the eggs not only brought back the eggs, but also a letter for Fang Leng. This is a letter from Tang Ninger, the daughter of Aunt Huang from the chicken farm. The player said, "Give me a bottle of AD calcium." After speaking, he looked at Fang Leng quietly, waiting for his response. Fang Leng hadn't opened the letter yet, but his scalp was already tingling. "Oh, what should I do? How do I handle it when my assigned wife in the village sends me a letter?" Fang Leng forced himself to remain calm and said, "I understand. Is there anything else?" "Miss Tang hopes to receive your reply." AD Calcium looked at Fang Leng with anticipation. He was now very happy because, as far as he knew, among all the errand tasks, only his task had a follow-up. He hit the jackpot. Moreover, this scholar and Tang Ninger, with their talents and beauty, were likely an official CP, couple pairing, set by the game developers. Therefore, by completing this task, he would definitely receive rewards. At least in other games, this was usually the case for unique tasks, and the rewards were usually generous. "Tell her that my mind is currently focused on fame, and I don't want to think about anything else for now." AD Calcium was fantasizing about what rewards he would receive after becoming a matchmaker. However, Fang Leng's words instantly left him dumbfounded. This scholar was destined to live a lonely life. He didn't even know if the neighbor next door was an old king. But soon he became happy again. Regardless of whether he would break up or bring together this CP, as someone doing tasks, he would definitely receive rewards. And when it came to couples in the world, breaking up one pair meant creating another. He was very satisfied with this task. AD Calcium happily went to reply to Tang Ninger, while Fang Leng temporarily stopped working and planned to take a break. Although he is all liver, it is still better to balance work and rest. Just lying on the bed, he suddenly noticed that a section appeared in front of him. The Swordsman of the Martial World section. Fang Leng clicked on it and realized that it was a player forum. Interesting. Even this NPC can browse forums? The first post in front, without a doubt, was related to the title of the first elementary school student in the national server. This is the first time it has been announced to the entire server, but the title of elementary school student does not make gamers feel honored. Without Fang Leng's operation, when he wanted to see it, the system automatically entered the post. Huqian Luming. I'm curious how the GM knows that the people in the dynasty are elementary school students. Doghead. Ha ha ha. I asked the people in the dynasty. It turns out that you can get the title of elementary school student after studying 3 enlightenment books. This is not the first elementary school student in the national server, but clearly the first African in the national server. Although I feel sorry for the guild leader, I can't help but laugh. This is a comment from the user, Dynasty Furniture. Dynasty Furniture has been kicked out of the chat group, clown. Fang Leng browsed through the players' comments and almost burst out laughing. These forum trolls are really talented. Fang Leng originally wanted to go to sleep, but he became spirited again when he saw this. But as he scrolled down, the content of the post was mostly the same, and there wasn't much meaning. So Fang Leng exited the post and saw another eye-catching title, Rador. Why did a 70-year-old rabbit die naked at the village entrance? Is it the distortion of human nature or the loss of morality? Welcome to Novice Village 01 to explore the unknown story. Fang Lang looked at this title and twitched his mouth. Do city people still play like this nowadays? Fang Lang is also familiar with the idea of the poster, the first person to eat melon seeds. The body of the post records his experience of completing a quest. Originally thought it was a hidden quest, but after happily investigating, he found a pile of rabbit corpses at the village entrance. After reporting back to Anzhong, the quest was completed, and there were no follow-ups. The only reward was the gathering technique taught by Anzhong. Because all the rabbits were dead, and there were no respawns, he couldn't find any low-level monsters to fight. Naturally, the post was full of complaints about the game. The comments below were also interesting. We are different. Everyone has different experiences. Here, we can fight rabbits. Upstairs, I almost sang it out. Rabbits are so cute. Why do we have to fight them? Ah, it's so fragrant. OP, all newbie villages have rabbits to fight, except Novice Village 01. Instead of complaining, why not think about why? That's the difference between experts and casual players. The person above makes sense. 6th floor, what do you think? The 6th floor wants to see what the 7th floor has to say. The 7th floor guesses that the 8th floor will have a unique perspective. A group of people playing a boring word game. Until the 209th floor, Fang Lang was speechless. He silently scrolled to the bottom and found that these people were still playing. So boring. It was precisely because there were a bunch of boring people playing the word game behind that many people didn't notice that the truth had already been revealed on the 4th floor. When many gossipers were mindlessly chatting on the forum, the experts thought of investigating the mysterious death of rabbits in the newbie village. Unlike other places, this is the greatest value. Chapter 9. NPC's cheesy pickup lines. Outside Novice Village. 01. A woman dressed in black leather armor was observing the body of a rabbit. The armor only covered the important parts, accentuating her attractive figure. Even the neighboring elementary school students couldn't resist her charm. The woman wore a purple veil, revealing only her sharp eyes. She exuded an aura that said, "I'm super fierce." Dynasty Overlord swallowed his saliva. Yes, she had an impressive chest. "Youngster, I'll gouge your eyeballs out." The woman furrowed her brows, not hiding her disgust. "Men, Hanyan Guild Leader, don't be so fierce. It's a rare coincidence that we ended up in the same newbie village. Moreover, I have many people in this village. If you need any help, I can lend a hand. How about we form a team to hunt wild boars?" Dynasty Overlord suppressed his anger. If someone else called him a youngster, he would have called his gang to teach them a lesson. But he couldn't treat this fierce girl like that. After all, she was one of the leaders of the apex-level guild, Southern River Misty Rain. The most distinctive feature of Southern River Misty Rain was that it was a guild formed by female players. The guild had 4 founders, all of them skilled players, and the key point was that all 4 founders were good-looking. Hanyan still didn't give face to Dynasty Overlord, and coldly said, "I'm used to being alone. I don't need help. Just don't follow me." After saying that, Hanyan activated the hunter's skill, Hunting Moment, and quickly ran towards the area with high-level monsters. Dynasty Overlord, being only a scholar, could only watch as the girl slipped away. However, Dynasty Overlord didn't know that Hanyan had already discovered the secret behind the rabbit's death. She was going to explore it herself, thinking that Hanyan didn't want to be with him. But, regardless of the reason, it felt quite disheartening. He glanced at the dead rabbit and then called his gang to chase after Hanyan's direction. Hanyan ventured deep into the monster area. Since everyone had just entered the game, many people were hunting low-level monsters and doing quests in the low-level monster area. Hanyan reached the area with level 5 monsters. She was only level 3, so she couldn't defeat the wild boars. But she could avoid growing them. She didn't enter the monster area to grind, but to investigate. She didn't find many clues on the rabbit's body, but she felt that the rabbit at the village entrance was just one of the clues. Maybe she would discover something new by exploring further. Soon, she arrived at the boar forest where some boars were resting. Hanyan carefully avoided entering their aggro range while surveying the area. Finally, she noticed something unusual. A tree trunk had been damaged. Hanyan felt delighted. This should be a clue. Then she found more damaged trees nearby. There must have been a battle here. The scene hasn't refreshed, so it's definitely a clue. I should search around. Maybe I'll find something, Hanyan thought to herself, and suddenly her eyes were dazzled by a flash of light. Tears almost welled up in her eyes. The holographic simulation in this game was too realistic. Hanyan rubbed her eyes and looked toward the place where the light had flashed. In a patch of shallow grass, a knife was gleaming. You have found a blood-stained kitchen knife. It should belong to a villager nearby. Picking up the kitchen knife, Hanyan received such a clue. Sure enough, the mystery of the rabbit's death at the village entrance seemed to be halfway solved for Hanyan. The rabbit's wound and the blood-stained kitchen knife were obvious clues. So all we need to do next is inquire in the village about who lost a kitchen knife. Maybe then we'll know the truth. At this moment, Fang Lang suddenly sneezed. He felt like something significant had happened, but then he thought that it might be because the wind on the cliff last night was too strong and gave him a cold. Fang Lang closed the forum section and suddenly remembered that someone had sent him a letter, which he hadn't read. He opened it and saw a few delicate words written on a yellowed piece of paper. Brother Xiao Fang, my mother said that we are now engaged and can no longer see each other. This is really a strange rule. There are so many things I want to say to you, but the paper is too small to write them all. I know you're usually busy with your studies, so just read the first 3 words of this sentence. From Tang Ninger, Fang Lang. His scalp tingled a bit now. Can NPCs also say cheesy love words? Who designed such a character with such personality? Come here, I'll give you a buff. Fang Lang sighed and casually put the letter aside. It was all his fault for being clueless. This marriage was now set, and Fang Lang didn't dare to think about canceling it. After all, although the village chief and he had no blood relation, they were considered elders. So when the village chief proposed the engagement, the villagers all agreed. The key point was that the letter was full of a young girl's emotions. Fang Lang really couldn't bear to hurt her. Besides, this was his own problem. If he canceled the engagement just because the other person was ugly, it would be too much, and it would embarrass her in the village. She might not be able to get married for the rest of her life. Fang Lang couldn't pass this test in his heart. But then he thought about the 300 jin, 150 kilograms, Huang Danyang. Let's use the dragging tactic first. Although a soul weighing over 300 jin might be interesting, Fang Lang still preferred an attractive appearance. Thinking about these things, Fang Lang went to bed with his clothes on, and at this time, AD Calcium returned to Huang Danyang's house to continue his chain quest. Next to the chicken coop, a bright-eyed and white-toothed girl was watching a group of chickens running around absent-mindedly. The girl was wearing a simple dress, but her coarse linen clothes couldn't hide her natural beauty. With a faint smile on her red lips, she had the charm of a girl next door. She was Tang Ninger. Huang Danyang was very fat, but Tang Ninger was not. Her flesh was just right, with a slender waist that could be held with one hand, long arms, and no excess fat on her face. She was clearly a rare beauty. AD Calcium felt a bit reluctant to ruin this beautiful scene, but as he entered Huang Danyang's house, a rooster noticed him and immediately crowed. Tang Ninger turned around and saw him, immediately delightedly asking, "Did Brother Xiaofang reply to my letter? Did he bring me a bottle of AD Calcium?" Seeing Tang Ninger's expectant face, AD Calcium, a senior member of the FFF team, suddenly felt a bit guilty. She was such a cute girl, like an angel. In the real world, he had never seen a girl with such a bright smile. He suddenly felt reluctant to hurt her, even though she was just an NPC. Chapter 10. This chicken must have heat stroke. For seasoned otaku, paper characters are more endearing than real girls, just like AD Calcium now. He decided to take the support route instead of the destructive route. Moreover, he suddenly had a whimsical idea. If Fang Shukai asked him to pass on a message but didn't leave any proof, what if he made up something? "So did Xiaofang say anything?" Tang Ninger asked again when she saw he didn't reply. Fang Shukai said he's immersed in studying and can't extricate himself. He hasn't considered anything else for the time being, AD Calcium said, still using the original words, but he added, "Fang Shukai looks exhausted, and he seems to be preoccupied with something." AD Calcium didn't tell a lie, but his statement had a strong suggestive effect. In his interactions with NPCs, he had already discovered that these NPCs were very intelligent, just like living people. So this suggestion might actually work. Sure enough, when Tang Ninger heard this, she stopped paying attention to the message Fang Lang had sent. "Xiaofang must be tired from studying," Tang Ninger said, turning her head to look at the chickens happily chasing each other in the chicken coop. Feeling her gaze, the chickens stopped in their tracks, a little panicked. This chicken must have heat stroke. It's beyond saving anyway, so why not stew it and use it to nourish Xiaofang? AD Calcium broke out in a cold sweat. That chicken was clearly scared by you. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. Is this NPC really that interesting? Clearly, she just wants to make chicken soup for Fang Shukai. At this moment, AD Calcium thought he was about to witness a scene of a girl catching a chicken, which he thought would be quite interesting. That's the kind of player AD Calcium was. He wasn't very interested in leveling up, but he had a strong desire to explore the storyline or other interesting things. So while others were busy leveling up, he was here watching an NPC catch a chicken. But Tang Ninger was about to disappoint him. He only heard her call out, "Dahong, catch your little wife!" As soon as Tang Ninger finished speaking, the rooster jumped down from the top of the chicken coop like an eagle swooping down and pounced on the fattest hen. The hen thought the rooster wanted to mate with her, so she immediately crouched down obediently. Then Tang Ninger walked over and easily caught the chicken. AD Calcium was dumbfounded. Are roosters really this intelligent now? He looked at the rooster that betrayed its wife and saw a string of information. LV10 Dahong, attack power 100, skills, heavy claw peck. Note, this is a transcendent level fighting rooster among roosters. AD Calcium was only LV2 now, so he couldn't see the attributes of the rooster originally. But now that Tang Ninger had a friendly affinity towards him, he could see some of the attributes of friendly units. AD Calcium couldn't help but exclaim, "Why is this chicken so outstanding?" Ordinary hens are only LV2, but this rooster's level has already surpassed what ordinary chickens can achieve. It can be said that it has reached the pinnacle of chicken life. Tang Ninger smiled and said, "Because I raise chickens scientifically. If I feed Dahong some suitable herbs, it can become smarter and more powerful." AD Calcium. Everyone in this village is talented. Suddenly AD Calcium remembered that he might be able to learn this skill. So he asked, "How can I raise chickens scientifically? Can you teach me?" Tang Ninger smiled and said, "No problem. If you help me kill this chicken, I'll tell you." Tang Ninger threw the hen towards AD Calcium, and AD Calcium happily went to kill the hen. After he turned around, Tang Ninger placed her index finger on her chin, showing a pensive expression, and whispered, "Why did we have to teach him by having him kill a chicken?" It's a bit strange. AD Calcium didn't hear the sentence. If he had heard it, he would probably have been scared. Wow, the NPC is thinking about why they give players quests. Soon, AD Calcium brought back the killed chicken. Tang Ninger took it and taught him the scientific breeding technique. Tang Ninger teaches you the skill, scientific breeding technique. Feeding corresponding medicinal herbs to pets can enhance one of their attributes. The degree of enhancement is random and depends on the pet's innate talent to determine the upper limit of enhancement. This skill requires a medicine boy level. After learning the skill, AD Calcium realized that it was a combination of farming and pharmacist skills. He was shocked and said, "So you're a pharmacist? Yes, you don't know how to identify medicinal herbs, right? Go pluck this chicken feather, and I can teach you." AD Calcium was extremely excited and immediately went to pluck the feather. He never expected that, by simply delivering a letter, he would receive such benefits. Although he wasn't a professional player, he was still an experienced player. Although he pursued happiness in the game and didn't have much fame, he still had some knowledge. This is an amazing skill. With this skill, he could almost become the top pet breeder in the national server. Just thinking about it made him a little excited. However, the anticipated quest did not continue. Tang Ninger, who had taught him these skills, went to stew soup, so AD Calcium had no choice but to find the hunter in the village to learn their skills and try to capture some pets. Fang Lang was awakened by a pleasant smell. When he woke up, he saw a girl sitting by his bed, resting her chin on her hands and looking at him with big eyes. "Xiao Fang, you're awake. Let me reheat the chicken soup for you." Before Fang Lang could speak, Tang Ninger spoke first. Fang Lang looked at the three characters above her head and was instantly confused. Are you sure you're Tang Ninger, the one who is supposed to marry me?" "You're Tang Ninger, the one who is going to marry me?" Fang Lang asked with some doubt. The previously confident Tang Ninger blushed when she heard this and shyly said, "Xiao Fang, are you teasing me? Did you forget me after just one day?" Fang Lang. "Should I oppose this marriage?" Fang Lang asked himself in his heart, then firmly denied, "Am I the type of person who judges based on appearances?" "Yes." Hearing his own thoughts, Fang Lang also felt a bit awkward. He cleared his throat and asked, "How did you end up here?" Tang Ninger looked down at her feet, twisting them nervously, and said, "I just felt that the village chief is getting old, and I was worried about leaving you in his care. I didn't mean to fulfill my wifely duties in advance. So you have a tsundere side too. But when you act tsundere, you're quite cute. If the assigned wife not only has an interesting soul, but also a beautiful appearance, is there a need to oppose this marriage?" Fang Lang was still reserved in his heart, but after taking the hot chicken soup that Tang Ninger handed over and taking a sip, he couldn't help but praise, "Wow, it's delicious." Chapter 11. Searching for the werewolf. When Tang Ninger left, it was already dusk, and there was still a faint blush on her face that hadn't faded. Now, as she recalled the words she had said to Fang Lang earlier, she couldn't help but feel embarrassed and annoyed. She was annoyed at herself for what she had said, which must have made Fang Lang laugh. The mention of being his wife still made her feel shy. Lost in her thoughts, Tang Ninger accidentally bumped into the person in front of her. "Sorry." Tang Ninger looked up and saw a woman standing in front of her, wearing extremely revealing leather armor. Looking at her chest, Tang Ninger silently formed a negative impression in her mind. What a shameless woman, dressed so provocatively. It's not like she envies her or anything. This person was Han Yan. When she saw Tang Ninger, she casually asked, "Excuse me, do you know who this kitchen knife belongs to?" As she spoke, Han Yan took out the kitchen knife. Tang Ninger took a look and her face immediately changed. Wasn't this the kitchen knife from Fang Lang's house? She often used it, and even if there were bloodstains on it, she would recognize it. There were familiar scratches on the handle. But how did this woman end up with this kitchen knife? And there's blood on it. Could it be harmful to Fang Lang? Thinking of this, Tang Ninger answered, "The kitchen knives used by the villagers are all made by Uncle Joe, and they all look the same. How can you tell whose it is?" Her answer didn't deceive Han Yan's eyes, because she saw Tang Ninger's subconscious reaction to the kitchen knife, and now her denial only confirmed that she knew something. But Han Yan didn't pursue it further. She just said, "Then I'll go ask Uncle Joe." "Hey, do you have a purpose for finding the owner of this kitchen knife?" Tang Ninger's words, combined with her previous reaction, revealed everything to Han Yan. She knew whose kitchen knife it was, but she didn't say. Is there a hidden secret in all of this? Han Yan felt that there must be an important hidden thread here. Things were starting to get interesting, and she needed to outwit the NPC. After thinking for a moment, Han Yan said, "This kitchen knife was found outside the village, with bloodstains on it. I suspect there might be a hidden secret in it." As she said this, she stared sharply at Tang Ninger, who avoided her probing gaze and said, "Then take your time to find out." After speaking, she went home. But as she walked, she could still feel the burning gaze behind her. And Tang Ninger was also thinking about one thing. Why did Fang Lang take the kitchen knife outside the village? No, it might not be him. Maybe it was the village chief? No, that's not possible. The village chief is already very old. It can't be. Could it be a thief who stole the kitchen knife? Tang Ninger had many wild thoughts, even though she knew the answer was probably that Fang Lang took the kitchen knife outside. But she didn't want to accept that and preferred to come up with more absurd reasons. On the other hand, Han Yan, who was asking around with the kitchen knife, finally found someone who knew something. He is the elder of the village. The elder presides over the village's sacrificial activities and holds a higher position than the village chief. He is a respected and virtuous old man. When he saw the kitchen knife brought by Han Yan and heard the whole story, his face immediately became serious as he said, "The killer who killed those rabbits might be trying to suck blood. Have you heard of the legend of the vampire werewolf?" Upon hearing this, Han Yan's heart stirred. This should trigger a plot quest, right? Only the words spoken by this NPC are different. There is a hidden secret behind this kitchen knife. Perhaps it is a main plot quest in the newbie village. She replied, "I haven't heard of it." Now is the time for the plot NPC to tell a story. Sure enough, Elder Fang with his old voice began to tell a story. Many years ago, Fang Family Village was a peaceful and harmonious place, until one day a villager was found dead in his home, with all his blood drained. From that day on, someone would die in the village every night. At that time, I had to sacrifice 10 years of my life to perform divination, and found out that the killer was hiding in the village. Elder Fang spoke with a hint of sadness, saying, "They disguised themselves as villagers, but every night they would transform into werewolves and brutally kill the villagers. At that time, the people in the village fought desperately and killed 2 of the werewolves, but one of them managed to escape. Wolves hold grudges, and I believe he will seek revenge on the village. Now, he must have returned, but I no longer have the ability to perform divination again." As Elder Fang spoke, he looked at Han Yan with anticipation and said, I hope you can help me protect the peace and tranquility of the village. Elder Fang has issued a quest to you. Find the werewolf in the village. Will you accept? Han Yan naturally accepted with joy. After all the trouble, her efforts were not in vain. Elder Fang took out an arrow and handed it to Han Yan, saying, "This is the evil slaying arrow. Only the soldiers guarding the border have it. This is also the last evil slaying arrow in the village. As long as you hit the werewolf's heart, you can kill it. Otherwise, with the current strength of the village, no one can kill the werewolf king." Han Yan solemnly accepted the evil slaying arrow. Coincidentally, she was a hunter and used a crossbow. Elder Fang added, "Werewolves can disguise themselves as villagers, but they can't hide their true form on the night of the full moon. I can no longer use divination to find him. I will teach you the stealth skill. Observe secretly and judge for yourself who the werewolf is. The evil slaying arrow only has one chance, so please find the werewolf as soon as possible to prevent him from harming more villagers." Okay. Han Yan accepted the quest, and now she already had a suspected target. Oh no, that person was Tang Ninger. She was the strangest person Han Yan had seen in the village, and seeing her panic at the sight of the kitchen knife was also a clue. Moreover, she was a beautiful and charming girl, which would greatly reduce the villagers' vigilance. Therefore, there was a great possibility that Tang Ninger was the werewolf. However, the evil slaying arrow only had one chance, and this quest was important. It might have traps, so Han Yan didn't rush to take action. She decided to observe first. Now it was getting dark, the perfect time to investigate. The quest was not yet completed, but she had already gained enough rewards. Stealth can be used when not in combat, perfectly blend into the environment, increase movement speed, reduce presence. Has invisibility effect in dark environments. The biggest advantage of stealth was that it had no duration, didn't consume spiritual force or true chi, and could be maintained indefinitely. It could even provide invisibility in the dark. It was truly an amazing skill. With only this one reward, this quest was already profitable. If she could find the werewolf, who knows how rich the rewards would be. She was now ready to find Tang Ninger. Chapter 12. Taking action without hesitation. Finding Tang Ninger was quite simple. Although she had never met Tang Ninger before, she quickly found the answer after posting a plea for help on the forum. After all, the most beautiful NPC in Novice Village 01 was Tang Ninger, so she was easy to find. Now all she needed to do was observe outside Tang Ninger's house in secret. Once she saw Tang Ninger transform into a werewolf, she only needed one arrow to kill her. At this moment, Fang Ling looked at the post on the forum, asking about Tang Ninger's identity with a serious expression. Could it be that someone had ill intentions towards Tang Ninger? It was not surprising. People who played games nowadays had all sorts of strange ideas. Moreover, in this game world, NPCs looked just like perfected beings, with no visual or tactile differences. Players were always unruly. In this highly free game, who knew what they would do? Just thinking about this made Fang Ling uneasy. If Tang Ninger was harmed by some players, he would also feel heartbroken. After all, this cute NPC girl was his future wife. Fang Ling couldn't just sit idly by. So he walked out of the house, but then he thought that it wouldn't be good to attract attention, so he needed to disguise himself. He rummaged through the wardrobe and found a black robe without a face-covering cloth. He casually tore a piece of fabric and covered his face, then went out under the cover of darkness. As he left, he didn't notice that a rooster was standing on his roof. Fang Ling's worries were not unfounded. There was indeed a player who wanted to harm Tang Ninger, but they hadn't decided to take action yet. However, Tang Ninger was also worried about Fang Ling. So she sent her capable general, Da Hong, to monitor Fang Ling. She didn't suspect Fang Ling. She just wanted to know some things. When Da Hong saw Fang Ling leave, he didn't follow him. Da Hong didn't have the ability to communicate with Tang Ninger through thoughts. His task was to watch Fang Ling and inform Tang Ninger when he left. To avoid attracting attention, Fang Ling didn't move quickly. He was afraid of disturbing the villagers with his footsteps, so Da Hong ran faster than him. When Fang Ling arrived at Tang Ninger's house, he saw Tang Ninger just leaving. Where is she going? When Fang Ling saw Tang Ninger approaching, he quickly hid in the darkness. He didn't come out until Tang Ninger ran past him, looking confused. Why is she out shopping so late at night? He didn't know what Tang Ninger was doing by going out so late at night. In any case, it was an illogical behavior. Could it be that she had some unknown secret? Follow her and find out. Fang Ling began to tail her. In the darkness, Han Yan continued to stealthily follow. When she saw this man with a cloth covering his face, Han Yan also felt confused. What's the deal with this person? Regardless, she decided to follow him for now. Suddenly Fang Ling had a feeling of being watched. He turned around but didn't see anything. Shaking his head, Fang Ling continued to follow Tang Ninger. Han Yan, on the other hand, was terrified and dared not move. Had she been discovered? She suspected that this masked man was even more suspicious. After all, when Tang Ninger appeared, she gave Han Yan the impression of a harmless girl, but this man gave her a dangerous feeling. However, feeling the divine evil arrow in her hand, Han Yan calmed down. She continued to follow. Fang Ling followed Tang Ninger all the way and realized that the more they walked, the more familiar the surroundings became. Tang Ninger had come to his house. Da Hong, can you find Xiao Feng's whereabouts? Da Hong, please don't treat me like a dog, thank you. Seeing Da Hong standing still, Tang Ninger knew that he couldn't find Xiao Feng. What should we do now? Tang Ninger hesitated for a moment and decided to wait at Fang Ling's house. She wanted to know what Fang Ling had done so that she could help him. In the shadows, Han Yan watched as Tang Ninger prepared to sneak into the house and a murderous intent arose within her. It seems that Tang Ninger is indeed a werewolf. Han Yan found a spot, took out a crossbow, and aimed at Tang Ninger's heart. With just one arrow, she could kill her. But in the instant before the arrow of extermination was about to be shot, a piercing scream suddenly cut through the night sky. Ah! The three individuals, each with their own concerns, were startled. Han Yan also put away her crossbow. The sound was nearby, but Tang Ninger and the masked man were right in front of her, so it wasn't them. Tang Ninger was very worried that something had happened to Fang Ling. She took out a pill and gave it to Da Hong to swallow. Da Hong quickly transformed into a giant rooster, much taller than Tang Ninger. It crouched down, allowing Tang Ninger to jump on its back, and then flapped its wings and flew away. Fang Ling. Damn, what kind of chicken is this? Why is it so awesome? Worried about her safety, Fang Ling also used a skill. He chanted a line from the poem, Jiao Yao Yu. In the North Sea, there is a fish called kun. A translucent image of a transcendent level peng appeared beneath Fang Ling's feet. This peng was slightly smaller than Tang Ninger's giant rooster, but it had no problem carrying Fang Ling as it took off. Han Yan looked at these two people who took to the sky at the drop of a hat and was completely dumbfounded. Damn, are all the NPCs in the newbie village this powerful now? It was hard to look at. Fortunately, her stealth movement speed was also fast, and the hunter's hunting moment did not affect her combat state. With the double movement speed bonus, she was able to run quite quickly. But watching the two in front of her flying in the sky, Han Yan, who was running on the ground, felt exhausted. In particular, she imagined what she must look like chasing after the two people, and suddenly thought of a song. Old driver, take me along. Ah, damn it. This song is toxic. Han Yan wiped away the thoughts in her mind and quickly arrived at the scene. Fang Ling's image of the peng had long since dissipated, and he was hiding on the roof of a certain house. But Tang Ninger had appeared in the courtyard where the incident occurred. By this time, the courtyard was already filled with people, both NPCs and players who hadn't logged off yet. The NPCs all had shocked and fearful expressions, while the players were filled with anticipation. This posture clearly indicated that there was a quest. Some players had already posted on the forums, and suddenly many players who had already logged off came back online. Before long, the village chief and the elder arrived at the scene. The elder said sorrowfully, I didn't expect this to happen. The person who died was Zhang Anti. Her death was extremely tragic, with her eyes wide open as if she had seen something extremely terrifying. There was a hollow in her chest, and her heart had been dug out. The village chief angrily said, it must have been done by the werewolf. He suddenly looked at the players and began telling them the story of the werewolf. It was at this moment that all the online players received a system prompt for a quest. Fang Family Village is facing an unprecedented crisis. The werewolf king is hiding among the villagers and kills them every night. Find the werewolf and protect the remaining villagers. If the number of villagers is less than 3 when the werewolf is discovered, all the chosen ones in Fang Family Village will be unable to learn any initial skills. Please protect the villagers as much as possible. At this moment, the players were in an uproar. Chapter 13. The newbie village is fake. The swordsmanship world section of the forum started to go crazy with posts. But before that, the most popular post happened to be a strategy guide. Novice Village 01 Divine Technique, exclusive strategy, only 50,000 soft sister coins. The post was made anonymously, but they posted the skills they learned on the forum. Countless experts were shocked. This skill was truly a divine weapon for guilds. Some experts who weren't in Novice Village 01 immediately became envious, and the Dynasty Guild was the first to privately message the poster. Compared to this skill, 50,000 coins really didn't amount to much. However, this popular post only lasted a few hours before it was overshadowed by the appearance of werewolves in the village. While you guys are leveling up, we're playing werewolf killing. First floor. Seer, lead a team. Last night, I investigated the second floor, and my result was a golden water. Second floor. Front row, give the back row a golden water. I don't recognize you as a seer. If you're a villager, sit down obediently, but in my heart, you've already failed. Third floor. Can you guys be serious? Do you understand the concept of not being able to learn any initial skills? It means you can only delete your account and start over. Here, fourth floor. Just saying Immortal Seeking Dream doesn't allow account deletion and recreation. A player can only have one account. If you mess up, tough luck. Look at you guys still arguing. Fifth floor. It's not a big deal. The correct way for us casual players is to rely on the high-level players. The elementary school students from the Dynasty Guild are also in Novice Village 01. Let them figure it out. Oh wait, sixth floor. What good ideas can elementary school students come up with? Aren't these guild vice leaders just brain-dead players who specialize in slapping people? Dynasty Overlord silently closed the forum. Whenever he saw the words elementary school students, his temper would explode. What made him even more furious was that he had just spent 50,000 coins to buy a strategy for the divine technique from an AD Calcium and was planning to try it out tomorrow. But now the newbie village was in trouble. Was he going to lose the skill he had been eagerly waiting for? At this moment, he decisively thought of Han Yan. In the Southern River, Misty Rain Guild, the one at the forefront was this person, Yan. Han Yan had the least influence in the guild because she preferred to be alone, but her strength was recognized as the strongest in the guild. Strength wasn't just about skill, but also reflected in her intelligence. So in the same newbie village, the key was to seek support from Han Yan. Actually, at this moment, Han Yan was also feeling a headache. Tonight, she had already confirmed that the person she suspected was innocent because Tang Ninger was right in front of her when the incident happened. There was also one person she could confirm was innocent, and that was the village's scholar, Fang Shukai, despite wearing a mask. Only Fang Shukai could use literary chi to such an extent in the village. So these two villagers could be confirmed as not being werewolves. But there were still 30 NPCs in the newbie village, and now there were 29 left, including the elder. Only 3 could be confirmed as innocent, leaving 26, among whom the werewolf was hiding. Moreover, the clues had been cut off, and there was no basis to go on. Fortunately, there were still many people, and there was only one werewolf, so there was still a good chance. After seeing Fang Lang use the skill, Roaming Game, and Tang Ninger summon the Great Rooster, Han Yan had a vague guess. This Novice Village 01 was definitely a place with hidden talents. So many NPCs probably possessed powerful skills, even divine techniques. Therefore, every time a villager died, it was a great loss. Coincidentally, Dynasty Overlord sent a message. President Han Yan, please take me with you. This elementary school student, did he not care about his image as a guild president at all? Han Yan silently complained in her heart. Considering the current situation, it would be better to cooperate with the Dynasty Guild. But she had been online for a long time today, and things had already happened. It was time to log off and discuss tomorrow. Go meet Fang Shukai tomorrow. Han Yan sent a message to Dynasty Overlord and logged off. Dynasty Overlord was delighted in his heart. Finally, he had found a powerful ally. But why did he have to meet Fang Shukai? This was a nightmare he didn't want to touch. Every time he saw Fang Lang, he felt like he was turning dark again. But Han Yan said so, and he had no choice. Most players logged off at midnight. In the second half of the night, the monster's attributes greatly increased, requiring players to spend more energy in battles. Therefore, most people wouldn't waste their energy at this time. It was better to rest well and fight another day. Moreover, with such a big event happening in the newbie village, it was only right to log off and discuss countermeasures. Players logged off, but the villagers in the village were still in a state of panic. For players, this was just a game, so they didn't care at all. But for the villagers, the shadow of death was ever present. Fang Lang was also worried now. The villagers had been kind to him. He had only been in this village for 2 days and hadn't spent much time with these people. But these NPCs gave him an experience he had never had before. The village chief, Huang Dama, Tang Ninger, and every villager who greeted him with warm smiles. Fang Lang's heart was conflicted. His rationality told him that they were just data, but it was still difficult for Fang Lang to be indifferent to them. Now the village was under threat from werewolves, and Fang Lang naturally wanted to save them. But thinking back to the planning process, they hadn't set up such terrifying monsters in the newbie village. The newbie village was only meant for players to familiarize themselves with skill operations, and the plot itself wasn't very deep. But this Fang family village was too different. There was a girl who could summon a giant rooster, an old village chief who seemed to have a story, and a hidden werewolf legend. Fang Lang, who was familiar with the main storyline, was now completely in the dark. He didn't know what was going on. There shouldn't be werewolves in the newbie village at all. Wait, what if it's a werewolf village? Fang Lang suddenly remembered a setting he had impulsively made before. There was a werewolf village where there were only 10 villagers, and everyone else was a werewolf. After players entered the village and interacted with some NPCs, the plot would be triggered. Fang Lang designed it so that players would think there was only one werewolf, making it seem easy to pass. However, only smart people could find the clues and deduce that there was more than one werewolf, and the werewolves would kill 2 villagers the next day. Just when players thought they still had a chance by killing 3 on the 3rd day, the werewolves would kill 4 people that night, causing the players to lose. Fang Lang always had these bursts of inspiration when digging pits. If players could save more than 3 villagers, they would receive a large reward. Otherwise, the village would become a level 20 instance. Similarly, when later players entered this instance, they couldn't just kill people at will. They had to ensure that at least 3 villagers survived in order to pass the instance. Thinking of this, Fang Lang couldn't help but feel a chill. He had originally set this up as a sadistic game designer, but now it seemed like he was going to be the one trapped. If the village he was in wasn't a newbie village at all, but a werewolf village, that would be thrilling. Chapter 14. The Hunter Fires. It is still uncertain whether Fang Family Village is the werewolf village, but the possibility is high. Everything here is different from the norm, and the way the werewolf describes it seems to be the same as the werewolf village he designed. Good and evil will eventually be repaid. Such is the way of the world. Fang Lang is somewhat suspicious that the interesting traps he planned may ultimately backfire on him. If I could start over, I would never be a dog planner again. But the problem now is that Fang Lang is also unsure if Fang Family Village is the werewolf village, and even if it is confirmed, he doesn't know who among them are good people and who are wolves. After all, he only provided a train of thought, and it was his subordinates who made the specific arrangements. Thinking about this, Fang Lang feels a bit annoyed. The night quickly passed, and the village chief and elders gathered all the villagers in the middle of the village for a meeting. They requested that all villagers recount their actions from the previous night and identify the suspicious werewolves. The players formed a circle outside, listening to the villagers' accounts while live streaming on the forum. Novice Village 01 has now become the most attention-grabbing place. Players from other newbie villages are happily fighting monsters. But this village has both elementary school students and werewolves, making it extremely exciting. The people in Novice Village 01 complain that the risk is too high, while people from other newbie villages envy them. Some even complain to the official, asking why others can play werewolf kill, but not us. However, the officials have not responded at all. This is the first time encountering such a cold official, but there's nothing that can be done. After all, this is the first holographic motion sensing game, and they are just that cold. If you have the ability, then don't play. At the village meeting, the speeches began. Joe, the blacksmith, said, "I was about to go to sleep last night when I suddenly heard screams. I rushed to Zhang Auntie's house and didn't see anyone else. But not long after, Tang Ninger came riding on a big rooster." Zhao, the village hunter, added, "Old Joe was near Zhang Auntie's house, so it's no problem that he was the first to arrive. But why did Tang Ninger arrive at the scene so quickly in the middle of the night? What were you doing?" He stared sharply at Tang Ninger, who trembled all over but didn't answer. She had become the prime suspect. At this moment, the old village chief stepped forward and asked Tang Ninger, "Child, explain what you were doing last night." Tang Ninger still didn't answer. She knew that if she spoke up, Fang Lang would be in danger, and she didn't believe that Fang Lang was a werewolf despite all the suspicions. Tang Ninger's intuition told her that Fang Lang was not the werewolf. But if she didn't answer now, she would be in danger herself. The old village chief looked at Huang Auntie and asked, "Do you know what Tang Ninger was doing last night?" Huang Auntie carefully recalled and said, It was probably shortly before Zhang Anti had an accident. The door opened, and it seemed like Ninger went out. The villagers immediately erupted in commotion. Huang Anti's statement almost pointed directly at Tang Ninger as the werewolf. Tang Ninger looked at Huang Anti in disbelief. Huang Anti's words seemed innocent, but the manipulation was too obvious. This was her daughter, and she didn't even try to protect her, instead adding insult to injury. Seeing Tang Ninger's shocked expression, Huang Anti started crying and said, "My daughter, I wanted to hide it for you, but the lives of the people in the village are more important." Her words immediately gained the high recognition of the villagers. However, Fang Ling's expression turned cold. Originally, Tang Ninger still had room for argument, but because of Huang Dani's words, it seemed to have been confirmed. At this moment, everyone basically turned their hostility towards Tang Ninger. Tang Ninger refused to say what she did last night, and there were obvious clues pointing to her involvement. The village chief looked at her with sadness and said, "Speak up. If you don't, I can't show any mercy." But the villagers didn't care about all this and shouted, "Burn her! Burn her!" The players felt a bit regretful when they saw this. Such a beautiful NPC, the village's flower, was going to be burned to death. The players didn't think there was anything wrong. This Tang Ninger seemed a bit like a wolf. Just as the villagers were about to attack Tang Ninger, Fang Ling suddenly stepped forward and stood in front of her, saying firmly, "Tang Ninger is not a werewolf." Huang Dani immediately looked aggrieved and said, "Xiao Fang, just because Ninger is engaged to you, you're helping her? Don't you care about the lives of the other villagers?" With that sentence, Huang Dani put Fang Ling on the opposite side of the villagers. But in Fang Ling's eyes, Huang Dani had already become a werewolf. A werewolf kills the original villagers and lives in the village disguised as a villager. It's hard to tell during the day, but their true identity is revealed at night. In other words, the real Huang Dani should have died a long time ago. However, everyone's information is different, and Fang Ling also took action last night, which these people didn't know. Fang Ling didn't know if Tang Ninger was a werewolf, but now that Huang Dani personally came forward to have the villagers kill Tang Ninger, it actually proved that Tang Ninger was innocent and exposed himself. However, Fang Ling's words couldn't convince the villagers. The old village chief looked at Fang Ling deeply and said, "Step aside." Fang Ling naturally wouldn't let them kill Tang Ninger like this. Although he didn't have deep feelings for the bride assigned to him by the village, they were still somewhat related. Fang Ling wouldn't just sit idly by. He looked at Huang Dani and said, "Tang Ninger is not a werewolf, you are?" But his statement obviously couldn't convince anyone. Huang Dani sneered and said, "I think you are the werewolf's accomplice, deceived by the werewolf." At this point, the villagers were all on Huang Dani's side. Fang Ling felt a bit helpless. Even if he said that he also went out last night, it wouldn't be believed. He couldn't possibly say that he could see the player form. If there was no other way, he could only fight. Fortunately, he had leveled up to level 20 overnight and maxed out his skill levels. He wouldn't necessarily lose in a direct confrontation. Tang Ninger looked at Fang Ling's broad back and was moved to the point of speechlessness. Just as she believed in Fang Ling also believed in her. That was enough. Tang Ninger took out a pill and prepared to give it to Da Hong. Even if they couldn't win, Da Hong could still take her and Fang Ling and escape. But just at that moment, a cold light shot through the crowd and accurately hit Huang Dani's heart. It was the evil slaying arrow. Han Yan decisively took action. She didn't know as much information as Fang Ling did. In her view, there was only one werewolf in the village, and obviously Tang Ninger was innocent. So Huang Dani must be the werewolf. With only one werewolf, she could shoot her evil slaying arrow. The sudden turn of events shocked both the NPCs and the players. Dynasty Overlord, who was following Han Yan, was especially confused. Why was this person so bold? They actually dared to shoot and kill an NPC. Chapter 15. I've never seen such shameless person before. In the eyes of Dynasty Overlord, Han Yan was digging her own grave. She was only at level 3. Even if she hit a vital spot, she wouldn't be able to kill an NPC. Her attack power was not enough, and it would only provoke the hostility of the NPC, which would basically be a dead end. However, the arrow struck Huang Dani let out a howl of pain, and her face quickly changed. Ah woo! With a wolf's howl, the villagers near Huang Dani quickly moved away from her. Now Huang Dani had turned into a monster with a wolf's head and a human body. Her hands were covered in fur, revealing sharp claws. However, she couldn't attack anymore. Announcement: player Han Yan has killed a werewolf. All the players could see was this announcement. Meanwhile, Dynasty Overlord, who was standing next to Han Yan, watched as Han Yan's body flashed 3 times. She had leveled up 3 times in a row. Now the average level in the newbie village was around level 5, with some hardcore players reaching level 6. The highest level was 7. And now, with just one arrow, Han Yan had jumped from level 3 to level 6. It was truly enviable. This was only the reward in terms of levels. The other reward systems were not announced. But the aloof Han Yan couldn't help but almost burst out laughing. You have killed a werewolf with the evil slaying arrow, maintaining the village's peace, and obtained the title Wolf Slayer. Wolf Slayer. Normal attacks deal an additional 200% true damage to mortal level wolf-type monsters, and an additional 50% true damage to other types of monsters. At a critical moment, the arrow you shot has allowed you to comprehend the skill. Fatal Strike. Fatal Strike. Focus for 1 second and shoot a crossbow arrow. Guaranteed critical hit, with a certain chance of instant death, affected by the level difference between the caster and the target. This title combined with this skill was the greatest reward. Levels and such were just clouds. Titles could be stacked infinitely, with no limit, and this Wolf Slayer title could make Han Yan the strongest early game archer. Han Yan felt like she had hit the jackpot, but she didn't want to reveal her gains. She pretended that nothing had happened. After all, she always had a poker face and wore a veil. Dynasty Overlord also didn't notice how much she had gained. With Huang Dani reverting back to her original form, Tang Ninger and Fang Ling's crisis was resolved. However, Tang Ninger couldn't help but cry when she saw Huang Dani turn into a werewolf. The elder also noticed Han Yan in the crowd and called out to her. Thank you for your contribution to the village, but I don't have anything good to give you. I am a diviner, and my divination requires the consumption of life force. It is dangerous to tamper with fate. However, I have a weakened version of divination that won't affect your lifespan. Do you want to learn it? Of course she wanted to learn it. Han Yan didn't hesitate at all and quickly learned the weakened version of divination. The onlookers all showed envy towards the lucky big shot. Divination can be used once a day to predict good and bad fortune and enhance luck. Note, divination has risks. Han Yan didn't take the so-called risk seriously. After bidding farewell to the elder, she couldn't wait to use it. Today's fortune, marriage. Han Yan was instantly dumbfounded. What the hell? At that moment, Dynasty Overlord happened to come over and said, Han Yan guild leader, shall we go meet Fang Shukan together? Han Yan immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Could this marriage be referring to this elementary school student? I can't afford to provoke him. Goodbye. At this time, the villagers had all dispersed and returned to their respective homes. The problem of the werewolves had been resolved, and everyone was sighing with relief as they returned to their workstations. Only the players were left confused. Are we really just bystanders? Why is everything over but we didn't receive any rewards? There were various complaints on the forum. Everyone knew that the hunter must have gained great benefits. But was she the only one? Are we all just useless bystanders responsible for cheering on? No one knows, but in fact, this incident is not yet over, including Han Yun. From her perspective, everything makes sense. The kitchen knife belongs to Tang Ninger's family, so Tang Ninger recognized it when she saw it. The werewolf is her mother, which is just fine. Moreover, Han Yan has already received a good reward, so she doesn't expect anything more. The villagers' lives continue, and Fang Lang's task plan is also continuing. Because of the werewolf incident, he has stopped giving out tasks for a while, but now he wants to earn more energy points. But can he just leave Tang Ninger, who is heartbroken and desperate, like this? Huang Dama's body has already been burned, and Tang Ninger doesn't know where to go. Fang Lang has no choice but to say to her, come home with me. Only Fang Lang feels that the werewolf incident is not over yet, so he needs to protect Tang Ninger. Moreover, because she has been proven to be a good person, if there really are more werewolves, Tang Ninger will definitely be the most dangerous person. But his words have been misunderstood by Tang Ninger. She lowers her head and hesitantly says, Brother Xiao Feng, are you in such a hurry? Huh? Fang Lang looks confused, but soon Tang Ninger gathers her courage again. She holds her fist to her chest and looks up at Fang Lang earnestly saying, Brother Xiao Feng, if you want me to, I won't refuse. I'll go home and pack my things now. What? What are NPCs thinking now? Fang Lang can only make a helpless gesture as Tang Ninger flies away on a rooster. This is a big problem. There's no choice but for Fang Lang to go to Zhou the blacksmith's house and buy an iron sword. The iron sword is just a level higher than the beginner's sword, but Fang Lang doesn't have any weapons at the moment, so he has to make do with it. When he returns home, there are already people waiting for him, Han Yan and some new players who want to learn. Fang Lang continues with his usual routine and harvests a wave of energy points. It's only then that Han Yan finds an opportunity to talk to Fang Lang saying, Mr. Fang, hello? Fang Lang turns to look at Han Yan and frowns saying, your attire is so revealing, it's improper. Here's 10 coins. Go quickly to Lee the tailor and buy some clothes to wear. Han Yan. She spent all her money to buy this leather armor, although it's a bit revealing, but why does this NPC talk so much? However, free clothes shouldn't be rejected. Han Yan takes the 10 coins with a cold face and goes to buy clothes. You taught Han Yan a lesson in life and gained 1 energy point. You assigned a task to Han Yan and gained 1 energy point. Fang Lang suddenly realizes a new way to harvest energy points. It turns out that lecturing players can also earn energy points. He only wanted to give out a task at first, but unexpectedly, he hit 2 birds with 1 stone. When Dynasty Overlord sees this, he quickly takes off his clothes, leaving only a pair of shorts, and looks at Fang Lang with anticipation. What are you looking at? I have never seen such shameless person. Here's a copper coin. Now go away. Dynasty Overlord. Why is there such a big difference between people? Chapter 16. Lean over and I'll give you a buff. Dynasty Overlord's heart was bleeding. Why could Han Yan get 10 coins, and her outfit was originally a hunter set? The female hunter was the one with that appearance. Now even NPCs judge people by their looks? Also, you're giving a beggar 1 coin? Actually, Fang Lang didn't mean to embarrass him. He was just teasing him and having fun. And he could also gain energy points, which was great. Not long after, Han Yan came back wearing a beginner's outfit. It was made of coarse cloth and covered up her well-proportioned figure. 10 coins were only enough to buy the most basic outfit, which didn't have any attributes and only had a concealing effect. It didn't look good, so not many people bought it. Looking at Han Yan like this, Dynasty Overlord couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. Is this NPC stupid? Can't he see anything? I saw you kill the werewolf just now, and I think you're a rare brave warrior. I would like to ask you to guard me for 1 night. How about it? Fang Lang used the tone that an NPC should have and issued a quest to Han Yan. Naturally, Han Yan gladly accepted it. Obviously, this was a special quest that could only be triggered by killing the werewolf. There was no reason to refuse such a quest. Han Yan thought for a moment and felt that there might be more to this quest. So she asked, the village has already returned to peace and harmony. Why do you still need me to protect you? Fang Lang shook his head and said, what if there is more than 1 werewolf in the village? Tang Ninger and I were too conspicuous during the day. If there are still werewolves, they will definitely attack us. If there are werewolves, you just need to protect us for 1 night. If there are no other werewolves, it will naturally be safe after 1 night. Han Yan's heart moved. Could there be more to this quest? The forums are now saying that the werewolf incident is just a lot of noise and little substance. The most popular post is, the hunter kills the werewolf with 1 shot, the game ends, and the good guys win. But Fang Lang suddenly issued a quest. Obviously, this matter is not simple. But she didn't know that Fang Lang wasn't sure if there were more werewolves. He just randomly issued a quest to harvest some energy. He urgently wanted to try the offline function because he didn't know what happened to his body in reality. If he had no attachments, it wouldn't matter to experience a different life in this game. In us, but he had someone he couldn't let go of, so he had to find a way to go back no matter what. He didn't issue many quests for this werewolf incident today, and now he had just accumulated over 500 points. He still had to find a way to engage the players. Dynasty Overlord listened to this quest and was also very envious. Fang Lang had specifically named Han Yan for protection, which meant there were special requirements. But he still wanted to give it a try. Dreams should still exist. What if it comes true? Mr. Fang, if you need protection, how about me? Fang Lang glanced at him, sideways. One sheep is still a sheep, two sheep are also sheep, so let's go together. Although you're weak since you have this intention, then please. It turned out that this quest was not the only special quest. Dynasty Overlord happily called all the members of the Dynasty Guild in Novice Village 01. Some were hunters, some were rangers, and there was a balance of various professions. When Fang Lang saw these dozens of people, his mood suddenly became pleasant. Oh, the vice president of this dynasty has some potential. He brought so many sheep, and Fang Lang felt a bit reluctant to bully him. But looking at his happy face, Fang Lang still honestly said, I'll trouble you tonight, but as a mere scholar, I don't have anything to give you. Dynasty Overlord. The smile gradually disappeared. Are you a devil? I called so many brothers here, and you're saying there's no reward. What a scam. Dynasty Overlord was about to get angry, but at this moment, Fang Lang said, I can only offer you a poem. Listen carefully. Heaven and earth possess righteousness. Fang Shukai sang the song of righteousness to you, and you gained enlightenment. Your attacks now have the attribute of righteousness, causing additional righteousness damage to evil spirits. The effect lasts for 3 days. After Fang Lang finished reciting the poem, everyone present received a buff, and Fang Lang also received a system prompt. You have bestowed the attribute of righteousness upon Dynasty Overlord and gained 1 point of energy. You have bestowed the attribute of righteousness upon Han Yan and gained 1 point of energy. You have bestowed the attribute of righteousness upon the heroes of the dynasty and gained 1 point of energy. So buffing players can also increase energy. Fang Lang looked at his skill bar. Should he give each of these people the buffs from the poems he obtained the night before? If he did that, he would quickly accumulate enough energy to log off. Originally, Dynasty Overlord wanted to beat up Fang Shukai in a hurry, but after receiving this buff, he felt that it was not a loss. However, luckily he didn't act, and Fang Lang happened to have nowhere to test his 5 elements technique. I have another poem. Please listen. In my youth, I was wild and unrestrained, pulling the yellow on the left, lifting the blue on the right. Fang Shukai has bestowed upon you the hunting buff, significantly increasing your attack power and attack speed. I also have. Fang Lang gave them more than 10 buffs in one breath, until his literary chi was completely depleted. Only then did he receive a system prompt and stop. Each chosen one can only provide 20 points of energy per day. At this moment, Dynasty Overlord and the others were dumbfounded. Damn, is this NPC the GM's favorite son? Why are they all scholars, but only you are so outstanding? Han Yan even suspected that the system had given Fang Shukai all the poems in the database. This newbie village is indeed different. Han Yan had some understanding in his heart and wasn't so shocked anymore. After all, he had witnessed Fang Lang's strength last night. But Dynasty Overlord and the others were all kneeling, asking the boss to take them along. Fang Lang had no choice. He just wanted to harvest energy as soon as possible. It would be best to keep a low profile. But it didn't matter if he was high profile. After all, no one would know that this NPC was a perfected being transmigrated in, and there was no way to verify it. These players would at most think that he was an extraordinary NPC and want to curry favor with him. In that case, he could release more tasks. In a moment, Tang Ninger arrived at Fang Lang's house with Dahong. Dahong was carrying a big bundle on his back, and Fang Lang couldn't help but cover his head and say, Are you moving? Otherwise, Tang Ninger looked innocent. If you ask me to go with you, isn't that what it means? Fang Lang. It was as if he was abducting an ignorant chicken-raising girl. At this moment, Han Yan's gaze towards Fang Lang had already changed. Fang Shukai, you have something up your sleeve. Chapter 17, Draw Your Sword. Tang Ninger also looked at Han Yan, who was standing with Fang Lang. She knew that Han Yan had saved her today, but seeing Fang Lang and Han Yan standing together made her feel a little uncomfortable. However, before she could say anything, she heard an excited voice saying, Miss Tang, can you teach me how to raise chickens? Han Yan, Fang Lang, Tang Ninger. Dynasty Overlord had already bought the strategy guide and knew that Tang Ninger could teach the scientific breeding technique, but he didn't know that there were prerequisites. Without enough favorability with Tang Ninger, he couldn't learn the skill. As a scholar, why do you want to raise chickens instead of pursuing fame and success? You should learn from Brother Xiaofang and focus on your studies. After saying that, Tang Ninger sweetly smiled at Fang Lang, her eyes filled with affection. Tang Ninger rejected your request. Dynasty Overlord. It's fine to reject, but why did she have to rub it in my face? Your brother Fang is the best. Enough already. Is the world so cruel now that even NPCs are toying with people's emotions? Dynasty Overlord felt hurt, but Fang Lang didn't want to associate with this group of players, especially when they were all giving him curious looks. He bluntly said, It's still early. Come back to guard later when it's dark. This was a dismissal order. Dynasty Overlord looked at Fang Lang and Tang Ninger with a lewd smile. That look any man would understand. After the members of the Dynasty Guild had left, Fang Lang's courtyard suddenly felt empty. Come in and settle down with me, Fang Lang said to Tang Ninger, who followed behind him shyly, like a bride about to enter her new home. There were only 2 bedrooms on vacation, and Fang Lang didn't know why the previous Fang Lang needed 2 bedrooms for himself. Anyway, now it was just right for Tang Ninger to stay. Before nightfall, Fang Lang took a stroll around the village and gave out quests to anyone he met. Although Fang Lang didn't have much money, with his skills, players wouldn't feel like they were losing out, even if he gave them a random buff. Only when players felt they weren't losing out would they come to him for quests. But in reality, Fang Lang didn't invest much either. So it was a win-win situation. Night fell, and Fang Lang returned home with 1,500 energy points. At this rate, he would have enough energy to log out in about 10 days. Maybe he wouldn't even need 10 days because there would be more and more players, and Fang Lang would receive more energy. When he returned home, there was already a steaming hot meal on the table. Tang Ninger sat at the dining table and smiled when she saw Fang Lang saying, "You're back, let's eat." Fang Lang actually noticed that Tang Ninger had been a little sad earlier, but she hid it well when she saw him return. Tang Ninger dutifully prepared the utensils for Fang Lang and served him food, giving him a feeling as if he were really living a married life. This dinner suddenly made Fang Lang feel like a newlywed couple. Was this feeling given to him by an NPC? It felt strange to think about it. The two of them didn't talk during the meal, and after dinner, Tang Ninger voluntarily went to wash the dishes. She took care of all the household chores. Fang Lang returned to his room and found that it was also much tidier. It seemed that Tang Ninger hadn't been idle while he was out giving quests in the village. After Tang Ninger finished tidying up, Fang Lang suddenly said to her, "Tonight I'll accompany you in your room." "Ah!" Tang Ninger was startled like a frightened rabbit. She looked up, her watery eyes staring at Fang Lang. She nervously held onto her clothes and shyly said, "We haven't even had the wedding ceremony yet." Fang Lang. NPCs these days, their thoughts are impure. However, it seems like she only mentioned the lack of a wedding ceremony. Her refusal wasn't very clear. Fang Lang shook his head, shaking off those inappropriate thoughts from his mind, and explained, "I don't mean anything else. It's just that there are still things in the village that I feel haven't been resolved. In any case, caution is important." NPCs can't be resurrected once they die, and Fang Lang didn't want to see Tang Ninger die, so it's better to protect her closely. Upon hearing Fang Lang mention the village matters, Tang Ninger's expression changed, unable to conceal her sadness. Fang Lang couldn't help but want to comfort her, and said, "If you want to cry, you can lean on my shoulder." Only then did Tang Ninger take a step closer to Fang Lang, hugging his waist and leaning on his shoulder, sobbing. Fang Lang gently patted Tang Ninger's back, feeling a sense of regret. After a long time, Tang Ninger finally stopped crying, but suddenly her hands wrapped around Fang Lang's waist, hugging him tightly, which made Fang Lang feel a bit uncomfortable. Being single for over 20 years, this was the first time he was hugged like this by a girl. "The wolf is coming?" Just as Fang Lang was immersed in this slightly ambiguous atmosphere, the door suddenly burst open and Han Yan rushed in, scaring Fang Lang and Tang Ninger to quickly separate. Han Yan looked confused, thinking, "Damn, knowing that the wolf is coming tonight, do these two NPCs still have the leisure for this? What's going on?" Compared to Tang Ninger, who had a blushing and bewildered expression, Fang Lang, although somewhat embarrassed, didn't lose his composure. With one sentence, he awakened Han Yan. Only then did Han Yan hurriedly say, "The werewolves are attacking. I discovered them through the traps I set up, so I came to remind you, but I didn't expect." "Ah!" A scream came from the courtyard. The hunter's basic traps didn't have much effect on higher-level werewolves. They only served as reconnaissance. And outside the courtyard, the situation seemed dire. Fang Lang didn't intend to let the players defend against the werewolves for him. Tonight was just his verification, to see if this so-called novice village 01 was the werewolf village he designed. Now it seems that he was right. These level 20 monsters couldn't be dealt with by players who hadn't even reached level 10, and the use of the Sea of People tactic was limited. Fang Lang picked up the iron sword he had just bought today and rushed outside, scaring Han Yan into grabbing him. "Hey, calm down. You're a scholar." The scholar class belonged to the support role, providing buffs and healing for teammates. Now Fang Lang was rushing outside with a sword, and Han Yan didn't know how to criticize him. Indeed, a support who doesn't want to deal damage isn't a good AP, right? Tang Ninger also stopped Fang Lang and said, "Give me the sword, let me handle it." While taking out pills to give to Da Hong, allowing Da Hong to transform, Tang Ninger confidently said, "My father is a ranger, and our family's inherited swordsmanship is very powerful." Chapter 18, You Are Devils. Fang Lang didn't know where to start complaining. A pharmacist who couldn't use a sword wasn't a good caretaker, right? However, Fang Lang wouldn't let the girl protect him while he sat comfortably in the back watching. Since Tang Ninger was confident in her swordsmanship, he just handed her the sword. After all, Fang Lang was a powerhouse in all three disciplines. Even without a sword, he could still use spells. As Fang Lang stepped out of the room, he saw two groups of people engaged in a melee. On one side were standing wolves, or werewolves to be precise. There were only 3 of them. On the other side were players who had taken on the guarding mission. The players had the advantage in numbers, but there was a level difference. Fortunately, the players had different professions and all came from the same guild, so their coordination was pretty good. The archer attracted the werewolves' hatred in the front, while the hunter and the priest provided support from the back. The scholar also stayed in the back line to heal. Also, thanks to the buffs the players had received, although they were at a level disadvantage, their damage output against the werewolves was not low. The one in command was Dynasty Overlord. He was very excited at the moment. The game had only been launched for 2 days, and he was already experiencing the feeling of teaming up to fight a boss. This feeling was incredibly satisfying. This was a typical, fearless attitude. The situation was once very tense. However, when Fang Lang and Tang Ninger appeared, the 3 werewolves, who had been constantly under attack, simultaneously let out a howl. Their bodies quickly grew in size, their eyes turned red, and they charged straight towards Fang Lang. The players immediately realized that this was a guarding mission, and the werewolves held an even greater grudge against Scholar Fang and Tang Ninger. They absolutely couldn't let anything happen to them. The members of the Dynasty Guild bravely stood in front of the werewolves. The leading werewolf swept its claws, and the 4 people in front of it all turned into white light and died, only to be resurrected shortly after. The werewolves suddenly unleashed such high killing power that even Dynasty Overlord felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. At this moment, he also received messages from the players who had been killed. After resurrection, they couldn't return to Fang Leng's courtyard. The system prompted them that they couldn't enter. With this, the strategy of using a sea of people was no longer viable. In the novice stage, death didn't result in level loss. Resurrection only reduced half of their health and imposed a period of weakness. If they could come back, they could still be used as combat power, albeit reluctantly. Now it seemed that all hope was lost. Just when the situation was about to get out of control, Tang Ninger grabbed a sword and charged toward the enemy with her rooster. Dynasty Overlord was about to vomit blood. What the hell, does this person being protected have no self-awareness at all? Are they going up there to offer their heads? But the development of the story exceeded their expectations. The leading werewolf, who had been displaying its ferocity just moments ago, was shot dead by Han Yan's arrow. Han Yan delivered a fatal blow, and with the bonus from the title Wolf Slayer, it dealt a critical hit of 999. The wolf didn't even have time to react. Wait, something's not right. I just showed up and it's already over? Tang Ninger, on the other hand, slashed down another werewolf with her sword, and Da Hong the rooster launched a fierce attack, pecking the last werewolf to death. The battle ended too quickly, giving people a dreamlike feeling. But Fang Leng wasn't surprised. When the NPCs detected the werewolves, their attack power would increase, but they were also very fragile when attacked by NPCs and could be killed quickly. He just didn't expect Tang Ninger's attack power to be so high. He had thought that there would be some difficulty. Using NPCs to kill the werewolves was the only way he had designed for players to pass this stage. If it wasn't set up this way, the village would be filled with level 20+ boss monsters, including a higher level Wolf King. How could players possibly win? But if the players weren't present, the NPCs couldn't kill the werewolves no matter what. They could only be killed by the werewolves. That's why Fang Leng had brought these people to protect them. The main force doesn't need them, but they must be present. As for Han Yan killing one with a single arrow, that's because of her title, Wolf Slayer. If it were another player, they wouldn't be able to defeat the werewolves before the village turned into a dungeon. Fang Leng knows the reason behind it, but others don't, especially Dynasty Overlord. It's really awkward for him now. Just think about it. Their people were killed instantly by the werewolves, while others easily killed the werewolves. It's really embarrassing to talk about it. However, at this moment, no one is mocking him. Fang Leng says to them, "Thank you for your protection. It should be safe tonight. I don't have anything to give you, but there might be something on the werewolf's body. You can go check it out." Killing monsters can drop equipment. During the day, the werewolves don't drop anything because it's considered a plot kill. You can only find things on her body, but no other equipment will drop. However, it's different at night. Fang Leng has already seen some things shining with blue light, but he remembers that he is an NPC. Can NPCs see the equipment dropped by bosses? He doesn't know if other NPCs can see it. When they were designing the game, they didn't consider the feelings of NPCs, so he should downplay his presence to avoid exposure. As for a few pieces of blue equipment, Fang Leng doesn't really care. As the main planner, he doesn't remember every little encounter. His main responsibility is plot planning. It's strange that other planners in other companies consider how to entice players to spend money, but Fang Leng's company doesn't have that requirement. They just want Fang Leng to plan the plot well. Because of this, Fang Leng remembers most of the settings, except for some small details that may have been overlooked. So Fang Leng has already figured out how to obtain treasures that are useful to him. He has plenty of opportunities to gather a set of divine weapons. There's no need to compete with players for these small gains. However, Dynasty Overlord and Han Yan are both very happy. This is the first time they've obtained blue equipment. There are 7 blue equipment pieces on the ground. They've hit the jackpot. Fang Leng is ready to return to his room, but Tang Ninger suddenly says, "I really like this fan. Can I have it?" Huh? Fang Leng looks at Tang Ninger in surprise. He sees Tang Ninger picking up a fan that is shining with blue light. Once the fan is in Tang Ninger's hands, it stops shining. No, Han Yan and Dynasty Overlord are a bit confused. Can NPCs now snatch equipment dropped by players? But since Tang Ninger killed 2 of the 3 wolves, they can't refuse her request for one. The key now is how to divide the remaining items. Seeing Han Yan and Dynasty Overlord nodding, Tang Ninger walks up to Fang Leng with a smile on her face and says, "Brother Xiao Fang, I'm giving you this fan. It will definitely look good on you." So this is for him. Fang Leng can't help but be stunned for a moment. Then he smiles slightly and says, "Thank you, I really like it." Scholar's folding fan. Literary chi +10. Special effect. Write poems on the blank fan surface. Activating the skill can eliminate chanting time and reduce the required literary chi value. The fan is just an ordinary fan, but Fang Leng really likes the thoughtfulness behind Tang Ninger's gift. Fang Leng, who has never been in a romantic relationship, finally feels something filling his heart. Watching this scene, Han Yan, Dynasty Overlord, and several players from the Dynasty Guild all have a face full of frustration. "Hey, it's bad enough that you NPCs are snatching our equipment, but now you're also showing off your love and torturing us single players. Are you devils?" Chapter 19. You're really cheeky. The problem of how to divide the remaining equipment is a concern. There are still 6 blue items, 2 white items, and some currency left. The drop rate of the werewolves is considered acceptable. Let's divide it equally. The Han Dynasty Guild hasn't killed a single wolf, so we can't not give them anything. After all, they have been holding on for so long and have lost a few people. Even if we divide it equally, it will still be perceived as unfair. After all, the Han Dynasty Guild has over 40 people, while Han Yan is just a lone commander. I'll take that bow and those shoes, the rest is for you guys. Han Yan only asked for 1/3 of the loot, which is considered fair. The bow and shoes are just right for her. Dynasty Overlord doesn't want to offend Han Yan after benefiting from this, and it wouldn't be fair to have Han Yan and his 40 people split everything equally. It was a very pleasant first cooperation between the two sides. The members of the Han Dynasty Guild went to distribute the equipment, while Han Yan immediately equipped the newly obtained spoils, replacing the white items she had on. After killing a wolf just now, she leveled up twice. While others had to work hard for half a day to level up once, she only needed one arrow to do it. It feels good just thinking about it. Luck can be good for girls who don't smile. Han Yan was in a very pleasant mood as she looked at her newly acquired equipment. Kang Long Bao. Attack speed increased by 10%. Unique active skill, Frenzy Assault, shoots out 5 arrows at once, damaging enemies in a fan-shaped area in front. Note, I really want to shoot something. Wolf Leather Boots, movement speed plus 35, defense plus 3. Unique passive skill. Wolf Stride, additional movement speed when moving towards enemies. Note, others may be artificial leather, but I'm the real deal. Pfft. Seeing the note at the end, Han Yan couldn't help but laugh. She didn't know if the shoes were genuine leather, but the official game is the real deal. However, the effect of these shoes must be very strong, especially for a hunter like her. The harvest tonight was really good, but she should log off now and rest well. Tomorrow is another battle, and today's start was perfect. As she was about to log off, she heard a gentle voice behind her say, "Miss, please wait." Han Yan turned around and saw it was Fang Lang. "What's the matter?" Han Yan felt a bit strange. Why would this NPC bother her at this late hour instead of accompanying the other players? Fang Lang said, "Among the chosen ones, you should be the strongest hunter. I would like to ask for your help. How about it? But whether you agree or not, don't tell anyone." Han Yan's inner monologue was full of excitement. She couldn't help but think, am I the chosen one again? Another mission. Moreover, Scholar Fang is being so secretive. This mission must be very special. If there's anything I can do to help you, I won't refuse. All right, meet me at the Wild Boar Forest outside the village at dawn tomorrow. After Fang Lang finished speaking, he returned to his room, not giving Han Yan a chance to inquire further. Han Yan was puzzled and couldn't understand why, but suddenly she thought of the kitchen knife in the Wild Boar Forest. Anyway, let's log off for now. In a villa in Jiangyan City, a tall and beautiful girl took off her VR headset. Her expression, as cold as ice, gave off a sense of forbidding. She glanced at the moon outside the window, her gaze dimming for a moment, but her expression remained unchanged. This girl is Han Yan. Her real name is Zhao Han Yan. She took out her mobile device and connected with a friend. "Yan Yan, is something wrong?" A girl's voice came from the mobile device, sounding a bit tired. "Nanan, you really won't enter Immortal Seeking Dream? Without you, Southern River Misty Rain? I don't know what meaning there is to existence." Zhao Han Yan poured out her heart to the person on the other end, and no one would have expected that she, who was usually cold and aloof, would have moments of pleading like this. "I'm sorry, I just want to wait for my brother to wake up. If he wakes up and I'm not by his side, he will be sad." Zhao Han Yan. She fell silent for a moment before finally whispering, "I understand." Zhao Han Yan really wanted to scold her. How could someone who had been diagnosed with brain death by the hospital possibly wake up? Although her body still functioned, complete death was only a matter of time. But Zhao Han Yan knew she couldn't do that. Even if she successfully shattered Fang Nan's illusion, wouldn't that also be a kind of harm to Fang Nan? She didn't know that the girl she was talking to didn't need to be awakened because Fang Nan herself was awake. Fang Nan knew that her brother, Fang Lang, was already dead. The hospital had issued a death certificate, but Fang Nan refused to accept it because her brother's heart was still beating, and he was still breathing. So she could pretend that her brother was just sleeping. The hospital wouldn't treat dead people, so Fang Nan brought Fang Lang back home, put him on the bed, and covered him with a blanket. At night, Fang Nan fell asleep holding Fang Lang, and there was a fruit knife on the bedside. Fang Nan was waiting for the moment when Fang Lang's heartbeat stopped. She would choose to leave this world together because there would be nothing left worth clinging to. That night, Fang Lang had a dream. He dreamt that his sister had committed suicide in front of his hospital bed, blood flowing all over the floor, but his sister's mouth still had a smile. Fang Lang woke up from the dream, his back already soaked in sweat. He didn't expect that even as an NPC, he could still dream. But this dream made Fang Lang even more eager. He wanted to quickly gather energy and then log out. Tang Ninger happened to push open the door at this moment and said, "Xiao Fang, it's time to get up and have breakfast." Tang Ninger didn't notice anything unusual about Fang Lang. When Fang Lang said he wanted to go out for a walk, she acted like a good wife and didn't ask too many questions, just saying, "Come back early." In the real world, there are probably not many wives as virtuous as Tang Ninger. She can handle both the hall and the kitchen, and she can even summon a rooster to fight. She also has her own swordsmanship, but she looks gentle and weak. The NPC assigned wife is pretty good. Fang Lang thought this as he walked on the road. He soon arrived at the Wild Boar Forest. Every player he encountered on the way, Fang Lang tried to give them quests. It didn't matter if they couldn't complete them. As long as he gave them quests, he would receive energy. When he arrived at the Wild Boar Forest, it was already crowded with players. It was only the third day since the server opened, and most of the high-level players had already gone to the Wolf Valley to grind monsters. The ones occupying the Wild Boar Forest were the ones who came later, and there were more people in this group. Fang Lang's energy continued to increase until he discovered Han Yan, and then he stopped harvesting energy. "Where are we going today?" Han Yan asked, and Fang Lang leaned close to her and whispered, "Let's find a way to shake off the others first." It was at this moment that the players in the Wild Boar Forest, who were fighting monsters, looked at Han Yan and Fang Lang with strange eyes. And at this moment, the most popular post on the forum changed from "The Guardian safely celebrates Christmas" werewolf discussion mode to gossip mode. Shocking! NPC also engages in hidden rules. There are pictures and evidence. Chapter 20. A flying sensation. Fang Lang still didn't know how these players were planning to set him up. He pulled Han Yan to a small grove and asked, "Have you mastered the skill of climbing rocks?" Climbing is a skill that hunters can learn at level 6, but currently, it seems quite useless. However, Fang Leng happens to need the skill now. Han Yan looked confused and said, "I've been doing missions all day. When did I have time to learn this useless skill? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Can't I learn the skill first before going to Wild Boar Forest?" Han Yan was already imagining a scene where she hangs Fang Leng up and beats him. But she kept a straight face, and even if she had an expression, Fang Leng couldn't see it because she was wearing a veil. But from her eyes, Fang Leng could tell that she was definitely not happy. However, it wasn't a big problem. Players are easy to deal with. If you learn how to climb, I can take you to search for lost treasures. As soon as Fang Leng said this, Han Yan's previous unhappiness disappeared. "If there's treasure, why didn't you say so earlier? I'll go and come back quickly." Han Yan didn't waste any time and activated all her skills. She ran off like a streak of smoke. Some people who were interested in watching didn't hear Fang Leng and Han Yan's conversation, but seeing Fang Leng alone, they also wanted to come over and see if they could trigger a quest. If there was one, they would just do it on the side. If not, then not. The place where players level up is always crowded, so Fang Leng naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity to harvest energy. When someone asked if there was anything they could help with, Fang Leng immediately handed them a quest. "I need some wolftail hairs to make a brush. Can you help me find some?" Fang Leng looked like a harmless NPC, so naturally the players gladly accepted the quest. However, those who were in Wild Boar Forest couldn't handle the wolves yet. The quest can be left here and done later. When Han Yan came back from the hunter in the village after learning the climbing skill, Fang Leng had already given out a round of quests to the players. He collected over 100 points of energy, which Fang Leng wasn't particularly satisfied with. If he chose to give players buffs, he would need to consume literary chi, which he couldn't recover in a short time. He needed a large amount of literary chi for what he was going to do later, so he could only endure and use it sparingly. He could come back to harvest players' energy next time. Fang Leng didn't want to trick players too much now because he and the players could both benefit from each other. There was no need to deceive them. After all, he was a person with thoughts and morals, someone who had moved beyond the low-level interests. He wouldn't casually deceive these lovely players. When Han Yan learned the skill and came back, Fang Leng took her straight to Wolftooth Mountain. With Han Yan's level and the title of Wolf Slayer, she could already roam freely in Wolftooth Mountain. You are in a team with player Han Yan to kill wolves. +2 energy. You are in a team with players to kill. Fang Leng didn't expect there to be such a benefit from going with Han Yan. It seems that the system automatically assumed that he was in a team with Han Yan. Being able to team up with players as an NPC was quite interesting. However, Han Yan killed wolf after wolf and found that her experience only increased by a little. She couldn't help but wonder, are these fake wolves? Why am I only getting a little experience? Cough, cough, it's just a small benefit. Don't worry about it. Fang Leng said this with a guilty conscience. Then, when Han Yan couldn't figure out the reason, he silently led her to the place where the wolf pack appeared. This energy is really fragrant. According to Han Yan's way of killing, she should have leveled up by now. However, every time she killed a wolf, she only gained a little experience. Even after killing all the wolves in Wolftooth Mountain, she still couldn't level up. Meanwhile, Fang Leng had developed a new way to obtain energy. Most of the experience that should have been given to Han Yan was plundered and converted into energy by him. This was quite comfortable. This free labor was really useful. Han Yan actually noticed that there was a problem, but after thinking about it, she thought that maybe it was because she was with an NPC, so she wasn't given any experience points. But other games don't have this kind of setting either. Not gaining experience from killing monsters, this is so frustrating. Seeing Han Yan becoming more and more impatient, Fang Leng finally stopped beating around the bush and led her up to the mountaintop. And the wave of monsters that Han Yan killed increased Fang Leng's energy by several hundred points. They were getting closer to logging out. But now the most important thing was to jump off the cliff. When Han Yan saw the big rock and the wild boar corpse beneath it, she realized that they had arrived at the right place. Fang Leng was happy when he saw the wild boar corpse. It was definitely the iron-headed pig that he accidentally killed that night, which confirmed Fang Leng's guess. Monsters indirectly or directly killed by him wouldn't respawn, which meant that the monster king he unintentionally killed that day shouldn't have respawned either, unless Yao Guang took the corpse away. Anyway, since they had nothing better to do, Fang Leng wanted to explore for treasure. If there was any, great. If not, it didn't matter. He would just experience the feeling of flying. The wild boar was killed by himself. Although Fang Leng caused some damage, he didn't deliver the final blow, so no equipment dropped. In the end, the pig was just a corpse. But the equipment of a level 5 boss, if it existed, would be great. If not, it didn't matter. The monster king below was the real priority. Now is the time when I need you. Take me down. Fang Leng innocently looked at Han Yan. Han Yan, are you freaking kidding me? Did you make me learn rock climbing just to accompany you in jumping off a cliff? And not only do I have to climb myself, but I also have to carry you on my back while climbing. Han Yan expressed that she had never seen such shameless person before. But when she thought about the treasure Fang Leng mentioned, she held back. The greater the difficulty of the task, the richer the rewards. So she squatted down and let Fang Leng climb onto her back. Han Yan used a hook to secure herself to the big rock and started climbing down carefully. But as she climbed, Han Yan felt that her stamina was not enough. In a mortal-seeking dream, stamina was not directly represented by a numerical value, but players could feel it themselves. After carrying Fang Leng down for a while, Han Yan felt exhausted. And to make matters worse, Fang Leng was still commanding her on her back. The wind on the mountain is a bit noisy. Hurry up and go down. I'm getting cold. Han Yan, if you can do it, then you go first. Stop complaining. The hunter's rope had a limited length, and when they reached the maximum distance of 200 meters, Han Yan realized that she still couldn't see the bottom, and she no longer had the strength to climb back up. Moreover, maintaining the position without falling also required physical strength. "Are you about to lose your grip?" Fang Lang asked. "Can't you see for yourself?" Han Yan shouted loudly, and with her voice raised, her grip on the rope loosened. Her hands trembled, and she couldn't hold onto the rope anymore, falling directly down. Han Yan instinctively struggled, but Fang Lang held onto her tightly. Then Fang Lang took out a fan and waved it, and a condensed version of the Dapeng bird appeared. Chapter 21. Spare no one. Fang Lang held Han Yan securely in his arms as they landed on the back of the Dapeng. Han Yan had her eyes closed, seemingly frightened. The cold wind blew away Han Yan's veil, revealing her delicate face. What puzzled Fang Lang was that Han Yan only kept her eyes tightly shut and showed no other expression. Could she have been scared unconscious? "Wake up, it's time to go home for dinner." Fang Lang shook Han Yan, and she finally opened her eyes. She looked around in confusion, realizing that they were still descending rapidly. But when she saw Fang Lang's calm demeanor and looked down, she noticed that Fang Lang was stepping on the Dapeng's illusion, while she was in his arms. "Put me down." Han Yan's face turned cold, but Fang Lang didn't comply. Instead, he teased, "To me, this illusion is not an illusion. When you step on it, it's empty." Han Yan. Since that's the case, there's nothing she can do about it. However, being held by Fang Lang in a princess carry like this suddenly created an ambiguous atmosphere. Han Yan felt something strange in her heart, but she remained expressionless. Those who were familiar with her wouldn't be surprised because she was known for having a poker face. It wasn't that she was naturally cold, but rather she was born unable to make any facial expressions. Although she had many emotions inside, she couldn't express them. People who didn't know the truth just thought she was difficult to get along with. Han Yan naturally wouldn't go around telling everyone about her condition, so over time, she no longer had anyone to talk to. As a result, she gradually became a cold person. That was also the reason why she became obsessed with online games. At least online, she could communicate with others without any barriers. Unfortunately, in a previous game, because she was too trusting, she was deceived and lost all her supreme grade equipment. Equipment can be obtained again, but once trust is lost, it's truly lost. Fortunately, Han Yan eventually met someone she could trust, and together they formed a guild. She still wasn't good at communicating with people, and many things were kept in her heart, but she truly cherished that guild from the bottom of her heart. A new game had just launched, and Han Yan had made plans to enter it with those people. When she first heard that it was a holographic game, she thought she would be able to make facial expressions in the game. However, she didn't expect that. Just like in reality, she couldn't make any facial expressions. So she obtained a veil first. It was an equipment with no attribute bonuses, but for Han Yan, it was like something that protected her. Now that she had lost her veil, she didn't know what to do. However, Fang Lang didn't try to flirt with her just because she looked beautiful. Both of them remained silent. Before long, they arrived at the bottom of the cliff. The illusion of the Dapeng finally dissipated, and Fang Lang leaped down with Han Yan in his arms, landing without any injuries. This was already the limit. If it weren't for the rope that Han Yan had used to support them for a distance, Fang Lang's literary chi wouldn't have been able to sustain them to the bottom of the cliff. He had already pushed his literary chi value to the limit that could be achieved at this stage. He had to advance to unlock a higher limit. At the bottom of the cliff was the familiar place. Su Yu's body was no longer in human form. All Fang Lang saw was the corpse of a giant fox with 6 tails, wearing human clothes. It seemed that his immortal, venerable master hadn't disposed of the body. Now it was time to search for treasures. First, the clothes on the fox's body. Fang Lang took them off, and the system provided an evaluation. Tattered human skin coat. Epic grade demonic artifact. Physical defense, plus 50. Magic defense, plus 99. Soul snatch. Passive, after killing a target, snatch its soul, increasing physical defense by 1 point and magic defense by 5 points. Resentful spirit. Active. Summon bound resentful spirits, create a barrier that weakens enemies within range, reducing their magic defense, and has a chance to cause fear. Cannot be used. Formless active. The human skin coat can transform into any form. Description. The coat made from the skins of 99 human boys and girls killed by the Fox clan monster, King Suyu. It contains the restless souls of the deceased, possessing immense power, but affecting the wearer's mentality. The resentful spirits have been purified, greatly reducing their attributes. Fang Lang didn't expect that a piece of clothing he had taken off would turn out to be a damaged, yet still an epic-grade demonic artifact based on its skills. Equipment above epic grade has no level restrictions and can be used by anyone. The stronger one's own strength, the stronger the effects can be exerted. However, when Fang Lang thought about the materials used for this clothing, he felt a bit disgusted. He wouldn't wear such clothing. In addition, there was a short sword next to it. The fox no longer had anything else on its body. Broken Fox Claw, epic-grade demonic artifact. Attack plus 99. Sharpness. Passive. Ignore armor to deal physical damage. Rend passive. Inflicted physical damage is difficult to heal, reducing healing effects by 70%. Fox Claw. Active. Release 3 bursts of energy attacks, dealing massive damage to targets within range. Cannot be used. Description. The personal weapon refined by Fox King Suyu, using its own claws, now shattered by a powerful force. After taking down this short sword, the fox was completely naked, with nothing left. Perhaps it had already been looted by Yaguang, taking away anything useful and destroying anything useless. Fang Lang suddenly noticed that the lower half of the fox's body seemed to have some bloodstains. Upon closer inspection, there was something bloody not far away, seemingly a fox. Whip? Fang Lang couldn't help but feel a chill in his lower body. It was obvious that the person who attacked had a terrifying presence. But this fox was so despicable that there was nothing wrong with castrating it. Fang Ling even felt a bit of unresolved resentment. He retaliated by throwing a fireball at the fox. Don't throw away the castrated fox, coat it with flour and deep fry it, and the children next door will cry with envy. However, Fang Ling's fireball didn't even produce a spark. It seemed that he couldn't casually destroy the Monster King's corpse. The fur remained smooth. Fang Ling suddenly had an idea. Since you, the Monster King, made equipment from the skins of human beings, how about I treat you the same way you treated them? However, ordinary blades may not be able to peel off the skin. But Fang Ling noticed that there was an unhealed wound on the fox's abdomen. Starting from here, perhaps he could find a breakthrough. And your fox claws ignore defense, right? Can I use your claws to peel your skin? Fang Ling picked up the short sword and smoothly peeled off the fox's skin along the wound. The process went very smoothly. Han Yan had been calmly watching Fang Lung touching the corpse and skinning it. Despite the bloody scene, Han Yan didn't react at all. After Fang Lung finished peeling off the skin, Han Yan asked, "Is this the lost treasure you were talking about?" Chapter 22. Let's go hunt those. Forget it, we can't beat them anyway. Hey, it's time to deceive the players again, Fang Ling thought to himself. It's better to give Han Yan some benefits since he has been leeching off their energy. Looking at the human skin coat in his hand, Fang Ling suddenly had an idea. Since he didn't want to wear it, why not give it to Han Yan? Players may not have many thoughts, as long as the equipment attributes are good. The human skin coat has already been purified and will no longer affect a person's mentality. Although it's not as strong as before, with its soul-stealing passive ability, it is clearly a great equipment with growth potential, and players can infinitely respawn monsters. However, there is probably a limit to this. It's not possible to continuously strengthen it, but this equipment is very suitable for players. And by using this, perhaps he can deceive Han Yan into leveling up with him. Fang Ling himself won't gain energy points from killing monsters. It's obvious that he can only get energy points by stealing the player's experience. So it's necessary to team up with a player, preferably one who is efficient and easy to deceive, and Han Yan fits the bill perfectly. Take this coat. I have other uses for this broken sword and fox fur, Fang Ling said, handing the coat to Han Yan. Han Yan didn't waste any words and immediately took off the fashion she bought for 10 coins, revealing her well-proportioned figure. Fang Ling strongly condemned this act of changing clothes in front of him. Then he stared at her, with a critical gaze without blinking. Han Yan changed clothes quickly, and soon the human skin coat transformed into a large robe that covered her whole body. Although she is a hunter, she looks like a mage. Is it convenient to run with such a robe? The human skin coat is a fashion item and does not take up an equipment slot. Fashion items with such attributes are absolutely supreme grade. Even in the late stage, they are very precious, not to mention the ability to change shape at will, which makes it a treasure. Han Yan felt like she had hit the jackpot on this trip, so she didn't need anything else. After Fang Ling saw her change into the coat, he immediately set fire to the fox's body. Without the protection of fur and without any special strength, the body quickly turned to ashes, leaving only a purple crystal. At the same time, a sword aura shot up into the sky. That sword aura might be left by Yaoguang. Fang Ling didn't pay too much attention to it, but in a valley far away in Shuzhou City, a glamorous woman seemed to sense something and looked towards Shu State City. Gorn, monstrous crystal, transformed from monstrous power. Contains abundant energy, will cause loss of sanity if used by non-monster race. Fang Ling picked up the purple crystal in front of him and heard a system prompt in his ear. Do you want to convert it into energy? Can I do that too? Fang Ling decisively chose yes. You have obtained 1,000 energy points. He earned so much from just one crystal, and he was only one step away from 10,000 energy points. Maybe after one more day, he could log off. I should kill more monster kings in the future. Wake up first. I can't beat them. The treasure hunt is over. Fang Ling only obtained a sharp broken sword and some fragments. He didn't bother picking them up, because as long as the broken part is still there will be a chance to reforge it in the future. The day of reforging the broken sword. It's probably useless now, and reforging a demonic weapon is troublesome, so Fang Ling doesn't plan to do it. After everything was settled, the problem of how to return became an issue. He was sent back to the village by Yaoguang with a wave of his hand before, but now even summoning a giant rock wouldn't be enough to fly back. However, there seems to be a road downhill. If he goes around, maybe there will be a way to return. Fang Ling is not familiar with the map in this area, and the system hasn't provided any map hints, so he has to explore and discover everything himself. We have obtained the treasure. Let's go back. You go ahead and scout the way, Han Yan. This NPC really has no gentlemanly demeanor at all. How can he let the girl walk in front while he walks behind? But Fang Ling has no choice either. Players can be resurrected when they die, but when an NPC dies, they're really dead. What's the point of being shameless and developing a bad reputation? There is a deep forest not far away. Even though it's daytime, not much light shines through. The trees are tall, and there are no paths in the jungle. Just as a certain tree person said, there were no paths in the world originally. It's only because many people have walked that paths have formed. Few people have been to this mountain, so there are naturally no paths. They're completely relying on Han Yan's random wandering. Fang Ling originally thought that as a hunter, he should be able to judge the direction, but he realized that Han Yan had led him in circles. He silently made a mark on a tree, and when they encountered it again, he knew that they were probably lost. Stop, stop, stop. Haven't you noticed that you're going in circles? Fang Ling stopped Han Yan, who was wandering around, and Han Yan asked, Really? Fang Ling pointed to the mark and said, I made this mark just now, and now we bumped into it again. Could it be that we've encountered some kind of formation? Fang Ling, fine, let me lead the way. He had just been following Han Yan without paying attention, and with so many trees, it was indeed easy to get turned around. Han Yan's theory couldn't be ruled out, but who would be bored enough to set up a formation in this forest? However, after Fang Ling led Han Yan in a circle and returned, he started to believe it. Han Yan had no reference point, but Fang Lang had marked the trees they passed. Unexpectedly, they had come back to the same place. Moreover, he couldn't even find his way back to where he had found the fox corpse. The path back had somehow changed. The forest was too deep, and the light was already dim. It was difficult to find the right direction. He needed to stay calm now. Suddenly, Fang Lang thought, if he couldn't determine the direction on the ground, why not go up into the sky? With this thought, Fang Lang used his slightly recovered literary chi to summon a giant eagle's shadow and flew up into the sky to overlook the forest. He discovered that the trees below actually formed the shape of a Tai Chi diagram. It really was a formation. He didn't know who had set it up. This was beyond his knowledge as a planner. So the question was, since it was a formation, how could it be broken? This was where Fang Lang's knowledge gap lay. Only after reaching Shu State City could a formation master have the opportunity to change professions. Right now, Fang Lang could only look up at the sky. It's getting dark. The light was already dim, and now in the mountains and forests it was almost pitch black. Fang Lang didn't expect to encounter this situation. When he descended the mountain, he planned to get the treasure and find another way down the mountain so that he could fly back. He didn't expect to be trapped in the forest. Han Yan, who was with Fang Lang, was quite calm. She watched Fang Lang anxiously and even wanted to bring a bag of melon seeds to snack on. After all, she could be resurrected in the city if she died, so she wasn't worried at all. Just then, a scholar who could use fire magic summoned a large fireball. Well, hey, calm down. Setting the mountain on fire won't solve anything. Chapter 23. Why do you have to force me to take action? Han Yan had just wanted to dissuade Fang Lang when Fang Lang's flame curse was unleashed without any hesitation. His fire spells were very powerful. Fang Lang himself was a fire attribute, and with his level maxed out, burning a tree was a piece of cake. This was Fang Lang's most straightforward way of breaking through the formation. If you don't know how to break the formation, I'll burn down your forest. Strangely, after Fang Lang burned a few trees, the fire did not spread further. Instead, the area in front of them seemed to ripple like water. When it returned to normal, a cave suddenly appeared, standing out conspicuously. The cave was deep and looked pitch black, emitting a faint green light from within. Han Yan remained calm on the surface, but her heart was in a panic. What the hell? Am I playing a horror game? And the most annoying thing was that Fang Lang promptly hid behind her and asked her to explore ahead. This person? Really? In her mind, Han Yan was already ranting like crazy. In the future, when looking for a boyfriend, she absolutely couldn't find someone like Fang Lang. Although she might not necessarily look for a boyfriend, she definitely wouldn't choose someone like Fang Lang. But she had no choice but to step forward into the cave, and Fang Lang held the broken fox claw in his hand. Han Yan sneered. You're a scholar who knows fire spells, that's fine. But do you also know swordsmanship? If you're so talented, how can other NPCs survive? She thought Fang Lang was just holding a sword to boost his courage, unaware that Fang Lang was already prepared for battle. He hadn't revealed too many of his cards outside. Fang Lang didn't plan to hide his fire spells, but it was better not to reveal his swordsmanship if possible. For now, it seemed that using a sword had a higher attack power. Inside the cave, there were two forked paths, and on each side of the paths, there was a stone wolf. Using wolves as guardian statues, this was quite peculiar. Fang Lang suddenly became curious and asked, do you think these statues might come to life and attack us when we pass by? After Fang Lang said this, one of the stone wolf's tails moved. Did my eyes deceive me? Fang Lang approached and carefully examined it, and a prompt appeared before his eyes. Stone wolf, 20, guardian of the wolf totem cave. Fang Lang. It really is a monster. No matter how Fang Lang observed, even when he touched the stone wolf's back a couple of times, the stone wolf remained completely still. Are you pretending to be a statue? I already know you're not a fake wolf. Stone wolf. Can you please put down the sword you're holding against my neck? Watch me bite you to death. Fang Lang didn't give the stone wolf a chance. With a swing of the broken fox claw, the wolf's head split open and fell to the ground. Instant kill. Afterward, Fang Lang used the same method to shatter the other three stone wolves. At first, Han Yan thought Fang Lang was just fooling around, until her experience points increased significantly. Only then did she believe that Fang Lang had indeed killed a few monsters. So here's the question. They're in a team, so why did she not gain experience when she killed monsters herself? But when Fang Lang killed them, she gained experience? Han Yan didn't foolishly ask this question out loud. She just made a mental note of it, and then the two of them chose one of the cave entrances and walked in. After a period of darkness, they emerged from the cave and were faced with 4 more cave entrances. The person who designed this game really lacks creativity. Is it just about constantly crawling through caves and fighting wolves? Han Yan was talking to herself, saying things related to the game, or rather, that this was just a game, and NPCs were automatically filtered. Curious people had already tested it. But Fang Lang was a special NPC. He heard it and silently noted Han Yan down in his little book. Although this part was not designed by him, as one of the designers, he could be considered as being bombarded by Han Yan. Just wait. Because of previous experience, Fang Lang didn't take action against the 8 stone wolves this time. He let Han Yan handle it. Strangely, the stone wolves didn't resist at all. Fang Lang suddenly had a strange thought. Could it be that the designer's intention was to make the player enter a narrow cave, and then the stone wolves would become active and attack from both sides? In that case, it would indeed be difficult for the people inside the cave to deal with it, because the light was too dim to see. The faint green light was emitted by unknown stones on the walls. However, Fang Lang didn't intend to verify this idea. What if it was true and he died foolishly? Fang Lang remained calm as an old dog, while Han Yan smashed all the stone wolves. Fang Lang also gained 32 energy points, with each wolf providing 4 points. This was much faster than giving players quests when teaming up to kill monsters. The only downside was that it would plunder the player's experience, so one trap after another. Han Yan had already learned from her experience. She didn't gain any experience from killing monsters, only Fang Ling did. So, when the third set of 8 caves appeared in front of them, she didn't take action. She didn't want to miss out on such a large amount of experience. The situation became tense for a while, and Fang Ling guessed that Han Yan had discovered the pattern. Ah, the complexity of city people's hearts. This is bad. If Han Yan knew what Fang Ling was thinking, she would probably spit on him. The countryside is slippery, and people's hearts are even more complicated. Let's discuss it. Each person takes 8. How about that? Deal. The two monks divided the water and drank. It was precisely because of this negotiation routine that Han Yan couldn't help but have the illusion that she was not communicating with an NPC, but rather with a player. But obviously Fang Ling was an NPC. Maybe he was an NPC with exceptionally high intelligence. It had long been said that the NPCs in Immortal Seeking Dream had intelligence no weaker than perfected beings. She didn't believe it before, but now it seemed to be true. Quite impressive. After all the stone wolves were killed, the cave entrances disappeared, and there was a tremor. Fang Ling couldn't stand steady and instinctively grabbed Han Yan, but did he use too much force? When he regained his balance, Fang Ling was immediately pushed away by Han Yan. Then, Han Yan drew her bow and aimed at Fang Ling. "Please calm down!" Han Yan shot an arrow, but Fang Ling casually waved his hand and knocked the arrow away. However, Han Yan still had a cold face and continued shooting. "This is a misunderstanding. I didn't mean it." While explaining, Fang Ling used his sword to block Han Yan's arrows. His level was higher than Han Yan's, and his swordsmanship had reached the current limit. His blocking rate against Han Yan was probably around 90%. Not only did his sword have high damage, but Han Yan's random shooting arrows would definitely be blocked. Han Yan didn't listen to Fang Ling's words and shot an arrow towards his face. Fortunately, Fang Ling reacted quickly. Otherwise, this wave would have disfigured him. Fang Ling also became angry. If the little girl didn't listen, then he could only subdue her first. 3 seconds later, Han Yan was humiliated and easily subdued by Fang Ling. "Why can this scholar knock me down in close combat? I must be a fake hunter, right?" Chapter 24. Killing the wolf, breaking the wolf. According to the setting that all NPCs in the beginner village are level 10, Han Yan had no idea that Fang Ling's level had already reached 20. She only thought of him as a powerful scholar, whose strength attribute naturally surpassed that of a hunter. But with Fang Ling being so many levels higher, he could easily overpower her. "Miss, this is really a misunderstanding, Han Yan. You're pressing me down right now and you're saying it's a misunderstanding? It's a pity that the heavenly punishment system is ineffective against NPCs. Otherwise, Han Yan would have summoned a thunderbolt to kill Fang Ling long ago." In a non-combat state, when players of the opposite * X touch sensitive areas, the one being touched can summon a thunderbolt that guarantees instant death. This is to protect female players from experiencing overly inappropriate actions in the holographic game. Otherwise, there would always be some people with strange ways of thinking causing trouble. And in the game where there is a lack of legal protection, the system rules can only serve as protection. Fang Ling had no choice either. Who knew Han Yan had a hot temper? Since reasoning was impossible, he could only subdue her first and then reason with her. However, the two of them didn't notice that the scene had already changed while they were fighting. They were originally in a cave, but now only the outline of the mountains remained. Above their heads, a particularly large full moon appeared at some point, and in front of them, there was a stone wolf about 3 zhang tall, looking up at the moon. Calculating, today shouldn't be the night of the full moon. "So this moon is probably fake. Mortal, you have passed the trial. Do you believe in me? According to the contract, I, the god, will bestow upon you great power." A majestic voice resounded through the heavens and the earth. Fang Ling was stunned, and the strength in his hands weakened. Han Yan used a carp jump to throw Fang Ling off. This girl has quite a strong waist. But after Han Yan got up, she didn't attack Fang Ling again. She knew that if she couldn't win, it would be foolish to continue fighting. A woman seeks revenge, and she can wait all day and night. Now let's deal with the current situation first. The wolf god is preaching to you. Do you want to take the wolf as your totem, gain powerful strength, and change to a special profession? This was Han Yan's system prompt. If it were an ordinary player, they would definitely agree, as both powerful strength and a special profession are tempting. But Han Yan was thinking that she already had a strong title as a wolf slayer, so if she took the wolf as her totem, it would undoubtedly be wasted. However, what if the power she obtained was even greater? So she hesitated. But Fang Ling's system prompt was different from Han Yan's. "The demon wolf temptation is tempting you. Accepting the temptation will turn you into a werewolf. Do you accept?" Only an idiot would agree to this. The human race and the monster race are incompatible, so he would never become a half-human, half-demon character. He was more worried that Han Yan would accept. What kind of wolf god? Just a wolf demon who deceives people's hearts. And he dares to shamelessly call himself a god? If it weren't for Han Yan flipping him over and sitting him on the ground, Fang Ling's words might have sounded more handsome. But it didn't matter much. Fang Ling calmly stood up, dusted off the dirt behind him, pretending that he was still very handsome. "Bold mortal, how dare you blaspheme against the god?" That majestic voice seemed filled with anger, and the earth trembled. Han Yan couldn't stand steady, and a gust of wind blew. Han Yan suddenly pounced on Fang Ling, but Fang Ling was prepared and had a stable stance, so he wasn't knocked down. Just one sentence had such power. It seemed very formidable, but Fang Ling already knew that the other party was not a god, but a demon, skilled in temptation. Naturally, he wouldn't be afraid of him. However, he couldn't see the true nature of the other party now, so it seemed that a fierce battle was about to take place. Fang Ling helped Han Yan up and whispered in her ear, "If you agree to his terms, you will become a werewolf. Prepare for battle." Han Yan nodded. Although Fang Ling took advantage of her and didn't seem like a serious NPC, she inexplicably felt that she could trust him. While the wolf demon was still playing tricks, Fang Lang didn't waste time talking. He threw a fireball at it. The huge stone wolf immediately moved, dodging the fireball thrown by Fang Lang, causing the ground to shake as it ran. Ignorant mortals dare to offend my divine power. I shall pass judgment on you, death. The wolf demon charged towards Fang Lang, feeling like it could crush him with one step. However, Fang Lang quickly applied a speed buff to himself, dodging the demon's attack and slashing at its tail with a sword. This attack caused some stone fragments to fall off. Howl, mortal! You dare to harm me, a god! Fang Lang chuckled, thinking that even a casual sword strike from him could break through its defense. Why was it still pretending to be a big-tailed wolf? Han Yan, shoot him! Without needing Fang Lang to prompt her, Han Yan already had her bow drawn and arrow ready. With a snap, the arrow hit the demon's back, causing it to let out a miserable cry. Damn you, your hands are stained with the blood of believers. You shall die. The damage caused by Han Yan was not as high as Fang Lang's, but she had the title of Wolf Slayer, which made the demon abandon Fang Lang and pounce towards Han Yan. Han Yan's level was not high enough to deal damage to the demon, and if it hit her, she would likely be instantly killed due to her special nature. Fang Lang started to worry. The archer had attracted the demon's hatred. What should he do? As the demon pounced towards Han Yan, Fang Lang used a wind curse to blow her up into the air. This was a control skill, but Fang Lang turned it into a rescue skill. The demon missed its attack again. It was at this moment that Fang Lang rushed forward and with a single sword strike, cut off the demon's tail. Howl! The demon let out a miserable cry. Clearly, Fang Lang's tail-cutting attack had dealt a great amount of damage. When it turned its head, its eyes had turned red, and its body had shrunk rapidly, but it emitted a strong aura of blood. Finally, the demon transformed into an ordinary-sized wolf. It charged towards Fang Lang, who only saw a blur and felt a pain in his chest. The wolf's claws tore through his clothes, leaving several claw marks on his chest. Fang Lang's health dropped significantly. It had transformed its shape, and it looked quite fierce. However, at this moment, Fang Lang finally saw the demon's attributes. Monster Wolf, Huo, level 30. Disguiser, talent skill. Can disguise as any form and hide its own attributes from beings below 2 stages. Attributes decrease by 50% when disguised, and return to normal when the disguise ends. Divine power. Disguise can emit a terrifying majesty. Totem. Can bewitch other creatures to become followers and grant them power. The more followers, the stronger the power. So it turned out to be a wolf that specialized in trickery. This meant that it was probably related to the werewolves in the village. Perhaps only by killing it could they uncover the truth. Chapter 25. Wait, I grabbed the wrong script. From a skill perspective, this wolf doesn't have any combat skills. It's all just bluffing. Its level isn't high either. Although it's 10 levels higher than Fang Lang, it doesn't mean it's completely powerless. At least Fang Lang's sword can break through its defense. Not killing it is not an option. We're already at a life or death moment. Either the wolf dies or he dies. Fang Lang has no other choice. Although he's injured now, the wolf's attack method is just using its body, and it's a physical attack. Fang Lang is not afraid anymore. The wolf transformed and unleashed all its firepower, and Fang Lang can also unleash all his firepower. 4 directions converge. Fang Lang used the unlocked second form of the extreme clear sword art. This is a sword technique he learned after maxing out the 3 talents unification. This skill protects with sword energy and reflects physical damage received. It's perfect for dealing with this wolf. This is just activating the defensive stance. Next is Fang Lang's time to perform all his spells. Ice Curse. Just as the wolf was about to run, it felt the ground becoming slippery and almost slipped. It struggled to run towards Fang Lang, but Fang Lang used Earth Curse. The ground started shaking, and the wolf couldn't stabilize itself and fell flat on its face. Before it could stand up, a lightning bolt struck its head, paralyzing it. Immediately after, a transcendent-level fireball followed. Han Yan forgot to shoot arrows while watching. Indeed, this Fang Lang is the GM's own son. How can an NPC in the newbie village be this strong? And what about being a scholar? What's with all these spells being thrown around? Can't you recite a poem or something? Han Yan silently complained in her mind, still without any expression. Despite taking this amount of damage, the wolf stubbornly got up, pounced on Fang Lang, and bit towards his neck. Crunch! It bit into the sword energy covering Fang Lang's body, spilling its own blood and losing a few wolf teeth. Only then did Fang Lang swiftly thrust his sword into the wolf's waist without any resistance, from bottom to top, splitting it open. A fatal blow! The wolf died on the spot, leaving behind a corpse. A beam of light flashed on Han Yan, and she leveled up to level 9. Fang Lang didn't level up, as he had reached the limit and didn't gain any experience. However, this battle did give Fang Lang a true sense of playing the game. With all his skills, it wasn't difficult to defeat a high-level monster that only knows how to deceive. After defeating the boss, Fang Lang casually restored some of his health, leaving Han Yan speechless. He can heal, deal damage, control, and tank. Is this NPC cheating? Anyway, this is definitely a special NPC. After killing the monster, a pile of equipment appeared on the ground. Han Yan knew she was just tagging along and didn't feel comfortable asking Fang Lang for anything. Fang Lang picked up everything. Aside from receiving 1,000 copper coins, he also obtained 2 blue items, 1 green item, and a special item, sheepskin parchment. System prompt. The sheepskin parchment contained special writing. Fang Lang couldn't understand the writing on the sheepskin parchment, and the system only provided a prompt without translation. But what's the use of this prompt? He's not blind. Fang Lang threw a blue item to Han Yan. He didn't plan on wearing this kind of low-level equipment himself, but he could use it as a reward to entice players to work for him. The item he threw to Han Yan was a wolf leather armor. This time, Han Yan didn't change clothes in front of Fang Lang. Han Yan had no objections to this distribution, and at this moment, the cave underwent a change. The moon above suddenly emitted a beam of light, shining on the spot where the wolf was originally crouching. and a magic circle appeared in front of the two of them. It seems that this is a teleportation array. Fang Lang recognized the design, so he stepped on it, and Han Yan followed suit. Then they felt the light and shadows in front of them change, and they appeared in another place. Fang Lang took a look and found that it was the ancestral hall in the village. As soon as Han Yan stepped into the ancestral hall, she received a bunch of messages. Han Yan, please help us. Monsters are attacking the village. Fang Lang also heard the cries outside. He walked out of the ancestral hall's gate and saw a large group of players surrounding 7 or 8 NPCs, while their opponents were more than 10 werewolves. What's going on? Fang Lang saw Tang Ninger, who was surrounded by players, and quickly walked over. When Tang Ninger saw Fang Lang, she immediately cried and threw herself into his arms, saying, Xiao Fang, where did you go? I was so worried about you. At this moment, Han Yan walked out of the ancestral hall, standing behind Fang Lang. Tang Ninger seemed to understand something. I hear raindrops falling on the green grass. Tang Ninger suddenly stopped crying, but her eyes looked somewhat strange as she looked at Han Yan and said, Are you two together? Fang Lang suddenly smelled a sour odor and quickly said, You're thinking too much. We just went to do something. Tell us what's going on. Tang Ninger shook her head and said, I don't know why, but not long ago, the other people in the village turned into werewolves. I happened to be looking for the village chief, and thanks to the protection of the chosen ones, we were able to escape here. Hearing this, Fang Lang also had a guess in his mind. It would take time for them to return through the teleportation array. Maybe it was because they killed the confusion, so the werewolves lurking in the village automatically revealed themselves. This saved him the trouble of searching for them one by one. The players and werewolves were now evenly matched in the battle. The players had the advantage in numbers, and the werewolves couldn't break through. However, after Fang Lang joined the battlefield, the situation immediately changed. The beacon fires rise in the desert, illuminating the clouds over Gangquan. The Han Emperor draws his sword and summons General Lyrit. The soldier's aura merges with the heavens, and the sound of drums is heard at the foot of the long mountain. With courage, they march forward, cleansing the demonic atmosphere in one battle. Fang Lang recited a poem, and the players seemed to hear the sound of war drums. An illusion of a general wearing armor appeared, bending his bow and shooting arrows. The arrows flew and hit more than 10 werewolves. When the illusion of the general disappeared, all the werewolves on the field fell to the ground. What the asterisk CK? What the asterisk cake? The exclamations of the players on the field were continuous. Coach, I want to learn how to recite poems. They had been fighting the werewolves for a long time, but this scholar recited a poem and killed them all instantly? Is he really that powerful? At this moment, countless players who had chosen other professions regretted it and wanted to switch to scholar. Only those who had become scholars felt a bit skeptical. Could it be that I'm a fake scholar? Fang Lang's face was solemn at this moment because he didn't receive any system prompts. At this moment, all the werewolves howled at the sky and their wounds quickly disappeared. A layer of gloom instantly enveloped everyone's hearts. Only Fang Lang looked confused. I must be a fake game designer. This script is wrong. Wasn't I supposed to be able to kill them instantly? Chapter 26. Monster Subordinate. What happened next was extremely bloody. Fang Lang's wave of attacks not only failed to kill the werewolves, but instead triggered their ferocity. With claws swinging, the players in front were torn apart, blood flowing. Han Yan quickly pulled the bowstring and shot, but the arrows that could harm a level 30 wolf demon couldn't even penetrate the skin of these werewolves. Fang Lang didn't know where he went wrong. According to the settings, he should be able to kill the wolves with just a little damage. Why were the werewolves so strong now? And before he used the skill, players could also break through the werewolf's defense. So what's going on now? Hint. Consuming 1,000 energy can increase the detection level. Detection is a skill that everyone possesses, but some people have lower detection abilities and can obtain less information. Although Fang Lang wanted to quickly accumulate energy and log off, if he couldn't pass this level, he might not be able to log off at all. 1,000 energy, let's use it. Level up. Detection has been upgraded to rank 5. Huh? Fang Lang found that his detection level didn't match his current level. Each level corresponded to a stage, and his level was much higher. But for now, he needed to deal with the werewolves in front of him. Detection is a passive skill. Using your eyes to see and your ears to listen are both forms of detection. When Fang Lang looked at the werewolves, the system's prompts were different from before. Raging werewolf, a monster. Subordinate enhanced by a mysterious spell, with its strength increased by 3 stages and possessing extremely strong regenerative abilities. Its weakness is a lack of reason, and only by killing all creatures in front of it can its bloodthirsty desire be stopped. Fang Lang was stunned by this introduction. The original werewolf was a level 20 monster, and increasing by 3 stages meant it was level 50. No wonder his detection had to be upgraded to rank 5 to detect it. So the question is, what should he do with more than 10 level 50 monsters appearing in the beginner village? Without hesitation, Fang Lang pulled Tang Ninger, as well as the village chief, elders, and some surviving NPCs. While players were still sacrificing their lives against the werewolves, he summoned the Great Rock Shadow. How could he fight against more than 10 level 50 werewolves? Moreover, the werewolves no longer had the setting of being instantly killed by NPC attacks. As a level 20 scholar, besides running away, what else could he do? Emotionally speaking, he did feel sorry for these players, but players could resurrect, while NPCs couldn't. Fang Lang also had to make some choices. However, as soon as the Great Rock Shadow was summoned, a clear and melodious cry suddenly came from the sky. Fang Lang's Great Rock Shadow immediately dissipated, and all the werewolves, upon hearing the sound, cowered on the ground, afraid to move. Clearly lacking reason, they were now scared like dogs. This significant change was undoubtedly due to this inexplicable cry. No, everyone instinctively looked toward the sky, only to see a colorful bird in the distance getting closer and bigger, gradually appearing above everyone. It was clearly a peacock. And on the back of the peacock sat a woman with heavy makeup. She was dressed in purple gauze, and as the breeze blew, her snow-white jade-like skin seemed to be faintly visible. Looking up, note, the translation provided is a direct translation and may not capture the full meaning or nuances of the original text. Fang Lang seemed to hear the sound of swallowing saliva, not from himself, but from those players. In that instant, a cold light flashed in the eyes of the enchanting woman on the peacock. Without any visible movement, those players who were swallowing saliva exploded into a pool of blood. Fortunately, the scene wasn't particularly bloody because of the presence of the river crab system. The visual effects weren't as terrifying. But where did this boss come from? Who killed so many players in an instant? Player. The gaming experience is very poor. However, Fang Lang knew the background of this boss. This character was one he had put a lot of effort into portraying, one of the main characters in the game. Heavenly Poison Maiden. Yan Ran, a level 92 high-level NPC, was the main combat force of the human race and had a level 89 immortal beast mount, the Peacock King. If it were just based on appearance, Fang Lang definitely wouldn't recognize her. But seeing this giant peacock and her casual killing nature, there was no doubt that she was the Miao Territory Saintess Heavenly Poison Maiden. When Fang Lang saw the giant peacock, he was already on guard. After all, someone so powerful that they could ascend to the heavens must be a big shot with a vacancy. There was only one like that. So even though Yan Ran was dressed so provocatively, Fang Lang didn't dare to look at her more than once. This character setting was also added by Fang Lang. Seeing Yan Ran kill so many people with ease, Fang Lang felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. He didn't know why she had come to this place, but if he had known earlier, he wouldn't have given her such a crazy, seductive character. Wasn't this digging his own grave? I am the Lord of Miao Territory. Tell me, have you seen Yao Guang? The voice was cold and ruthless, without a trace of respect. The players naturally couldn't stand this. Except for those with strange personalities who liked the Queen style, they all glared angrily. The impulsive gamer even shouted, "What the hell are you pretending to be, you sand sculpture woman? If you have the guts, come down." Fang Lang. Brother, I respect you as a man. As soon as these words were spoken, the temperature in the air seemed to drop significantly. Yan Ran didn't speak, but her Peacock King let out a sharp scream. In an instant, a sky full of wind blades swept down. It was truly hair-raising. Fang Lang didn't even have enough time to recite a poem. He quickly used an earth-based spell to create a shield for the people behind him. The shield was instantly broken, but at least it withstood for a moment, weakening most of the wind blade's power. The shattered wind blades blew past Fang Lang, leaving bloody marks on his body. However, compared to the countless players who were instantly killed, Fang Lang's injuries were nothing. The NPCs behind him didn't suffer much damage either, just a few bloody marks on their bodies. Brother Xiao Fang. Tang Ninger also had 2 or 3 wounds on her body, but she didn't pay any attention to them. She hurriedly hugged the blood-soaked Fang Lang, almost crying in fear. But Fang Lang smelled a strong fragrance emanating from her body, a fragrance that came from her wounds, like the scent of herbs. Just by taking a breath, Fang Lang felt that his injuries had improved significantly. This wasn't an illusion. The remaining HP on Fang Lang's status panel instantly recovered from a few dozen points to over 200 points. Yan Ran also smelled this fragrance. She looked down and quickly locked onto Tang Ninger, who was hugging Fang Lang. Even she, who had always had a dignified expression, couldn't help but be moved at this moment. It was such a coincidence to encounter such a woman. If she couldn't find Yao Guang on this trip, capturing this girl wouldn't be a loss. She patted the head of the Peacock King, and the giant peacock, like a deflating balloon, released the air from its body and shrank to the size of a normal peacock, flying onto her shoulder. A pair of alluring jade feet landed in front of Fang Lang, but he didn't dare to look too much. Little girl, I see that you have extraordinary talent. Are you willing to become my disciple? Chapter 27. Showing off love, dying quickly. When Fang Lang heard this question, he immediately had a bad feeling. But before he could speak, he heard Tang Ninger's angry voice saying, "You injured brother Zhao Fang like this and still want me to worship you as my master? Impossible." Fang Lang inwardly lamented, "This is bad, this is bad. I haven't even developed yet, and I'm about to be killed." Yan Ran has an unpredictable temperament. Although she is a high-level combat force on the human side, she has suffered great emotional damage in her early years. So she has become twisted. She is fine with girls, but she never shows mercy to men. Fang Lang's initial thought was that this kind of task could satisfy players' demand for diverse NPC personalities. Moreover, having such a magical NPC would be interesting. Whether the players would suddenly be killed is not a problem. So it is said, there is justice in the world, and the heavens have a good cycle. Look up and see, who has been spared by the heavens? The pit he dug for the players ended up falling on his own head. However, Fang Lang did not wait for the ending of being killed, because at this moment, a wolf howl sounded. Yan Ran appeared. Fang Lang had almost forgotten about those werewolves. The attack from the Peacock King earlier was just a casual strike. If he fought seriously, Fang Lang would have been killed, and those players were already dead. As for the werewolves that have been strengthened now, they only suffered some pain. The werewolves have lost their intelligence. They were initially suppressed by the Peacock King's pressure and couldn't move. Now that the Peacock King has turned into a little peacock without deliberately releasing pressure, they have lost their minds. This howl means an attack. It's just right because Yan Ran is not in a good mood now. With a wave of her hand, those dozen or so werewolves suddenly seemed to be choked and couldn't make a sound. Then one by one, they fell to the ground, convulsing. Soon, they stopped moving. It seems that it's over. Thanks to the werewolves for blocking the way. Have a good journey. May there be no corrupted girls in heaven. After Yan Ran killed that group of werewolves with a wave of her hand, she didn't attack Fang Lang. She just looked at Tang Ninger, who had a nervous expression and was tightly protecting Fang Lang, With an interesting smile, she sneered. Do you value this man a lot? It's none of your business. Tang Ninger was not afraid of this woman who easily kills people. She was only worried that Fang Lang would be harmed. Feeling Tang Ninger's fragile body blocking in front of him, Fang Lang was deeply moved. Oh no, he has become an NPC and seems to have fallen in love with an NPC. So the question is, if they have children in the future, would they be considered little NPCs? At this critical moment of life and death, Fang Lang thought of some distant things. He didn't hide behind Tang Ninger, but took a step forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with her. He had no way to escape from a level 92 boss, but he wouldn't stand behind a woman. Seeing the scene, Yan Ran stirred up some unpleasant memories in her heart. She didn't have a torch in her hand. She just sneered for a while and made a chilling sound. Fang Lang's scalp was numb. Damn it, he forgot that he set this woman to be emotionally hurt, and now he's showing off love in front of her. Doesn't that mean he will die even faster? All right, since it's already doomed, at least dying like this might be a bit more dignified. If you believe in a man like this, love a man like this, then let me show you how ugly men in this world can be. As soon as her words fell, Fang Lang felt like there was something inside his body. Soon the system prompted him. You have been infected with the heart-eating goo by Heavenly Poison Maiden, Yan Ran. Your heart is under attack, continuously losing stamina. You have been infected with the 100 herbs goo by Heavenly Poison Maiden, Yan Ran. You are being treated, continuously recovering stamina. Dealing damage while healing, this person is truly ruthless. Fang Lang covered his chest, feeling waves of intense pain. It felt like there were insects gnawing at him. He gritted his teeth but couldn't help but cry out in pain. This is a pain that cannot be resisted by willpower. I didn't expect her name to be Yan Ran. Such a beautiful name, but she turned out to be so ruthless. What a waste. Many images and random thoughts flashed through Fang Lang's mind at this moment, and this feeling was like seeing a revolving lantern at a critical moment. Brother Xiao Fang. Xiao Fang, Tang Ninger, and the few remaining elderly people in the village exclaimed. They didn't know what kind of torture Fang Lang had suffered, but obviously it was done by the woman in front of them. Da Hong! Tang Ninger's eyes turned red as she called out Da Hong's name. She grabbed her sword and rushed towards Yan Ran, but Da Hong didn't dare to move. It obediently crouched on the ground when it saw the peacock on Yan Ran's shoulder. The transcendent level fighter among roosters could only stay still. The difference between immortals and mortals is so terrifying. Yan Ran didn't need much movement. Just a glance from her eyes made Tang Ninger feel bound by an invisible force, unable to move. Yan Ran coldly said, "What a pair of infatuated lovers. I will fulfill you. If you kill this girl with one sword, I will remove the heart-devouring goo from you and give you a way out. How about it?" She was speaking to Fang Lang, and at the same time the sword in Tang Ninger's hand flew uncontrollably towards Fang Lang. Fang Lang couldn't stand anymore and knelt on the ground, his legs trembling. Looking at the long sword in front of him, Fang Lang made a firm decision. He picked up the sword, but Tang Ninger cried out, "Brother Xiao Fang, don't hesitate, stab me." Yan Ran's face changed when she heard this, and she angrily said, "He wants to kill you, yet you want him to act faster? Don't you hate him? Hey, if my death can exchange for Brother Xiao Fang's survival, then it's worth it. You!" The statement deeply touched Yan Ran's sore spot. In her anger, the weather changed dramatically. Although Yan Ran had not yet reached the level of a saint, she already had the strength of a saint. For a moment, strong winds surged, and the remaining villagers of the Fang family village, as well as the onlookers who had been resurrected to watch the show, were all knocked to the ground and blown away like rolling gourds. Only Fang Lang and Tang Ninger were not affected. Although Yan Ran was very angry, she still wanted to see Fang Lang stab Tang Ninger with a sword. She didn't believe that Tang Ninger truly didn't hate him. It must be an act. In her expectant gaze, Fang Lang raised the sword. He was already on the verge of collapse, but he took difficult steps towards Tang Ninger. There was no anger or resentment on Tang Ninger's face, only deep affection and reluctance. She couldn't bear to part with Fang Lang. They were about to get married. It was such a pity. If they could have consummated their marriage earlier, perhaps it wouldn't be so regretful. Fang Lang's heart was being gnawed at by the heart-devouring goo every second. His face was pale, but he still licked Tang Ninger's injured shoulder and squeezed out a sentence. "Silly girl." Yan Ran watched this scene, wishing that Fang Lang would act faster. Seeing Fang Lang raise the sword, she had a moment of satisfaction in her eyes, but soon her expression turned astonished. Fang Lang's sword had pierced through his own heart. Chapter 28. I don't want you to save me. He didn't stab Tang Ninger, but instead stabbed himself. This scene made Tang Ninger's eyes red with anger, and Yan Ran was also greatly shocked. She didn't even notice that the heart-devouring goo in Fang Lang's body was pierced through by the sword. "Brother Xiao Fang!" Tang Ninger let out a heart-wrenching cry, but she still couldn't move, just staring blankly at the sword tip that pierced through Fang Lang's body. Fang Lang's weak body leaned against her. In an instant, the light in Tang Ninger's eyes had already faded. At this moment, Fang Lang's weak voice sounded in her ear. "Don't cry yet. I'm not dead." Fang Lang had already discovered that Tang Ninger's constitution was very special. Just a slight scent of blood from her could replenish some of his own blood. So when he stabbed his own heart, he licked it first to replenish his blood. It was this stab that saved him from death. And the 100 herbs goo in his body was still continuously healing him. You have consumed an unknown item, greatly increasing your vitality. 100 herbs goo has absorbed some unknown substance and evolving. Fang Lang barely survived, and Tang Ninger cried tears of joy saying, "It's so good that you're okay." This touching scene, however, was very irritating to Yan Ran. What a deeply moving couple. I'm starting to take some interest in you. Little Kai. At Yan Ran's command, the Peacock King descended from her shoulder and quickly grew in size. Yan Ran lightly leaped onto the Peacock King's back, and with a casual move, Tang Ninger was bound by an invisible force and brought to Yanran's side. The peacock spread its wings and flew into the sky, disappearing in an instant, leaving only a lingering sentence. If you dare, come to my Miao territory and take back your loved one. The million warriors of my Miao territory will treat you well. This plot development was beyond Fang Leng's expectations. The wife assigned to him by the village was taken away like this. His good wife, gone just like that? Damn it. What's even more frustrating is that Fang Leng still had a sword in his heart. The 100 herbs goo was upgrading and stopped healing. Fang Leng felt his life gradually slipping away. The players were all confused, looking like they were watching a good show. In other games, this should be an important plot twist, and the next step should be for Fang Leng to receive various tasks. But Scholar Fang had a look of despair on his face. What should he do about giving out quests next? At this moment, the players in Fang Family Village were still thinking about whether Scholar Fang could save the situation. But they all received a system announcement. System announcement. The werewolves have been completely exterminated. Players who participated in the battle can seek out the surviving villagers and learn from their knowledge. They will not refuse your request, but each player only has one chance. So choose carefully. System announcement. The threat of the werewolves has been eliminated, but Fang Family Village has suffered heavy casualties and can no longer guide the players forward. The surviving villagers may leave this place, so players should prepare for migration. The players were dumbfounded by the two announcements. What the hell? Can I encounter urban redevelopment while playing a game? Only Fang Leng, who was stabbed in the heart, fell to the ground, thinking, can't someone lend me a hand? Perhaps Fang Leng's prayer had an effect, as Han Yan walked over and helped him up. Han Yan had witnessed the scene just now. Girls' emotions are always more complex, and Han Yan was no exception, even though she couldn't express it through her expression. She was moved by Fang Leng, this couple, Fang Leng and Fang Tang. She stood up. Now the question is, how can we save Fang Leng? If we don't save him soon, he might be in trouble. Fang Leng actually has healing skills, but the problem is there is a sword in his body. If the sword is pulled out, it will cause a burst of damage. Maybe he will die directly. So Fang Leng has been using small skills to heal himself, but he dare not easily pull out the sword. Perhaps a sword-pulling epic is needed here. Because Fang Leng still needs rescue now, players are not so concerned about the werewolf mission. The rewards can be claimed later. It's more interesting to focus on Fang Leng now. It's better to endure short-term pain than long-term pain. Let me help you pull out. Life and death are predetermined, and wealth and honor are in the hands of fate. Han Yan comforted Fang Leng with these words. Maybe some people really don't know how to comfort others. Fang Leng had just gathered a little courage to do something drastic, but when he heard Han Yan's words, he became panicked. Damn it, life only happens once. If I die, it's over. Come on, don't be afraid. I'm very fast. Han Yan put her hand on the hilt of the sword, and Fang Leng immediately grabbed her hand, looking at Han Yan with a complicated expression. Girl, calm down first, don't be reckless. Han Yan understood his meaning instantly and said, don't worry, after you die, I will fulfill your wish and bring Tang Ninger back from Miao territory. Fang Leng, I'm holding on to you to prevent you from pulling out the sword. How did you misunderstand it? Have you already sentenced me to death? Doctor, I don't think I need your rescue. Just as Han Yan was about to pull out the sword with force, a flash of sword light passed by, and with a clang sound, the sword broke. Han Yan held the hilt and sat on the ground. Ouch, it hurts. She was about to look up to see what happened when she suddenly saw a woman in white appearing in front of Fang Leng. Disciple, your master is here. The person who came was Yao Guang. She grabbed Fang Leng's shoulder and infused him with a spiritual force. The sword in Fang Leng's body was immediately expelled, and the injured area was repaired by the gentle spiritual force. Soon, Fang Leng became a lively NPC again. Having a master is really great. Fang Leng was almost moved to tears. Finally, he didn't have to undergo surgery from a hunter without a medical license. Master, why are you here? Fang Leng called her master smoothly, without any unfamiliarity, despite only meeting for the second time. He should hold on to this powerful thigh. When he needs help dealing with Yan Ran, it would be better to have his master by his side. Seeing his excitement, Yao Guang said, I calculated your fortune and found out that you were in trouble. Luckily, I arrived in time. Yao Guang didn't actually calculate his fortune. She couldn't do fortune-telling. It was just because she and Fang Leng were connected by a red thread that she had a sense and knew that Fang Leng might be in trouble, so she put aside the important matter of searching for the monster-slaying sword and hurried over. Fortunately, she arrived in time. Otherwise, her good disciple would have been lost. Their connection by the red thread didn't mean that if one person died, the other would die too. It was just that if they had murderous intentions towards each other, the red thread would backlash. This was the backlash of fate, and even Yao Guang, as a human saint, couldn't resist it. Yao Guang didn't want to tell Fang Leng about this. She was still looking for a way to break the red thread. What if Fang Leng fell in love with her? Chapter 29. Disciple being beaten, master takes action. Yao Guang didn't talk much about this matter. She smelled a faint monster qi and saw the bodies of those werewolves. Her expression couldn't help but turn serious as she said, Did you get injured because of these monster subordinates? The Heavenly Monster Sect has become more and more brazen. Heavenly Monster Sect? What kind of setting is this? Why don't I know about it? Fang Leng expressed his confusion. I must be a fake planner. What is the Heavenly Monster Sect? He curiously asked. Yao Guang, however, looked towards the crowd of onlookers and shook her head at Fang Leng, saying, Come with me. Yao Guang transformed into a streak of swordlight and quickly disappeared. Fang Leng looked bewildered. Where are you taking me? Can I still fly? Suddenly, he felt a restrictive force, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself back at his own home. The remaining players and NPC villagers were amazed at the sudden disappearance of the two. Coach, I want to learn how to cultivate immortality. Coach, what the hell do you want to learn? I don't know how Yao Guang found her way to my house so accurately, but in any case, the experts in cultivation are all amazing. Level 6 is enough. The Heavenly Monster Sect is a sect of the monster race lurking among the human race. They use human desires to seduce and manipulate the human race, turning them into monster subordinates who serve them. They have deeply infiltrated, and I, as your master, cannot track their whereabouts. Fang Ling. Originally, as the main planner, he thought there shouldn't be anything in the game that he didn't know about. But it turns out that this was not something he had set up. After all, the human race had already suffered a disastrous start, and now there was the Heavenly Monster Sect lurking within, destroying the foundation of the human race. The human race would have no chance to play anymore. So, now that the Heavenly Monster Sect has appeared, is it the system's way of self-repair because Yao Guang survived? Fang Lang carefully considered and felt that this was a possibility, but he couldn't be sure. Since the thousand-faced Fox King was able to infiltrate the heartland of the human race and even obtain the human race's sacred weapon, the monster-slaying sword, it was not impossible for them to secretly create a sect. Speaking of the monster-slaying sword, Fang Lang suddenly remembered that his master was also looking for it. He happened to know where the monster-slaying sword was. Master, the monster-slaying sword you're looking for is in the palace. What did you say? Yao Guang looked confused, but not shocked. It was as if she hadn't heard Fang Lang's words. Fang Lang wanted to say it again, but at that moment, a system prompt sounded. Warning. You cannot convey information to the residents of this world that you should not know, nor can you transmit your true information to players. Fang Lang's scalp instantly went numb. This prompt confirmed another thing. His system had its own intelligence or operating rules that transcended the powers he currently knew. At least, Yao Guang, who was currently the highest combat power he knew, had also been blocked from hearing Fang Lang's words. What's wrong? Seeing Fang Lang's sudden change in expression, Yao Guang also showed concern. Fang Lang snapped back to his senses and shook his head, saying, "It's nothing." Yao Guang knew that there must be some hidden information, but she didn't pursue it. Instead, she said, "Tell me the cause and effect of what happened today. Maybe we can find a clue to the Heavenly Monster Sect." Fang Lang was also happy to change the subject and proceeded to recount how he skinned Su Yu at the foot of the cliff, got lost in the illusion formation, and ended up with Tang Ninger being taken away by Yan Ran. Yao Guang's mood became slightly complicated when she heard the conversation between Fang Lang and Tang Ninger. She didn't know why, but she quickly suppressed this emotion and said, "It seems that those werewolves have been blessed by the monsters of the Heavenly Monster Sect. The stone wolf you mentioned is just a medium, and there must be someone else who set up the teleportation array. However, the most urgent matter is Tang Ninger's situation." Yao Guang took out her sword and said to Fang Lang, "I have burdened you with this matter. Yan Ran is chasing after me because I became the fifth saint of the human race, while she did not. I have been considerate of her ruling over a region and have avoided conflict with her every time. But I never expected her to become even more relentless. Don't worry, my disciple. I will go and rescue Tang Ninger for you." Fang Lang quickly stopped her and said, "Master, I appreciate your kindness, but Yan Ran is riding an immortal beast, and she may have already arrived in Miao territory. The enemy is numerous and powerful. If you are in danger, I won't be able to rest assured." Yao Guang felt a warmth in her heart upon hearing this. It had been a long time since anyone had cared about her. Since her master's death, she had been practicing alone, tirelessly working towards her master's last wish. People either feared her cultivation or admired her character, but no one cared about her. Yao Guang smiled and said, "If you believe in your master, then tomorrow morning, I will make sure you see your fiancé." With that, a flash of sword light, and Yao Guang disappeared from Fang Lang's sight. Fang Lang sighed deeply. He realized that he had been quite arrogant, but he never expected that he owed his life to Tang Ninger. Now his master was standing up for him and putting herself in danger, while he could do nothing. He needed time. Looking at his energy, 8,898, 9,898, it seemed that consuming 1,000 energy did not affect his progress offline. It was only today that he learned that this energy point could also strengthen his skills. Without actively exploring, the system wouldn't prompt him, so he had no idea. Energy point can be used to enhance equipment, skills, or increase skill levels. That night, Fang Lang sat in his broken-roofed house, tightly clenching his fists. He vowed to remember this grudge against Yan Ran. It wouldn't take 30 years for him to settle this score. Meanwhile, Yan Ran lazily leaned back in her tiger-skin chair in her palace. Today, she received a disciple with apex-level talent, but her mood was still bad. True love in the mortal world? She didn't believe it. She already had a plan in mind. She would teach Tang Ninger well and make her a woman who could dominate the world. Then she would show Tang Ninger that men in this world were foolish creatures not worth loving. Only the immortal Tao was truly eternal. Otherwise, it would be a waste of Tang Ninger's talent. But at that moment, a maid rushed into the hall in a panic and said, "Saintess, someone has intruded." Yan Ran was surprised. Who had the audacity to cause trouble in Miao territory? And the fact that the maid rushed in to report meant that the intruder was definitely not weak. She was about to leave the hall to confront the enemy when a sword light arrived. Yan Ran waved her hand to block it, but her hand was cut by the sharp sword energy. "Such sharp sword, chi." At that moment, a cold female voice reached her ears. "Yan Ran, hand over Tang Ninger now, or don't blame me for getting serious." Yao Guang had arrived. Chapter 30. Dealing with small monsters. Only requires one move. Across mountains and rivers, Yao Guang soared through the wind on her sword, traveling thousands of miles to reach Miao territory. She did not conceal her arrival, with her sword shining brightly along the way. Although she did not harm anyone, it caused panic among the people of Miao territory. Upon reaching the heartland of Miao territory, Yao Guang directly attacked the Saintess Hall. Even so, she did not harm anyone. She knew who was responsible for her grievances and debts, and it had nothing to do with innocent bystanders. When Yanran came out, Yaoguang was already surrounded. In front of the Saintess Hall's sacrificial ground, some held large snakes while others rode fierce tigers. Each emitted a ferocious aura. However, with Yaoguang's immortal sword planted in the ground, no one dared to take a step forward. They could faintly sense the sharpness of the sword, so they naturally did not dare to act recklessly until Yanran appeared. Who do we have here? It turns out to be the little mouse, Fairy Yaoguang. Why aren't you running away this time? Instead, you have the audacity to come knocking on our door? Yanran said disdainfully. She stood barefoot on the stone slab, causing the men in the tribe to lower their heads and not dare to look directly at her. Yaoguang's immortal sword was still planted in the ground, and she did not pay attention to Yanran's mockery. She simply said, "Hand over Tang Ninger. Otherwise, I will not hesitate to disregard the kinship between us today. Ha ha ha, if you are willing to bow down and become a subject of Miao territory, then I am willing to grant you kinship. Moreover, Tang Ninger is already my disciple. Now, she belongs to me. Why should I hand her over to you?" Yanran spoke without any courtesy, and Yaoguang no longer wasted words. If they wouldn't hand over the person, then they would fight. Yaoguang's immortal sword emitted a clear resonance. As a divine sword with a spirit, it had long wanted to chop her into pieces. However, its master had concerns and worries about the world, so it refrained from acting recklessly. When the sword was in her hands, Yaoguang's entire demeanor changed. She was no longer the gentle and serene appearance she had before. At this moment, Yaoguang was the sword, and the sword was Yaoguang. This sword was also named Yaoguang. "I have underestimated you. It turns out you have some skills." Yanran's expression also became serious. She had thought of Yaoguang as a coward, but she didn't expect her to possess such a powerful aura. Attack! Yanran did not adhere to the gentlemanly conduct of not outnumbering the opponent. Since Yaoguang dared to come to the heartland of Miao territory, she needed to know how formidable they were. However, those snakes were still spitting venom, and the tigers were still roaring. But they were completely frozen in that instant. 1,000 miles frozen! Yaoguang lightly shouted, and the hundreds of Miao territory warriors surrounding the Saintess Hall instantly turned into ice sculptures. The exterior of the Saintess Hall was also covered in a thick layer of ice. The world only knew Yaoguang for her swordsmanship, but did not know that her Taoist techniques were not weaker than her swordsmanship. Yanran was planning for a group battle, but this group of people was directly controlled and killed by Yaoguang. Yanran was immediately dumbfounded. What kind of trick was this? My subordinates were defeated in one move? Let's settle this once and for all in this battle. Yaoguang held her sword and charged towards Yanran. With a flash of the sword, Yanran couldn't even see Yaoguang's figure clearly, and a strand of her hair fell. "Hand over Tang Ninger. Otherwise, the next thing to fall will be your head." Yaoguang stood with her hands behind her back, and Yanran immediately broke out in a cold sweat. She had never seen such swordsmanship before. It was too terrifying, and she couldn't react in time. But people from the Central Plains always like to talk about righteousness. Yanran sneered, waved her hand, and a spell shot towards Yaoguang. It was her goo worm. Yaoguang, seeing the situation, coldly glared and swung the Yaoguang sword to kill the goo worms one by one, while Yanran's poisonous goo worms continued to emerge. Yaoguang grew impatient and once again used her body technique, swiping her sword across Yanran, but it didn't cause any harm. "Foolish, I have the golden silkworm goo protecting me. How can a mere immortal sword harm me? I advise you to surrender." Yanran had already used the golden silkworm goo, greatly increasing her defense, and she mocked Yaoguang. "Is that so?" Being mocked like this, Yaoguang, as a saint, was also getting angry. She sneered, formed a sword seal with her hand, raised the Yaoguang sword towards the sky, and sword energy soared into the sky, transforming into a huge illusion of an immortal sword, crashing towards Yanran. The clearing clouds soared. Yanran easily blocked the first strike, just about to mock that the broken sword was nothing special. But who would have thought that after one strike, another one came with even greater force and speed? Yanran could only assume a defensive posture, but as 9 sword lights descended, Yanran finally couldn't hold on anymore, and even the Saintess Hall behind her was destroyed by this strike. After the dust settled, Yanran's disheveled figure finally appeared. She sat on the ground, blood overflowing from the corners of her mouth, clearly injured. Her clothes were also tattered, exposing some enticing parts. This scene was so alluring, but at this moment, no man was lucky enough to see it. Yanran's appearance was not inferior to Yaoguang, but Yaoguang had a sacred aura, while the heavenly poison woman had a sinister allure that made people dare not approach. The always high and mighty Saintess, the leader of the Miao territory clan, was actually in such a sorry state. "Hand over Tang Ninger." Yaoguang placed the immortal sword at Yanran's neck, and Yanran immediately felt the danger. Yaoguang's killing intent was restrained, but this sword was not. It was eager to try, filled with killing intent. Yanran knew that if she continued to be stubborn, this sword would truly show no mercy. "By the way, if you're so powerful, why did you run away every time you saw me before?" "Tang Ninger has already taken the goo attracting pill and been sent into the sacred goo cave. If you go to rescue her now, it will be her life you're after." "You!" Yaoguang was furious. The immortal sword cut across Yanran's neck, and blood gushed out. However, it was only a superficial wound, and soon Yanran's neck healed on its own. At this time, the human race was in a difficult situation both internally and externally, with the monster race watching closely. Yaoguang couldn't kill this important combat power of the human race due to personal emotions. Moreover, if the Saintess died, the Miao territory and the great Xia dynasty would inevitably go to war. It was not wise for the human race to have internal conflicts while the monster race was lurking. Besides, killing Yanran now would be of no benefit. Yaoguang knew the customs of the Miao territory. The Miao territory people were famous for their goo techniques. When they reached the age to cultivate goo, they would take the goo attracting pill and be sent into the sacred goo cave to attract goo. The goo attracting pill was highly poisonous, but emitted a scent that attracted goo worms. As long as they chose their own goo within 2 days and the goo worms entered their bodies, it would neutralize the poison of the goo-attracting pill. Otherwise, even the saintess would have no antidote for the goo-attracting pill. So Yao Guang was annoyed but had no way to deal with it. Moreover, even if she attracted her own goo, she still needed to learn how to control it. Otherwise, she would suffer backlash. In this way, Tang Ninger had to stay in Miao territory to learn. You better treat Tang Ninger well. Otherwise, the million warriors of the Miao territory won't be able to withstand my sword, Yao Guang said, swinging her sword fiercely. A sword light shot into the sky, and the nearby Miao villages were all reduced to ruins. But Yao Guang didn't harm anyone, and after she left, the ice on the elders and warriors slowly melted. Yao Guang didn't kill anyone on this trip, but it made Yan Ran feel a chill in her heart. This person was truly much stronger than imagined. It seemed that talents were truly abundant in the Central Plains. Chapter 31, Unreachable. Yao Guang put away her sword, preparing to leave on her flying sword. However, Yan Ran suddenly asked, "Why are you so insistent on Tang Ninger? He is the fiancé of my disciple." Yao Guang left these words behind as she departed. At this moment, she also felt uneasy. She had promised to bring Tang Ninger back, but she couldn't fulfill that promise. How could she face Fang Leng with such a situation? However, she was not one to evade responsibility. It was just that her flying speed was unconsciously slower. While she hurried on her way, Fang Leng was not idle either. He taught the players many skills, some were support skills, and some were offensive skills, but he could only teach them to scholars. Soon he gathered 10,000 points of energy. After gathering enough energy, there were still over 100 points left, finally sending away those players. Fang Leng had been impatient for a long time, but he couldn't log out when there were others around. When there were others present, his log out prompt would be grayed out. The moment he returned home, Fang Leng excitedly chose to log out. System prompt, logging out soon, countdown 3, 2, 1. Fang Leng was momentarily blinded by a burst of bright light. When he opened his eyes, he saw the familiar ceiling. He had returned home, back to his own room. After observing the room, he suddenly realized that his arm seemed to be pressed by something. He casually pulled his hand away, as he had already gotten used to Fang Nan sleeping with her arms around his. But when he pulled his hand away this time, he accidentally touched Fang Nan's chest. This action also woke up Fang Nan. She opened her eyes and saw her brother, who was already sitting up. She immediately threw herself at him and cried out loudly, "Brother, you finally came to see me." But suddenly Fang Nan muttered to herself, "Is it my brother's 7th-day dream visit? Brother, wait for me. I'll come find you right away." As she spoke, she picked up the fruit knife by the bedside. Fang Leng was suddenly startled. When Fang Nan started wielding the knife, he reached out and grabbed it, nervously saying, "Nan Nan, don't do anything foolish. I'm still alive and I will accompany you well. I won't leave you again." As Fang Leng spoke, he lovingly touched Fang Nan's hair. Just then, the system prompt sounded. Return countdown, 10, 9, 8. The slap in the face came too quickly. Fang Leng was so angry that he almost spat out blood. 2 hours of charging for only 5 minutes of conversation? He didn't have enough time to explain in just a few seconds. Nan Nan, immortal seeking dream, Shu State City, go find a scholar named Fang Leng. As soon as Fang Leng finished speaking, he returned to his own room. The hole in the ceiling was still there, and he was still in the same position, but the energy requirement had changed. Next time you log out, you need 100,000 points of energy. For every 1,000 points of energy, you can log out for 3 seconds. Fang Leng, only 3 seconds for 1,000 points of energy. This is ridiculous. Thinking of the fleeting glimpse he had caught of Fang Nan's haggard appearance and her behavior of wielding a knife at the slightest provocation, Fang Leng felt a sharp pain in his heart. His younger sister, whom he had relied on since childhood, was now enduring so much torment. He wanted to log out immediately and hold Fang Nan, telling her that he was still here, always here. But he couldn't do it. Fang Leng paced anxiously in his room, feeling frustrated. Suddenly, he punched the wall with all his might, creating a hole in it, but his hand also started bleeding. Fang Leng hated it. He knew that there were hands behind all of this that he didn't know about. He was just a pawn now. He didn't mind being someone's pawn, but to cause him such misery, to make his sister worry so much, his anger had nowhere to vent. "Wait and see. One day I will definitely kill you," Fang Leng roared in his heart, but did not say it out loud. This night, Fang Leng once again couldn't sleep. Unlike the last time when he excitedly leveled up his skills to the apex level, this time Fang Leng was contemplating what he should do next. Collect energy according to the route given by others? This is something he must do, even though he is being manipulated. If he wants to log out, he can only do it this way. Fang Leng is pondering the purpose behind the presence that lurks behind. He cannot speculate on what caused all of this. In any case, whoever can accomplish this is not an ordinary person. He can only follow the other party's ideas and slowly speculate on their intentions. At this moment, in Fang Leng's home, Fang Leng's body once again lost consciousness and fell into the bed. Fang Nan stared at him blankly, only to suddenly wake up, realizing that she wasn't dreaming. In her mind, Fang Leng's voice was still echoing. "Nan Nan, immortal seeking dream, Shu State City, go find someone named X. Go find who?" Fang Nan knew that Fang Leng must have said something, but for some reason, she couldn't hear it clearly and couldn't remember. Looking at Fang Leng's bleeding right hand, Fang Nan's gaze gradually became determined. She bandaged Fang Leng's right hand and took out a terminal device which Fang Leng had given her. Because she liked playing games, Fang Leng learned to make games. This was their childhood promise. In fact, Fang Leng was even better at playing games. Fang Nan still remembered what he said back then, that he wanted to create a game that she would like. At that time, Fang Nan just smiled and said, "If it's not fun, I won't play it." Actually, as long as it was a game he made, no matter what it looked like, she would play it. But she never expected that Immortal Seeking Dream would be released, and he would be gone forever. Fang Nan recalled these things, and unconsciously tears streamed down her face. However, looking at Fang Lang's injured right hand and the hastily left words, Fang Nan knew that everything was not simple. During these days, Fang Lang hadn't eaten anything or drunk water. His body's functions had entered a state of dormancy, but he could suddenly wake up and convey such a message. The things behind this were already difficult for Fang Nan to understand. But no matter what, she needed to listen to Fang Lang's words, enter the game, and go to Shu State. Before connecting to the terminal, Fang Nan sent a message to Zhao Hunyuan. I'm back. In the southern region of Southern River Misty Rain, reconnection. Fang Lang stayed up all night until dawn, and his heart gradually calmed down. The road is under his feet. Take it slowly. And at dawn, the disheveled Yao Guang finally returned on her flying sword. Landing in front of Fang Lang, she saw that Fang Lang was still wearing the clothes from last night, with traces of blood on his hands, from hitting the wall, not from a knife, and his face looked a bit haggard. It was obvious that he hadn't slept all night, and it must have been a torment for him. Yao Guang felt guilty in her heart and approached him, saying, I'm sorry, I couldn't bring Tang Ninger back. She has already become a disciple of the Miao Territory Saintess. Fang Lang nodded, indicating that he knew, and said, Master, there's nothing for you to apologize for. As long as you're okay, that's all that matters. As Yao Guang listened to Fang Lang's words, a corner of her heart suddenly stirred. Chapter 32. The Impersonator. Fang Lang's words were not an attempt to please Yao Guang, but rather a genuine expression of concern from his heart. Moreover, he felt that Yao Guang had already been good enough to him. Shu State City was thousands of miles away from Miao territory, and Yao Guang had returned overnight, not knowing how many dangerous battles she had experienced. It was enough that she had returned safely. But Yao Guang didn't mention her hardships upon returning. Instead, she apologized to him first, making Fang Lang unable to feel at ease. It was precisely because his words came from the bottom of his heart that they touched Yao Guang. Yao Guang could judge whether someone's words were sincere or insincere, and she could tell with just one listen. Seeing him looking so haggard, Yao Guang couldn't help but comfort him, saying, You don't need to worry too much. Tang Ninger won't be in danger. Yao Guang didn't say it, but if Tang Ninger had really suffered any grievances, she would definitely not show mercy to Miao territory for the sake of the human race. This time, she let the people of Miao territory see the frozen land from 1,000 miles away. Next time, it would be a snowstorm from 10,000 miles away. Fang Lang also smiled and said, I feel relieved hearing Master say that. In the future, I will go to Miao territory myself and make the heavenly poison maiden regret her actions yesterday. It's good that you have this determination. I'm just afraid that you will collapse after a setback, Yao Guang said. Suddenly, she thought of something and waved her hand, taking out a white robe and handing it to Fang Lang. This is the uniform of our sect. She also took out a spiritual sword, saying that it was the standard sword of the sect. Fang Lang couldn't bear to expose her. There was no one left in Jade Flower Palace except for him, and now there were only 2 people. Where did the standard configuration come from? However, there was only one palace master left, and whatever the palace master said would be the truth. But when he held those things in his hands, the system prompt exposed the true nature of these items. Unnamed spiritual sword, epic level immortal weapon, spiritual force damage plus 10%, physical damage plus 20%, armor penetration plus 50%. Note, a spiritual sword refined by Yao Guang using precious materials. After being named, it can be endowed with spirituality. Unnamed robe, epic level immortal weapon, spiritual force defense plus 10%, physical defense plus 10%, dim, passive, blessing of thick earth and gentle water. A solidified defensive formation that forms a shield and heals oneself when subjected to a certain degree of damage. Passive. Deadly sword forms an indestructible sword chi barrier and launches a sword chi attack when subjected to a deadly attack. Note, a robe refined by Yao Guang using precious materials, with her sword chi hidden within the formation. Thank you, Master. Fang Lang looked at these 2 pieces of equipment and felt deeply moved. If there was any benefit to becoming an NPC, it was that in real life, few people cared about him, but in the game, he could feel it. Yao Guang shook her head and said, Since you want to enter the world, you need some self-defense items. Take out the fox's fur, and I will refine it for you. It was clear that Yao Guang was about to leave, but Fang Lang didn't try to stop her. He took out Su Yu's fur from his traveler's luggage, which was equivalent to the inventory in other games. Fang Lang took out the fur he had peeled off that day, but Yao Guang didn't take it in her hands. Instead, she let it hover in the air and summoned a flame to burn it. In no time, the huge fox fur was reduced to a thin piece about 6 inches long and wide, as thin as a cicada's wing. Concentration purified it, that's right. But what about the fur? There was enough fur to make a fox fur coat, right? Rounding it off, he lost 100 million. Yao Guang threw the fur to Fang Lang and said, This is suitable for you to travel the world. However, I have one thing to say in advance. I don't care how you act, but if you violate morality, don't blame me for not showing mercy as your master. With a single sentence, the person had already left the room. Fang Lang took a look at the fox fur and immediately felt delighted. Fox fur mask, epic grade demonic artifact, 1,000 faces, active skill, can transform into any appearance, disguises cannot be seen through without reaching the godly realm. Note, a mask made from Monster King's fur by Yao Guang. This is genuine fur. This thing is just right for Fang Lang. Whenever he needs to change his appearance, he can just put on the fur, it's perfect. Although it can still be seen through by others, reaching the godly realm is equivalent to being above level 50. Before reaching this stage, no one can see through it. It's amazing. However, Fang Lang discovered that it seems like it can be strengthened. Do you want to consume 2,000 energy to strengthen the epic-grade demonic artifact fox fur mask? Fang Lang chose yes to see the effect. Soon the mask in his hand changed its appearance. Impersonator enhanced version of epic-grade item, 1,000 faces active, can change appearance at will, Cannot be seen through by anyone. Xi, thousand illusions. Active, can disguise the aura of any stage below the godly realm, confusing others' detection. Impersonation active, can impersonate any identity or profession. This enhancement is really worth it. But can it disguise as a player? While Fang Lang was putting on the mask, this thought suddenly occurred to him, and a prompt appeared before his eyes. Please enter your name. Cannot be changed after confirmation. Really? After thinking for a while, Fang Lang entered 2 characters. Wu Gui. Identity confirmed. When disguised as a player, the name cannot be changed. Fang Lang was shocked. It can actually disguise as a player? But even if it succeeds, what's the point of pretending to be a player? He is still exploring these things. With the mask on, Fang Lang walked out of the door and coincidentally met the village chief of Fang Family Village. Fang Lang was about to call out to him when he heard the village chief say, "Young traveler, why haven't you left the village? Today we are going to move away from this place." Only then did Fang Lang realize that there were no other players in the village. Overnight, such a big change happened. The village also became dilapidated. Familiar people were taken away, and Fang Family Village is where Fang Lang's story began. It is important to him, but in the end, it's all in the past, including the people in front of him. He politely bid farewell to the old village chief and said, "I'm also leaving soon." The old village chief didn't say much more. He walked into Fang Lang's room, found that Fang Lang was not there, and finally sighed, saying, "This child." As a player, Fang Lang wandered around the village. The remaining people all treated him as a player, a chosen one. Fang Lang changed his appearance casually, looking ordinary without his previous handsomeness, and the villagers couldn't recognize him. After the village chief left, Fang Lang returned to his own home, packed up some things for himself and Tang Ninger using the traveler's luggage, and left this place, heading towards Shu State City. There, it is the first stop for beginners to leave the beginner village, and also the place with the most opportunities. If Fang Lang wants to become stronger, he can only go there first. It was at this moment that in a beginner village, a female player named Fang Nan was skillfully killing wild boars. The onlookers were all shocked. Why are you so skilled? Chapter 33. Bootleg version of a Chinese ghost story. The Southern River Misty Rain Guild has recently gone online, which is considered big news in the gaming community. The Southern River Misty Rain Guild is a unique guild that only recruits female players. There have been similar guilds in the past, but they were not as prominent. However, Southern River Misty Rain has managed to climb to the 3rd rank and occasionally even compete for a 2nd place. It is impressive for a group of female players to achieve such a level of success, and the most impressive are the 4 guild leaders. In the past, online games did not reveal the faces of players, but it was rumored that all 4 leaders of the guild were beautiful women. At that time, many people criticized the lack of evidence, but the hot-tempered guild leader, Bing Yu, directly posted her photo on the forum, attracting a bunch of admirers. As a result, Bing Yu became known as the #1 beauty in the gaming community. Although the other 3 leaders did not reveal their photos, the rumors that all guild leaders were beautiful women were believed. After all, beautiful women tend to be friends with other beautiful women. It's a law of nature. However, it was not their looks that propelled the Southern River Misty Rain Guild to 3rd place, but rather their skills in PvP, completing dungeons, and strategizing. After all, most gamers are male, and if they were just eye candy, it wouldn't matter how good-looking they were, they would still be criticized if they played poorly. The strongest PvP player in the Southern River Misty Rain Guild is Nanfeng, who was ranked last. However, Nanfeng has come online at a later time and is already 1 step behind. The high-level players have already reached level 10 and moved to the city to develop their characters. Those who are not at their required level are still hanging around in the village. Han Yan was one of the first to enter Shu State City. Although she didn't kill any monsters, she followed Fang Lang around and her level skyrocketed. After the werewolf event ended, every player who participated in the battle gained a large amount of experience, and Han Yan directly leveled up to level 10. After logging out, she logged back in and arrived at Shu State City. Those who hadn't reached level 10 were randomly assigned to other newbie villages. This event was being discussed on the forum. Novice Village 01 was gone, and it was quite an experience. A newbie village could be wiped out. This game is really interesting. But Han Yan didn't actually want to come to Shu State City. She received a message from Fang Nan last night and was hoping that if Fang Nan came online, they could be in the same village. Although she believed that Fang Nan could quickly level up without her help, it would still be nice to spend more time together. But now she could only resentfully make her way to Shu State City. Fang Lang was also heading towards Shu State City. At this time, Fang Lang was still using his original identity. He was dressed in a scholar's robe and carried a book box, giving off a feeling of an ancient scholar seeking knowledge. At this moment, the background music should play. The road of life is long, dreams are like a long road, wind and frost on the road, wind and frost blowing in the face. Actually, there was nothing in the book box, but Fang Lang felt that going out like this would give him the feeling of a scholar. In the end, the villagers didn't wait for him. They probably knew that he had made up his mind to leave and left first. Fang Lang then set foot on the road to Shu State City. However, there was a problem. Players going to the city had a shortcut. Teleportation portals were not easily opened, but according to the game's settings, players would have access to a carriage that shuttled between the city and the village after leaving the village. The horses in the immortal cultivation world were not ordinary horses. They could travel 1,000 miles in a day. However, since Fang Family Village had been abandoned, there would be no carriage coming. When Fang Lang reached the village entrance, he suddenly felt a bit melancholic. Why did he set it up like this in the first place? Wouldn't it be better to have a teleportation portal that could be easily opened? Now he had trapped himself again. Fang Family Village was thousands of miles away from Shu State City. How long would it take to walk there on foot? However, Fang Lang had gotten used to the fact that his own settings would always trap him. He had learned to keep a stable mindset and not panic. He would just start walking. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard a crowing sound. Fang Lang turned around and was surprised to see a rooster running towards him. It was none other than Da Hong. The chickens from Tang Ninger's house had already been taken away by other villagers, but Da Hong did not leave with them. When Fang Lang was about to leave, it followed him. I can't tell, but you're quite smart. Upon hearing Fang Lang's praise, Da Hong also called out and ran ahead, then turned back to urge him to walk faster. Fang Lang chuckled and walked briskly. On the earthly road, a happy young lad, the road is rugged, rugged without sunlight. Fang Lang hummed the song, feeling relatively cheerful. No matter how difficult the journey was, as long as he maintained a stable mindset, he would be fine. However, his mindset finally collapsed when it became evening. After walking for a whole day, despite using buffs to lighten his load and increase his speed, Fang Lang was exhausted like a dog. What was even more frustrating was that he hadn't come across a single village along the way. Otherwise, he could have waited for a possible carriage in the village. Is Fang family village really this remote? Just as Fang Lang had this question, he suddenly remembered that he had set it up this way. In an unknown and remote village, there was a group of werewolves. All right, it's his own fault. No one else to blame. The immediate priority was to find a place to rest. Just as this thought crossed his mind, two lights suddenly appeared ahead. There's actually a house? Following the guidance of the lights, Fang Lang and Da Hong walked toward that direction. But as they got closer, the lights went out, leaving behind a dilapidated building. Fang Lang conjured a fireball in his hand as a makeshift light. He saw three characters carved on the huge stone arch. Ruolan Temple. Fang Lang. A makeshift Ruolan Temple? Sorry for the disturbance. Goodbye. It's really a case of ask and you shall receive. I just finished singing a Chinese ghost story. And now this? What I saw from afar should be ghost lights, right? In this world of cultivation, there must be ghosts. Although Fang Lang had skills to deal with them, seeing such a strongly eerie building appear here, surrounded by tall and sinister trees, Fang Lang immediately made up his mind. Can't afford to provoke, better run away. Don't think that just because you changed your appearance, I won't recognize you. Fang Lang called Da Hong and ran without looking back. Even if he had to stay in the wilderness or not sleep for a night, he would never enter Ruolan Temple. Inside Ruolan Temple, a few raggedly dressed young ladies were secretly observing Fang Lang. When they saw such a handsome young scholar approaching, they were all somewhat smitten. But as they watched Fang Lang read the temple's name and leave without looking back, they were left bewildered. What's going on? Little brother, don't leave. Come on, let's have some fun. After all, we have plenty of time. Fang Lang felt a chill down his neck. As expected, this place was not suitable for staying long. Chapter 34. You're quite clever. Zhao-chan, are we using the wrong approach to attract customers? No one has come in recently. Yeah, everyone is starving. Asterisk whimper asterisk. Inside the temple, a group of girls surrounded the woman sitting in front of the main hall, whining and pouting. Zhao-chan also felt a headache coming on. A voice in her mind told her that this was the right way to attract people. So why wasn't this person playing by the rules? Maybe she should go after him and ask, "Stop whining, everyone. Wait for me to come back." As soon as she finished speaking, the woman disappeared. Fang Lang, who was running away for his life, heard a faint female voice say, "Sir, please wait." Fang Lang's hair stood on end. "Oh my God, it's a ghost!" Fang Lang quickly grabbed the red rooster, which was said to ward off evil spirits. He didn't dare to leave his back exposed to a ghost. But thinking about the supernatural novels he had read, they all said that if you heard someone calling you and turned around, the yang fire on your shoulder would be extinguished. So, Fang Lang performed a perfect 180-degree midair spin. That should do it. Xiao-chan watched Fang Lang's actions, looking confused. She scratched her head. Is there something wrong with this person's brain? When Fang Lang saw Xiao-chan, information about her appeared before his eyes. Xiao-chan, level 50, legendary level boss. Skills, unknown. Description, the owner of Ruolan Temple, a 1,000-year-old female ghost. Looking at the level 50 boss in front of him, Fang Lang felt that the moonlight tonight was truly chilling. "Miss, what can I do for you?" Fang Lang wasn't particularly panicked. After all, he had the protective treasure Yao Guang had given him. Even if he couldn't win, it didn't necessarily mean he would be in danger. However, talking to a female ghost still felt strange. Although this female ghost was quite attractive, Fang Lang definitely didn't have any thoughts about, The young lady sees that the gentleman is in a hurry. Why not rest in my humble abode and continue your journey tomorrow morning? Fang Lang quickly shook his head to refuse. No, I appreciate your kindness, but I have urgent matters to attend to. I can't afford to delay even for a moment. How could he go to her place? If he went, he might end up being eaten, with not even a bone left. Who knows how many female ghosts were waiting for him? Do you know that I'm a ghost? Fang Lang was still thinking about whether he could fool Xiao-chan, but she straightforwardly said it. Fang Lang's scalp instantly went numb. How am I supposed to respond to that? Should I transform now, from a beauty into a terrifying evil ghost? Why did you figure it out? Didn't we disguise ourselves well? Xiao-chan scratched her chin and muttered to herself, looking somewhat silly. Fang Lang couldn't help but laugh. Anyone with a normal IQ wouldn't enter Ruolan Temple. What are you laughing at? Xiao-chan tilted her head and asked. This tilted head pose is kind of cute, and it made Fang Lang's guard against her slightly decrease. He had seen this ghost before, and after exchanging a few words, it didn't seem so terrifying anymore. Fang Lang shook his head and said, It's nothing, just thought of something funny. Oh, I see that the young master is dressed unusually, so I assume you are a knowledgeable person. You saw through our illusion with just one glance earlier. Xiao-chan wants to ask how the young master saw through it, so that we can correct this mistake in the future. If the young master is willing to tell, Xiao-chan will be very grateful. Please rest assured, although I am a ghost, I never harm anyone, Fang Lang. You really are a curious old female ghost. Actually, just based on Xiao-chan's name, Fang Lang somewhat believed her words. The problem was that Fang Lang didn't remember setting a boss named Xiao-chan. She was probably not that important, but Fang Lang suddenly had a whimsical thought, What if I tell her? Would it affect the original plot of the game world and thus affect the design of the behind-the-scenes existence? With this thought in mind, Fang Lang cleared his throat and said, the buildings created in the illusion are quite realistic, but a temple suddenly appearing in the wilderness is too abrupt and too eerie, making people scared. If it were a small village with lights on, people's guard would be lowered. And the name Ruolan Temple is not good. I suggest changing it. I see. The young master is truly talented. Xiaoqian always keeps her word. Is there anything the young master needs help with? No, it's fine. Let's part ways here. I still have a long way to go. Fang Lang refused Xiaoqian's gratitude and indicated that he was leaving. Although he encountered a ghost tonight, at least he didn't have any conflicts with this 1,000-year-old female ghost. As for any repayment, he didn't expect it. Xiaoqian, however, said seriously, since the young master is on the road, why not tell Xiaoqian where you are heading? Xiaoqian can help. Oh, I'm going to Shu State City. Fang Lang was somewhat skeptical. How could a ghost like you help? Xiaoqian was also a bit embarrassed and said, I can't touch Shu State City with my power, but I can send the young master near Shu State City, saving you from the trouble of traveling. Huh, there's such a function. Fang Lang suddenly felt a force binding him, and he didn't resist for the time being because this force didn't seem malicious. Xiaoqian has used ghost descent on you, and you have arrived in a human village. After Xiaoqian sent Fang Lang away, she also felt a bit tired, but she quickly became happy. She felt like someone who had obtained the secret to starting a business and was now full of passion. Xiaoqian returned to Ruolan Temple, and soon after, she told her sisters what she had learned. Not long after, the place where Ruolan Temple was located became a small village, and Xiaoqian personally created an inn. Ruolan Temple is not a good name. Let's call it Red Dust Inn. Xiaoqian pinched her chin and thought its name was pretty good. If Fang Lang knew, he would probably be speechless. In the main storyline, he said, because the humans couldn't defeat the monster race, they needed to win over the ghost race, as humans and ghosts were of the same origin, and the chapter name of the main storyline was Red Dust Inn. After a dizzying moment, Fang Lang opened his eyes again and found himself in a village, still holding Da Hong in his arms. Although it was nighttime, this village was much livelier than Fang Family Village. Because Immortal Seeking Dream was becoming more and more popular, more and more people were entering the game, and the newbie village was crowded day and night. Fang Lang's sudden appearance didn't attract anyone's attention. That's the magical thing about ghost descent. It's similar to teleportation spells, but teleportation spells would draw attention, while ghost descent wouldn't. Only when one reaches a certain level of perception can they detect it. He didn't know where he was, but as long as he was in a gathering place for humans, he could take a carriage to the city tomorrow. First, find a place to rest. Fang Lang held Da Hong and prepared to find a place to stay when he suddenly saw a familiar figure passing by. She was wearing a scholar's robe and seemed to be in a hurry. Fang Lang couldn't help but exclaim, Nan Nan. Chapter 35. Why is it always you? It's Fang Nan. Unexpectedly, he ran into Fang Nan here. The reason Fang Lang was in such a hurry to go to Shu State City was because he had told Fang Nan to go there. If Fang Nan arrived in Shu State City but couldn't find him, it would be very awkward. However, Fang Lang's call went unnoticed, as if no one else had heard it. Warning, please do not transmit information that should not be transmitted. This was the second warning Fang Lang received. It finally dawned on him that his words must have been blocked, so no one nearby noticed anything amiss. Seeing Fang Nan about to walk away, Fang Lang hurriedly called out, Miss, please wait! But Fang Nan still didn't react and continued walking briskly. Other players, however, looked at Fang Lang with curiosity. Where did this NPC come from? And why was he actively trying to strike up a conversation with a girl? Seeing his sister getting further away, Fang Lang immediately wanted to catch up, but he was stopped by a group of players. Excuse me, sir. Is there anything we can help you with? They surrounded Fang Lang, asking this question. This NPC seemed special since they hadn't seen him before. It would be a waste to let him go without finding out more. So even though Fang Lang had clearly shown his intention to chase after the girl, they still approached him. Fang Lang's heart was on the verge of collapse. Are you players always after NPCs for quests? Just as he was being obstructed by these players for a while, Fang Nan disappeared from sight. Fang Lang was furious. Fine. If you want quests, I'll make sure you regret it. I am a scholar who came to Shu State City to study. I have traveled a long way and have run out of money. Now I need a place to stay. If you kind-hearted people can help me, I will surely repay you in the future. Fang Lang posted a quest to borrow money, speaking as if it were real. The players didn't even consider the possibility that an NPC would borrow money and not return it. They handed over their money to Fang Lang one after another. Some even worried that they wouldn't have a chance to give him money. Feeling grateful for the support, Fang Lang said, Thank you, kind-hearted people. There is true affection and love in this world. Until we meet again in Shu State City, my name is Joshu, the green mountains will remain, and the clear waters will flow. Farewell. Having tricked these players into giving him their money, Fang Lang found an inn to stay in. As he approached Shu State City, the villages became more prosperous. The Fang family village where Fang Lang originally resided didn't have inns. Fang Lang was extremely excited to see Fang Nan in the game, so when those players blocked his path, he almost couldn't resist drawing his sword. But Fang Lang was only angry, not murderous. He considered the money he tricked from the players as a slight punishment. From now on, he would think twice before blocking an NPC for a quest. He didn't pay much attention to the small amount of energy he gained. The next wave of energy required was 100,000, and the pressure was immense. Fang Lang had already logged out once and met Fang Nan in person. Now that he saw Fang Nan logging in again, it meant that his information had been transmitted. So there was no rush to log out now. He needed to think about the next step. In his room at the inn, Fang Lang carefully considered and finally decided not to reveal his identity to Fang Nan. Firstly, the system's rules made it difficult for Fang Lang to transmit information, although he could still make Fang Nan understand if he really wanted to. But Fang Lang was worried that if Fang Nan knew something she shouldn't, Would it be dangerous? Fang Lang doesn't dare to take risks easily. The presence behind him is too unpredictable. Until he figures out the details, Fang Lang won't let Fang Nan be in danger. He was indeed impulsive before, but it was just because he saw Fang Nan and felt too happy in his heart. However, he doesn't need to reveal his identity to Fang Nan. He can still help Fang Nan become stronger in the game. The next day, Fang Lang started wandering around the village. Since Fang Nan is in this village, he will surely meet her if he wanders around a few more times. However, as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the village, Fang Lang saw Fang Nan, and beside her was a man who was being very attentive to her. Isn't that Dynasty Overlord? Why is it you again, you little student? Speaking of which, Dynasty Overlord is quite lucky. When the Fang family village was being demolished, he was only level 9, but he was immediately assigned to a village. It just so happened that Fang Nan was also in this village. Originally, he wanted to find Fang Nan to team up, but Fang Nan would definitely ignore him. However, now that Fang Nan wants to level up quickly, she agreed to team up with him. Thanks to the help of the Dynasty Guild, Fang Nan can level up so quickly. President Nan, it's been a pleasant cooperation this time. I wonder if we'll have the opportunity to cooperate again in Shu State City. If we can organize a few social events, that would be even better. Upon hearing this, Fang Lang became very angry. How dare he flirt with my sister? I, Fang Lang, have 100 ways to make you unable to survive in this game. If Dynasty Overlord knew what Fang Lang was thinking, he would probably vomit blood. Who the hell flirted with your sister? There's no reasoning with an ultimate sister con. If you talk to my sister, it means you want to flirt with her. Fang Lang walked over aggressively and heard Fang Nan refuse Dynasty Overlord saying, I'll remember this favor, but my matters have nothing to do with the guild. This. Dynasty Overlord was somewhat stunned. Could it be that Southern River Misty Rain is really experiencing internal division? Here's the situation. Fang Nan used to lead a PK team and was undoubtedly the best PK player in the guild. However, when Immortal Seeking Dream started, Fang Nan said she wouldn't enter the game, which meant she quit the Southern River Misty Rain guild. There was no other way. Southern River Misty Rain was still Southern River Misty Rain, but the Nan was no longer there. So Fang Nan naturally handed her people over to another president. Now that the transition has been completed and Fang Nan has returned, the problem arises. The excavator. The problem is that Fang Nan has returned, but hasn't informed the others. She only told Han Yan, who was so happy that she accidentally let it slip. Now, it's very awkward. The remaining two presidents are in a particularly awkward position, especially Riverside Immortal, who received the members from the southern region. Gossip spreads quickly in the circle, so Dynasty Overlord has heard some rumors, but he's not sure. After all, it is said that the members of Southern River Misty Rain have a deep sisterly bond. Well, it's just a rumor. Now that he hears what Fang Nan said, Dynasty Overlord has a faint feeling that he knows a big secret. Oh, this is juicy. But at this moment, he hears a joyful voice saying, I didn't expect to see you here. Then, Dynasty Overlord feels someone hugging him, and suddenly his health drops by a large amount. Chapter 36. Even NPCs can be house slaves. Fang Lang enthusiastically patted Dynasty Overlord on the shoulder, hitting him hard a few times, causing Dynasty Overlord's health to plummet. Damn! Dynasty Overlord looked at Fang Lang, then at his own health, with a confused expression. Wait, do we have such a good relationship? Fang Lang smiled and said, meeting an old friend in a foreign land is like seeing a white sail on the horizon. Come, let me treat you to a drink. In a daze, Dynasty Overlord nodded. After all, it was the first time he had been treated so warmly by Fang Lang. However, as he thought about it, he suddenly realized that he had always been treated specially by Fang Lang, ever since he obtained the title of elementary school student. Forget it. Let's not dwell on the past. Since Fang Lang is so enthusiastic, it's a good thing to establish a good relationship with an NPC. Then Fang Lang turned to Fang Nan and said, How about you, miss? Fang Nan shook her head and said, I want to improve my strength and leave for Shu State City as soon as possible. Shu State City? I happen to be going there too. We can go together since we're heading in the same direction. Let's skip the drinks. The main thing is to get going. Fang Lang immediately changed his mind, leaving Dynasty Overlord bewildered. Is this NPC more interested in the girl next to him than in the alcohol? Dynasty Overlord accidentally revealed the truth. What followed was interesting. Scholar Fang Lang led the team to grind monsters. Fang Lang didn't cast any spells or use sword techniques. He simply recited a few battle poems, which allowed him to comprehend offensive skills. When he recited them, the damage was explosive, and the monsters fell in droves. Fang Nan easily leveled up. In just one morning, Fang Nan reached level 10. No, Fang Lang's efficiency in grinding monsters was too high. He taunted the monsters, dealt AoE damage, and killed them instantly. Fang Nan stood by and cheered. Dynasty Overlord followed along, but he was already level 10 and wouldn't gain any more experience. The reason he didn't immediately set off for Shu State City was because Fang Nan's level was about to catch up. He continued to stay behind, considering it a favor. Unexpectedly, a leveling NPC appeared. Where can you reason with that? After helping Fang Nan level up, they decided to go to the city. They boarded a horse-drawn carriage that traveled 1,000 miles a day and soon arrived at Shu State City. At the city gate, Fang Nan was the first to bid farewell. She didn't know what she was looking for, but she thought that searching around might lead to some answers. Seeing Fang Nan about to leave, Fang Lang suddenly said, Miss, please wait. I have just arrived in Shu State City and haven't found a place to settle down yet. Could you please take care of Da Hong for me? He said it as if others had already settled in for a long time. Dynasty Overlord silently complained in his heart, but he couldn't help but want to take over this task. He had seen how strong Da Hong was, and most people didn't have pets. Having an NPC give them a pet to take care of, and then taking it out to grind monsters would be great. But then he thought, it's just a task, not worth lowering Fang Nan's impression. Fang Nan also found it strange. She had no particular goal at the moment. Before coming to Shu State City, her goal was to level up quickly and reach Shu State City. However, she had spent a day and night grinding, with some members of the Dynasty Guild helping her, before finally leveling up. But upon arriving in Shu State City, she suddenly lost her sense of purpose. At this moment, Fang Leng sent her a task, and she happened to accept it. In fact, Fang Leng intended for De Hong to accompany Fang Nan. On one hand, it could provide assistance, and on the other hand, De Hong could help take care of Fang Nan. De Hong, I'll leave it to you. When Fang Leng said this, he was speaking to De Hong, seemingly asking Fang Nan to take care of De Hong. In reality, he was asking De Hong to be more clever. De Hong clucked in response, indicating his understanding. This rooster's intelligence is truly impressive. Fang Nan took De Hong and left, while Fang Leng also prepared to leave. Dynasty Overlord said, "Sir, since you've arrived in the city, why not have a drink?" "I don't drink, goodbye." Fang Leng bowed and slipped away. Dynasty Overlord. Ah, a practical man. Fang Leng arrived at Shu State City with things to do. He needed to find a place to settle down. This wasn't difficult after all. He was a scholar with a reputation. It wouldn't be hard for him to establish himself in the city, especially since he had a lot of information and had no worries about fitting in. Shu State City was the first stop for cultivating immortality. There wouldn't be any sects teaching the immortal Tao in the village, but in Shu State City, various sects appeared. In Torah, different sects represented different professions. For example, the Taoist sects were mage DPS, the Buddhist gate sects were healers, and tank-type warriors and mages. There were summoners who learned beast taming, nanny professions for medical studies, as well as secondary professions in formation cultivation, pill refining, artifact refining, and talisman cultivation. These were all various sects, and the Imperial Court had two factions, the Archers of the Divine Machine Corps and the Scholars of the Academy. Each person could only join one sect and couldn't join multiple sects. However, those who joined the Imperial Court could still go to the sects to learn. But being greedy won't lead to success. Not everyone has the energy to learn multiple things. If one wants to be versatile, they can only become a scholar. After a scholar passes the Imperial examination, they can awaken a passive skill. The required experience points for learning skills are reduced. Otherwise, a person's experience points are limited, and they won't be able to learn too many other things. Apart from joining sects and joining the Imperial Court, one can also choose to become a wanderer. Wanderers have special passives because they haven't joined any faction. They can master 18 types of weapons, learn spiritual force and true chi, and can learn various skills without restrictions. Unlike the Buddhist gate, which can't learn Taoist techniques, and the Taoist sects can't learn Buddhist gate techniques, wanderers can embrace all schools if they wish. But wanderers can be the strongest profession or the weakest profession, depending on how they play. When Fang Leng designed this game, he considered diversity and openness to the greatest extent possible. Players can play however they want, but everything has its pros and cons. No profession is invincible, nor is any profession useless. However, joining a sect is a test. Among the Taoist sects, some sects have better techniques. Therefore, there are hidden sects as well as openly known sects. Hidden sects are meant for players to explore. This setting was released early on, but the specific hidden sects are not mentioned in the information and need to be discovered by players themselves. When most players flocked to Shu State City, the various factions within the city began their revelry. It's like the start of a new school year, with major universities all wanting to recruit students, the same idea. At this time, Fang Leng was carrying a bookcase, thinking about how to do business. First, he needed to buy a house in the city. NPCs also need to buy houses. I wonder if developing the real estate industry in the game will work. Chapter 37. If you are not sincere, don't disturb cultivation version. Fang Leng is a person with plans, and he has many things to do in the future. But he needs to do well with what is in front of him first. First, find a place to settle down, and then change his identity. The limitations of his current identity are too many. Fang Leng believes that by changing his identity, he can accomplish more. Therefore, he needs to have his own house so that his public identity can be useful, and his disguise identity can also be effective. At this moment in the Sacred Gu Cave in Miao territory, Yan Ran is looking at the entrance with a serious expression. Tang Ninger has been inside for 2 days and has not come out. This situation has happened before. Miao people with poor aptitude who enter the Sacred Gu Cave do not have any gu worms willing to become their life gu. Even if there is the scent of the gu-attracting pill to lure out gu worms, it is difficult to guide the life gu into their bodies. The final result can only be death from poisoning, becoming a dry bone in the Sacred Gu Cave. However, Tang Ninger has such good aptitude that those gu worms should be desperately wanting to become her life gu. When Yan Ran smelled the medicinal fragrance of Tang Ninger's blood, she knew that Tang Ninger was a rare medicinal fetus. She herself is a spirit medicine, and if she is captured by evil cultivators, she can be used in various ways. She can be kept alive as a living medicine, or she can be killed and used for alchemy, both of which have good effects. As fellow medicinal fetuses, their aptitudes are also different, which can be judged by the strength of the fragrance. The stronger the fragrance, the better the aptitude. Tang Ninger's fragrance can heal people's bodies with just a faint scent, which is unheard of. Medicinal fetuses have exceptional talent in cultivating medicine and can naturally recognize the medicinal properties of herbs. According to the ancient records of Miao territory, medicinal fetuses are even more effective in nurturing gu worms. Ordinary people need to consume spirit medicine immortal herbs to nurture gu worms, but medicinal fetuses can provide nourishment to gu worms themselves, resulting in better effects. So at that moment, Yan Ran's desire to take Tang Ninger as her disciple became particularly strong. Even if she had to snatch her, she would do it. However, the current situation seems a bit off. She didn't know that the effect of the gu-attracting pill had been automatically neutralized when it entered Tang Ninger's body. But Tang Ninger's attraction to gu worms did not disappear because of the failure of the gu-attracting pill. On the contrary, as soon as she entered the Sacred Gu Cave, the originally silent cave became lively. All the spirit gu worms awakened, and the lower level ones could only watch Tang Ninger from a distance. not daring to approach, longing to become her life goo. Tang Ninger was afraid in the cave, but Yan Ran told her that if she couldn't contract a life goo, she would definitely die. Tang Ninger didn't know that the effect of the goo-attracting pill was useless for her, so she had to listen to Yan Ran and step by step, venture deeper into the sacred goo cave. She was not afraid of death, but she wanted to stay alive and go back. She hadn't married Fang Leng yet, so she couldn't die, at least for now. With this mindset, despite the rustling sounds in the sacred goo cave, making her very frightened, she continued to walk firmly towards the depths of the sacred goo cave. The sacred goo cave is a sloping cave with some glowing stones decorating the walls. These stones do not normally emit light. Only when the spirit goo worms awaken will they emit light. These stones are where the spirit goo worms hibernate. In the past, when people entered the sacred goo cave, there was only dim light in the cave. But as Tang Ninger walked all the way, it was brightly lit. However, because it was brightly lit, she could see clearly what was hidden inside the stones, which made her especially afraid. Various strange insects and colorful snakes, Tang Ninger trembled all over. She was most afraid of snakes, but she had to grit her teeth and move forward. The deeper she went into the cave, the higher the level of the spirit goo worms. But the probability of becoming a life goo became lower. Tang Ninger didn't know how long she had been walking when suddenly she heard a childish voice in her mind. "I have come in response to your call. Are you my master?" Tang Ninger was stunned. Only then did she realize that she had unknowingly reached the end of the cave. In front of the cave, there was only a dark void. Yan Ran had specifically instructed that this was the end of the sacred goo cave, and that dark void was the barrier. It is said that this place was originally connected to another world. In ancient times, many creatures from different worlds came to this world, causing great disasters. Therefore, the ancient immortals sealed it. Later, it gradually became the sacred goo cave of Miao territory. The ancient book's records are not detailed. In short, it is no longer passable here. At the end of the cave is where the best goo worms in sacred goo cave are located. The goo worms here are spiritual, and any one of them can become a life goo worm, depending on fate. Yan Ran knows all this because she has been here before. So, the goo worm she was communicating with just now is from here? Tang Ninger had a feeling and looked in one direction, only to see a green snake spitting out a tongue at her from within a transparent crystal. "Ah!" Tang Ninger screamed in fright. "A snake!" At this moment, she heard a crisp laughter again. "Ha ha ha, old green worm, you're so ugly, you scared the little girl." Tang Ninger saw another crystal shining, inside of which was a colorful spider that looked bright but was clearly poisonous. And it was ugly. "Old spider, don't laugh at others when you're just as bad." "That's right. Just because of looks, who can compare to my silkworm baby? What's the use of being good looking? Look at who's the boss here." While Tang Ninger was surprised, all the crystals here lit up one by one. If a player were here, they would probably complain. How is this process of choosing a life goo worm like a dating show? There was no doubt that all the spiritual goo worms were showing their approval to Tang Ninger. Those goo worms transmitted friendly thoughts, and as long as Tang Ninger was willing, she could choose any of them as her life goo worm. However, Tang Ninger didn't want to choose any of them. They were all spiders and centipedes. The best-looking one was still the silkworm baby, which looked soft. Tang Ninger couldn't accept the idea of having a bug inside her body. Although the life goo worm only resided in the goo aperture, Tang Ninger still felt repulsed. Although she didn't speak, the spiritual goo worms here could sense her thoughts, and suddenly a series of crying sounds rang out. "Sob, sob, sob. No one wants me. So sad. Why do you reject me just because I'm ugly? The girl last time was the same. Are girls nowadays only concerned about looks? Sob, sob, sob. I also want to go out and play." Hearing this, Tang Ninger softened a bit and thought that if she didn't attract a goo worm, she wouldn't be able to survive. She might as well choose one that looks slightly better. Chapter 38. My wife's transformation. Tang Ninger decided to compromise, and at this moment, a snake composed of gray mist said, "Choose me. I am the leader here. I am the strongest. I can help you become the strongest goo master and dominate the world." "But I don't like snakes," Tang Ninger said apologetically. Suddenly, the gray snake heard the sound of its heart breaking, whimpering. Finally, after considering her options, Tang Ninger chose a silkworm. Upon closer inspection, the silkworm was quite cute. It would be this one. Tang Ninger took out a small knife she carried with her, cut her middle finger, and dripped a drop of blood onto the crystal where the silkworm was. The other goo masters, still envious, watched the silkworm. But at this moment, in the dark area, it suddenly rippled like water, and then something invisible emerged from the void. Invisible, but all the goo masters present could sense it. The silkworm retreated and dared not consume the blood dropped by Tang Ninger. Even the strongest soul-devouring snake trembled in fear. A terrifying aura appeared. In an instant, all the lights went out, but Tang Ninger could see something rushing out from the pitch-black area. It was a cute little bird with purple feathers all over its body, a short beak, and big eyes. "I have come in response to your summons. Would you like to become my master?" A cute female voice sounded, surprising Tang Ninger. "Are you also a goo?" "Yes, I came from the void. My name is Void Down Cold. Would you like to become my master?" "I don't want to wander in the void anymore." The cute voice carried a hint of a sob, softening Tang Ninger's heart. It was as if she saw a little girl acting spoiled towards her. Moreover, the name contained the word cold, which made Tang Ninger feel a fondness for it. "Since that's the case, I'll be your master. From now on, I'll call you Xiaoling." Tang Ninger suddenly smiled as if she was calling out to Fang Ling. "Okay, from now on, I'll be Xiaoling." With Tang Ninger's consent, Xiaoling's mouth touched a drop of Tang Ninger's blood. Then Tang Ninger's finger healed, and Xiaoling flew towards Tang Ninger's brow, disappearing without a trace, leaving behind a purple pattern in Tang Ninger's eyes. After Xiaoling entered her body, Tang Ninger suddenly felt a powerful force circulating within her. She felt a severe headache and quickly passed out. When she woke up, sacred goo cave was still dark, but Tang Ninger found that she could see. Moreover, her consciousness seemed to be able to leave her body and explore further places. Her consciousness drifted farther and farther, reaching outside the cave, where she saw Yanran standing there waiting. When she saw this scene, Yanran also opened her eyes, a cold light flashing in them, frightening Tang Ninger's consciousness back into her body. Before retracting her consciousness, she heard Yanran say, "Come out quickly." At this moment, Yanran was also shocked. Tang Ninger was clearly immortal before entering, but now she had cultivated her consciousness? Yanran couldn't believe it. When she entered, she obtained an apex-level Gu, only advancing to rank 1. But Tang Ninger had directly jumped to at least rank 5. The first rank of cultivation is for mortals, the second to fourth ranks are for self-cultivation, and only the fifth rank is for godly cultivation. Now Yanran is starting to doubt life. Is my destined Gu really at the apex level? Not long after, Tang Ninger came out of the cave, and only after she left did the Gu dare to start talking. What a terrifying aura. Has the Gu god descended? Sob, 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 my master is gone. Tang Ninger didn't hear those discussions. She was still thinking about whether she had become stronger, and if she could defeat Yanran. If she couldn't, should she try to escape? As she walked out of the sacred Gu cave and saw Yanran's cold gaze, Tang Ninger suddenly felt a bit uneasy. She probably couldn't win in a fight, so she should run. If you're not afraid of causing harm to your lover, you can run away. You can try to see if I'll let him go again. Yanran said these words to scare Tang Ninger. After all, having witnessed the power of that crazy woman's sword aura, Yanran was also a bit afraid. She had really gone all out, and she wasn't afraid of Yao Guang. That day, she didn't use her full strength because the battlefield was in her stronghold. If something went wrong, the losses would be severe, so she stopped and admitted defeat. She didn't plan to continue fighting with Yao Guang. Yao Guang was a loner, while Yanran had a big family and business. If she killed Yao Guang's only disciple, she wouldn't have peace. This is the fear of those who wear shoes when they see someone barefoot. However, Yanran couldn't just stand by and watch Tang Ninger and Fang Leng. Moreover, Fang Leng seemed like a playboy who would definitely fool around everywhere. Men are all idiots. She couldn't let her proud disciple follow in her footsteps. So she had to break them up. Yanran was lying, but Tang Ninger didn't know that. Upon hearing these words, she didn't even dare to run away. She just glared at Yanran with resentment. Yanran was familiar with this kind of gaze. She sneered and said, "You better not look at me like that, or else don't blame me for killing that scholar right now." "Why? We have no grudges or grievances. Why are you so persistent?" "I like it." Yanran turned around arrogantly. This unreasonable attitude made Tang Ninger clench her fists. She had always been kind-hearted and hadn't encountered any evil people in the simple village. Yanran was the first. A strong killing intent suddenly arose in her heart. "Anyone who stands in the way of me and Brother Xiaofang must die." The dense killing intent separated from her body, and the temperature around them dropped slightly. Yanran suddenly turned around and asked in surprise, "What is your destined Gu?" Tang Ninger didn't answer. She only had one thought in her mind. Become stronger, kill the woman in front of her, and once she did, no one could stop her from finding Fang Leng. Yanran looked at Tang Ninger, who was surrounded by a strong killing intent, and didn't say anything more. She used a technique, and Tang Ninger felt her burning body being doused with cold water before losing consciousness. Yanran held Tang Ninger and looked at the purple veins on her forehead with a serious expression. What kind of Gu did she end up with? Why is it so terrifying? Yanran suddenly felt that this disciple was becoming a bit troublesome. Chapter 39. What? The Great Qing has fallen? Yanran's head throbbed. She realized that she couldn't force Tang Ninger's life Gu out. If she forcefully extracted it, Tang Ninger's foundation might be damaged. So Yanran had to dismiss this idea. Thinking about Tang Ninger's rapid advancement, she felt both surprised and uneasy. Things that exceeded her control always made her uneasy, but she was pleasantly surprised by Tang Ninger's potential, which was enough for her to become Yanran's successor. However, when she thought about the intense killing intent, Yanran also felt a headache. With such deep hatred, if Tang Ninger truly became powerful in the future, she might cause chaos in the entire Miao territory. If she couldn't control her, it would be troublesome. But if I let Tang Ninger go and reunite with her lover, wouldn't I lose face? Yanran looked at the sleeping Tang Ninger, feeling conflicted. Coincidentally, at this moment, a maid named Xiao Yun came in to report, "Your Highness Saintess, the Chiqiao festival is approaching." Elder Sao, she asked if the sacrificial arrangements are in order. "Just prepare it as usual. No need to report to me again." Yanran casually dismissed Xiao Yun. After she left, Yanran suddenly brightened up. She gained inspiration from the Chiqiao festival. Oh, according to legend, the cow herd and the weaver girl were also separated by the gods, and could only meet once a year. So why not let Tang Ninger meet her lover once a year as well? There is no such thing as unwavering love in the world. Most of it is fabricated to deceive young girls. By obstructing Tang Ninger like this, it not only provokes her resentment, but also serves no purpose. If they occasionally meet, Tang Ninger's resentment would likely decrease. However, can Scholar Fang endure loneliness? Moreover, the outside world is so exciting, and Scholar Fang is surrounded by admirers. Sooner or later, he will betray Tang Ninger. At that time, Tang Ninger will surely realize that men in this world are not worth her deep affection. Tomorrow is the Chiqiao festival. I will have Kyer send you to Shu State City to meet your lover. Return after one day. If you can't do it, then don't go. Yanran left this message for Tang Ninger after she woke up, without waiting for Tang Ninger to express any objections. She left behind a jade slip and departed, leaving only lingering echoes. Practice this Gu technique diligently, and don't let the master be weak while the servant is strong. Tang Ninger completely ignored the latter part of her statement, and only remembered that she could be sent to Shu State City tomorrow. At this time, Fang Leng, who had been on Tang Ninger's mind, also encountered a great trouble. While he was strolling on the street, he was stopped by a group of scholars. "Brother Fang, long time no see. How have you been?" Fang Leng really wanted to complain. Why did even the NPCs in his small village have so many storylines and have companions in the city? He was most afraid of running into acquaintances. Of course, according to the setting, he should have acquaintances. Fang Lang had come to the city to study and even passed the imperial examination. However, he had changed now and didn't recognize these people at all. Fortunately, the system displayed their names. It seemed that he would recognize people he knew, and their names and basic information would be displayed. The person talking to Fang Lang was called Zhou Qing, and there were several other scholars with him. Fang Lang quickly got into character and said, "So it's Brother Zhou, I appreciate your concern. What are you all planning to do?" A large group of NPCs acting together definitely meant something was going on, so Fang Lang naturally wanted to inquire about it. Zhou Qing said, "Tomorrow is Chichao Festival. The prefect will host a poetry gathering. Scholars with achievements above the rank of Shukai in Shu State City can participate. I heard that the prefect has a daughter who is still unmarried. The winner of tomorrow's poetry gathering might be chosen as the prefect's son-in-law." Fang Lang wanted to ask, "What does the prefect having an unmarried daughter have to do with our journey together?" As if sensing Fang Lang's confusion, another scholar named Tan Shi said, "Brother Fang, you don't know. In the poetry gathering, only one person can be the winner. But if you can write poems that the prefect appreciates, it will make your future path much smoother. So we plan to wander around and gather inspiration for tomorrow. We happen to meet Brother Fang. How about having a drink at Xiaoyaoju together?" Zhou Qing interrupted and invited Fang Lang to have a drink, but Fang Lang waved his hand to decline. "There is no time to drink now. The task is urgent. Where is there time to drink?" Seeing him refuse repeatedly, Zhou Qing and the others finally gave up the idea, but they agreed to go to the poetry gathering together tomorrow. Apparently, Scholar Fang used to be quite likable. However, Fang Lang now has no time to play with them. Fang Lang wandered around the city, collecting as much information as possible. Although he is the mastermind, he cannot rely solely on his past memories to carry out his plans. There are too many variables, and Fang Lang doesn't know how the plot will develop. Currently, the monster race has not directly initiated a war, so players don't know what the main quest is. They only know about grinding monsters to level up. After bidding farewell to those scholars, Fang Lang continued to wander around the city. Shu State City is large and bustling, making it a perfect place for mischief. Suddenly, Fang Lang saw a group of officials in uniforms rushing through the busy streets. Fang Lang quickly made way for them and silently followed behind, intending to find out what was happening. Before long, the group of officials arrived at the bullet board near the city gate and posted a notice. Once the officials left, a crowd of NPCs mixed with players gathered around. It was clearly a wanted poster that had just been posted. Recently, the activities of the Heaven and Earth faction have been unusually frequent. The county magistrate of Guang'an was murdered in his home last month, and the county magistrate of Yi'an was murdered 3 days ago while visiting a friend. Both crime scenes had the mark of the Heaven and Earth faction. Such heinous acts have angered both humans and gods. This official will not tolerate such rampant criminals. A reward of 10,000 gold will be given to anyone who provides information. July 6th, the 10th year of Yuanjing. This was a notice issued by the prefect, with the prefect's seal on it. The nearby NPCs began to discuss in hushed voices, while the players seemed excited, as if a big quest was coming. Only Fang Lang looked confused. Why is there another setting that I don't know about? What is this Heaven and Earth faction? Are we going to restore the Ming dynasty? Wake up! The Qing dynasty has long been gone. Fang Lang realized that he couldn't figure out the situation, but he silently noted it down. Just like how he silently remembered the fight between the Taoist priest at Qingyang Temple and the monk at Guangji Temple. This could only be considered part of the information. At nightfall, Fang Lang returned to the inn and changed into the black clothes he had bought. He then changed his appearance, even altering his attribute panel. He was no longer NPC Fang Lang, but the chosen one, Wu Gi. Chapter 40. Burial of the Love Family. During the day, Fang Lang would walk around using his identity as Fang Lang, and at night, he would cause trouble using his identity as Wu Gui. This was Fang Lang's preliminary plan. There were several things Fang Lang needed to do, prioritized by their importance and urgency. First, he needed to uncover the secrets about himself. Second, he needed to go to Miao territory to meet his wife. And lastly, he needed to accumulate energy and level up. Currently, Fang Lang could only focus on the last two tasks. He could accumulate energy and level up, and he already had a rough idea of how to break through the level limit. As a scholar profession, reaching level 20 was equivalent to the first promotion. He needed to advance to the rank of Zhu Ren in order to continue leveling up. Players were like this, and perhaps he was too, but he hadn't confirmed it yet. However, the awkward part was that players could promote their ranks at any time as long as they met the conditions. They could take the examination to become a Shu Kai at the Sanwei Academy in Shu State City. Once they passed the examination, they would become Shu Kai. When they reached level 20, they could take the examination to become a Zhu Ren. However, this kind of Zhu Ren only had a rank and wouldn't be considered as a candidate for official positions by the court. NPCs, on the other hand, could only become Zhu Ren through the imperial examination, which took place once every 3 years. They would gradually increase their rank and achievements. So currently, players could take the examination, but Fang Lang couldn't. These past few days, Fang Lang had also been browsing the forums. The most heated discussions on the forums were the complaints from scholars. I never expected that I would have to memorize and translate the 1,000-character classic while playing a game. My Chinese teacher never treated me like this. I've never been so wronged. The most annoying thing is that we can't cheat. The examination questions are randomly generated. It's so frustrating. If I had known that being a scholar would require memorizing books, I would have become a ranger instead. You should be grateful that your examination only includes the 1,000-character classic. Those of us who have studied 2 introductory primers are on the verge of tears. This examination, specially prepared for players, was actually a simplified version. NPCs had to take the examination to become Shu Kai, so it wouldn't be as simple as memorizing and translating the 1,000-character classic. Compared to NPCs, players had advantages, but also disadvantages. However, those who played games every day couldn't possibly memorize the 1,000-character classic. At most, they could remember a few lines like, "Heaven and earth are boundless, the universe is vast and yellow." But the system was considerate. Whatever they learned in the introductory stage, that's what would be tested in the examination. It was like marking the important parts. Dynasty Overlord, who had studied 3 primers, expressed his frustration. While others could become Shukai by memorizing the 1,000-character classic, he had to remember lines like, "Heaven and earth are boundless, do not teach the unteachable," and "Jiang Shen Han Yang." Fang Leng was like a teacher who had marked the entire book as important. It was so frustrating. Well, after 2 days of struggling, Dynasty Overlord was still taking the examination and hadn't passed. He was only level 10 and hadn't gained any experience. Other scholars had already passed, but he was still held back. He truly deserved the title of elementary school student. Thinking of this, his resentment towards Fang Leng reached its peak. Fang Leng, disguised as a player, suddenly sneezed. Was someone cursing at him? Fang Leng suddenly saw Dynasty Overlord, who was still studying hard in the academy, and seemed to understand something. Well, he didn't intentionally deceive him back then. After all, he didn't specifically remember this setting. The tireless Dean Wang was still cultivating his nurturing spirit in the academy. Only Dynasty Overlord was still diligently answering questions at his seat in the academy. Fang Leng walked in and said to Dean Wang, "Teacher, I want to take the examination." Dean Wang nodded and took out an examination paper from his pocket, letting Fang Leng sit in the academy and take the examination. Seeing the title of the examination paper, Human Level Examination Paper for the 10th year of Yuan, Fang Leng finally felt relieved. As an NPC, he couldn't participate in the Imperial examination, but players could do so at any time once they reached the required level. This irregular way of participating in the Imperial examination was available to players. Fang Leng, disguised as a player, didn't lower his level this time, nor did he hide his identity as a Shukai. As a result, Dean Wang gave him the examination paper. When the exam paper was in the hands of the NPC, it was just a blank piece of paper. It is only when it is in the hands of the player that the text appears. This is not magic, but a rule of the system. The rules of the game system surpass all magic. Fang Leng thought the exam paper was quite simple. He just had to write a few lines of poetry, and the last question required him to write a poem. He could easily write a few rhyming verses to pass. After Fang Leng finished writing, he handed the exam paper to President Wang, and the result came out. System prompt. You have passed the Imperial examination and advanced to the rank of Jurin, unlocking the level cap. Fang Leng was not surprised by the result of the exam. He just wanted to know if his Jurin rank would change if he switched to an NPC. He couldn't wait to go back and find out. Just then, he heard a joyful cheer. "I finally passed the exam!" Dynasty Overlord shouted, and anyone who didn't know would think he had passed the Jurin exam. Fang Leng didn't intend to pay attention to him. He glanced at him and was about to leave, but a group of people appeared outside the door. Their distinctive feature was their colorful hair, like a dyeing workshop. Fang Leng counted them, and there were exactly 7 of them, in the colors of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Holding colorful ribbons, they danced in the sky. Ahem, it's not good to recite poetry without reason. Are you celebrating because you graduated from elementary school? The leader with yellow hair mocked, naturally targeting Dynasty Overlord. Dynasty Overlord's face turned dark, and he cursed. "It's you idiots again. Get lost. Heh, I'm here today to tell you that anyone who offends my Zangai family will not live to see another day." Fang Leng. Although he wanted to go back and see if the level cap for NPCs had been unlocked, he really wanted to enjoy this interesting drama. But just as Fang Leng was about to sit back and enjoy the show, President Wang, who had been sitting there like a log, suddenly spoke. "Above the academy! How can you make such a commotion? Get out! You old—" Before Yellow Hair could finish his curse, he was lifted by a tremendous force and thrown out, landing in the courtyard outside the academy, in a very dog-like posture. Following closely behind were the other 6 brothers, all in the same position. Dynasty Overlord was no exception and landed next to them. Only Fang Leng was unaffected and calmly walked out. As he passed by them, he glanced at them. Then he helped Dynasty Overlord up and pulled him aside. Dynasty Overlord was so touched in his heart. There is true affection in this world. Even a passerby is captivated by his charisma. "Brother, thank you. No need to thank me. I just thought it would be more orderly if they were all together and you were getting in the way." Dynasty Overlord. So it's not that he met a good person, but that he encountered someone with OCD. Fang Leng's words offended both sides. Purple Hair climbed up from the ground and angrily said, "How dare you mock the 7 Diamond Kings of my Zangai family? Kid, tell me your name." Fang Leng. Dynasty Overlord's evaluation was correct. They are indeed a bunch of idiots.